Life often says that as long as you stay true to your ambitions, the world will find 1,000 ways to help you reach your final destination. Each person's starting point is also an objective factor that influences the process. Our boy Amon's case is the perfect embodiment of that saying. Amon Drake, a purebred country boy, finally managed to make it to the capital, Axia. Having received an invitation to teach at the renowned Amonist Academy, he was pumped for a bright future, only to accidentally end up getting roped into manual labor. After busting his back moving boxes for a while, he finally overheard some news. The school had gone bankrupt a long time ago because the director lost everything in bad investments. While standing there in a daze, Amon ran into a scruffy drunkard sitting in a corner. He intended to dump this job on the old man and pack his bags back to the countryside for good. But it turns out the old man wasn't just some nobody. He was a veteran teacher at Amonist Academy. After a misunderstanding where he thought Amon stole a book, he made amends by inviting him to his office. He was also kind enough to fill Amon in on the general situation, specifically that the royal family had issued a suspension order and everyone had cleared out, so only a low-tech guy like him would come charging in here. The office he led him on to made him wish he had never come. Empty liquor bottles were piled everywhere, and it smelled like it hadn't been cleaned in years. Losing his temper, he gave the old man a smack and stormed out. Thinking about the expectations his hometown had placed on him, Amon felt even more depressed. His father had to spend a huge amount of money just to secure this position for him. But at this rate, he was definitely screwed. To avoid a mountain of debt and family turmoil, Amon decided to give it one last shot. Even with only 2 students and 2 teachers left, he was determined to tough it out. The first student, Boris, came from a common background. Actually, he was about as broke as Amon. The second was Chloe, an international student from the Kingdom of Aaron. And just like that, Amon's ambition of networking with influential people went down the drain. Because these students could barely take care of themselves, let alone worry about his livelihood. But he was used to hardship and had a naturally kind heart. So, he decided to look after the 2 kids anyway. It was also through this that he met the last remaining teacher at the academy, the swordsmanship instructor. He passed along a message from Principal Aaron, asking Amon to report to her directly. The moment they met, Amon was deeply impressed. She was an elf with an elegant aura and a refined demeanor. She was even holding a half-read book in her hand. After the greetings, the principal pensively asked him which was better between Incantor George and Steslag. Thinking she was testing his abilities, a confused Amon tried his best to take a wild guess. But he regretted it instantly. Right after he chose Steslag, Anarin went all in with 10 gold coins on a betting magazine. The thing Amon thought was a book of knowledge just moments ago. Even more speechless was when she clarified that this wasn't horse racing, but snail racing, a trend that was currently all the rage. It was like a light bulb went off in Amon's head. The academy went bankrupt because Anarin was addicted to snail betting. She had thrown the entire operating budget out the window. Fuming with rage, Amon gave her a piece of his mind. Then he demanded to know why Anarin would be so stupid to invest in something so ridiculous. That's when she confessed her dream of planting dragon bananas to harvest for money. However, she didn't account for the lifespan difference between humans and elves. By the time the bananas turned a profit, a human life would have been over for 12 years already. He was at a dead end. Amon had no choice but to shoulder the fate of Amonist Academy. He bit his lip and straightened his tie outside the door. "My name is Amon Drake." Anarin, her voice weak and her ears drooping, said, "Please come in. What does someone like you need from this stupid elf?" Amon clenched his fist and squinted at her. "Is she sulking?" He placed a hand over his heart and spoke. "I've thought about your investment. As the principal of a prestigious academy, you wouldn't spend that much on snail racing just for a personal hobby. If you bet money on it, I'm sure you did it for the future of this academy. Am I right?" Anarin broke into a cold sweat, awkwardly twirling a strand of her hair. "Of course." Amon bowed deeply. I was too foolish not to realize that and scolded you. I sincerely apologize." The other person turned away, faking a small cough. "I'll let it slide this time. Be more careful from now on." He looked at her with sparkling, sincere eyes. "Besides, I've become a bit interested in snail racing myself. Since it's popular among wise elves who live for a long time, it must be a tradition considered an art form." Anarin's hand waved frantically as she happily grabbed his hand. "Then Professor Amon, let's go watch it together." He froze, slightly stunned. "Huh? Watch what? The snail race?" The group of 5 spirits and Anarin happily headed into the forest. Elves are known as a sacred and beautiful race, living in villages where the world tree is located. That image was supposed to be, but in reality, the 5 of them had dark expressions, chugging booze and screaming aggressively. Was that rumor just made up? Snail warriors, I'm counting on you. Jirigi, leave them in the dust. Stella, so fast. Henneslag, keep going please. Amon sat in the middle of the group. He closed his eyes and covered his ears amidst the screaming. They weren't elves, they were forest monsters. You've stolen my heart. Hanaslag, give it your all. Anarin's eyes widened, and her pupils contracted as she stepped forward. A faint voice called out, "Excuse me, Principal." She awkwardly turned to Professor Amon, who asked with a grimace, "Yes, I'm here. By the way, when does it start?" The snails on the ground were crawling slowly on the track. It already started. Amon's face went blank. "I don't see any difference at all." Anarin shrieked, "Nonsense." Two snails, one black and one white, were gritting their teeth and straining to crawl. From the elf's perspective, Hanaslag is doing her best. Amon's face darkened, his mouth agape in shock. Anarin clutched her head and screamed. She's been overtaken. Two perfectly ordinary snails were neck and neck on a tree trunk. From a human perspective, who overtook whom? The five spirits were drinking and screaming violently. Juju is so fast. Just a bit more. Don't lose. Amon rested his chin on his hand, bored. I want to go home. Hanaslag, give it everything you've got. The announcer shouted loudly. Today's contestants seem to be in peak condition. Predicting the winner will be difficult. This is a constant struggle. He frowned and crossed his arms in thought. All right, no one can predict what will happen next in this match. Three snails on the tree crawled inch by inch. Since they're so slow, will this even end today? We are eagerly awaiting the fruits of the contestants' sweat and tears. They don't even have sweat or tears. But Amon just yawned in boredom. Contestant Hanaslag doesn't look like she did at the start. She seems to be falling behind. He squinted tiredly. Hanaslag is the strongest. You're the best. So exhausting. A picture of a purple-bodied snail was taped up. A few hours later, look at this. This is the snail that finally won. Anarin, with an excited expression, clasped her hands and recounted. Its magnificent appearance as it climbed the world tree is still burned into my mind. Amon sat opposite her, skeptical. So you won? You bet on a different one, right? Yes. She frowned and stroked her chin thoughtfully. So these are the contestants that entered the race. These numbers must be the odds. She pointed to the photos and introduced them to him. These are Jujitsu and Steslag. You know I have my eye on those two, right? Amon laughed outwardly while thinking one thing and saying another. Of course not. You're truly sharp. He pointed to a photo of a black-bodied snail with a gloomy face. But I think I like this one. Anarin said regretfully, Hanaslag can't win. It's the weakest one. Amon spoke up, leaving her wide-eyed and bewildered. Then you'll have to bet on it, because being the weakest is very lonely, isn't it? The snail, with the black body, under the gaze and pointing fingers of others, gritted its teeth and struggled to crawl on the wheel. Hanaslag is also a professional who entered the race through rigorous training. However, it was underestimated and looked down upon. The reason it can achieve good results is because of those psychological factors. Amon's eyes were firm and serious as he defended it. That slowness can be overcome by the expectations and trust of others. With trust, we always find a way to make Hanaslag a champion. Plus, the odds are 500x. As a member of the Great Forest Race, you have to bet big. Anarin's pupils sparkled. You're right. She clasped her hands in excitement. Then I'll try betting on it. Amon frowned and squinted in annoyance. What? Who's crying? The other four spirits were angrily tearing up their betting slips and screaming. I even bet all my emergency money on this. Damn, it's so unlucky today. How could this happen? He turned to look at them. Is the race over? Beside him, Anarin was covering her face and sobbing. He watched her thoughtfully. If she's crying like that, this academy is definitely finished. Amon clenched his fist and flashed a sly smile. Everything is going according to plan. After the academy goes bankrupt, I can go home without facing any punishment. He covered his mouth, feigning a kind smile to comfort her. Principal, please calm down. Now that things have turned out like this, what else can we do? Let's go back to the academy and discuss the future. In the worst-case scenario, the academy closes. Suddenly, an announcement rang out. The winner of the race is Hanaslag. Amon's face darkened as he froze in shock. What? Anarin went from crying to laughing, her face brightening as she looked up to the sky. The announcement rang out again, making Amon unable to believe his ears as he clutched his head, trembling. Surprisingly, only one person predicted Hanaslag would win. She jumped up in excitement. I'm so happy. His face turned dark purple, and he screamed as the broadcast continued. That's why Hanaslag requested to shake hands with the person who believed in her. Whoever bet on Hanaslag, please come to the World Tree. Thank goodness I chose Hanaslag. Amon turned pale, his mouth hanging open as if his soul had left his body. A memory of the black snail approaching, happily hugging and taking photos together flashed through his mind. It requested a handshake. Anarin said happily, a handshake and a hug from a race contestant is truly an honor. He looked at his reflection in the water. Principal, are you curious about the concept of elves dying young? She bit her lip, puzzled. He knelt by the lake and used a cloth to wash his face. By the way, what do you plan to do with the 5,000 gold coins you won today? She crossed her arms and thought. It will be used to run the academy, of course. Thank God. I thought you were going to keep gambling. It's investing. I'm still the principal of the prestigious Almonist Academy. Do you think I'm addicted to gambling? Isn't that the case? Anarin held the bag of money, looking pensive. I want to bring the academy back to its glory days. Now that the royal funding is cut, we have to raise our own operating funds to attract students and professors. She suddenly turned to him. Do you understand what I mean? Amon draped a towel over his neck and squinted with a smile. You mean you're planning to keep investing? Exactly. He gritted his teeth and screamed. This stupid elf is actually insane. Anarin clutched the money, frowning. What? Did you call me stupid again? Amon closed his eyes tiredly, dabbing water on his face. I agree that the academy can't be rebuilt through normal means. Look, your investment idea isn't wrong. The issue is where you invest. Be more careful this time, and maybe your dream will come true. A shop with a wooden fish sign and lanterns hanging outside. A gold trading post. Amon pointed at a construction blueprint for Platon Temple. Professor Amon, how about this one? It looks interesting. He squinted, looking at her seriously. It's not good. Really? Look where the temple is being built. Developing new territories means a lack of infrastructure. Religious fanatics might go wild, and you'll likely face opposition from the locals. Anarin's eyes widened in realization. I see. As expected of Professor Amon. He chuckled and stood up. You flatter me. If you'll excuse me, I need to use the restroom. He whispered to catch the shopkeeper's attention. Excuse me. His face was pale and exhausted as he gasped for air. I'll invest 2 gold coins in the Platon Temple construction project. Amon's current assets. 3 gold coins, understood. Amon smirked, his mind racing. The immediate return might not be high, but this is a promising long-term investment. There are many devout followers, and since it's a temple for the war god Platon, the future benefits will be immeasurable. I'm not sure if she knows yet, but I can't let her succeed. Anarin raised an eyebrow as he chuckled to himself. You're in a hurry, Professor Amon. You look much more refreshed now. She happily handed him a book. By the way, no matter how I look at it, I don't understand any of this. I think it's better if you handle it, Professor Amon. He was skeptical. Huh? You're entrusting this to me? Without you, I wouldn't even have this chance, so I trust you, Professor Amon. He bit his lip, pretending to be serious while reading, but laughing internally. Then I'll give you the chance to go bankrupt, too. Amon noticed a picture in the book. This is good. Anarin frowned. King Mango, do you even know what that is? You call me an idiot, but this is a high-quality crop, just like dragon bananas. A group of workers sang to the seeds while planting. He calmly replied, I know it takes 2 years to take root and 5 years to bear fruit. She wondered then why. Amon closed the book on the table. He spoke sternly. Think about it. Does a royal family want to keep a collapsed academy? Anarin slumped her ears sadly. Well, he explained seriously, that's why I oppose the 15-year dragon bananas. It's too risky. But mangoes only take 7 years, half the time. We just need to endure 7 years of royal pressure. She stared at him, bewildered. But I heard 7 years is a long time for humans, right? That's true. So wouldn't you have to suffer too? Amon looked pensive, but was gloating inside. Suffer? I'll use this chance to escape the academy and retire. Take care, everyone. For humans, it's like that. Anarin was stunned as he reached out his hand. But you'll protect it until the end, right? Amon said righteously. So, this investment is for you and the academy, principal. Anarin was moved, clutching her face as she sobbed. Professor Amon, he quickly suggested, then let's decide on the investment amount. She smiled happily, wiping her tears. We'll invest 4,900 gold and keep 100 gold to maintain the academy. Total assets, 5,000 gold coins. Amon clapped in satisfaction, his tone cheerful. Just as I predicted. I'm truly surprised by your decision, principal. She fell for it. Early morning, he spoke with an old man in a straw hat. A King Mango farm? Really? Yes. The man's tears fell like rain as he squeezed a small mango. Oh my. The king mangoes on the tree sparkled in the sun. Heaven has helped us. Amon squinted, looking down at the ground. The next morning, in front of Almonist Academy. What's this? A large gift box and a blood-stained envelope sat neatly outside the door. What's with this letter? Small text on the corners of the envelope read, to the investors of the Platon Temple project, to the esteemed investor, the head of the King Mango farm. A middle-aged man with a beard, holding a liquor bottle and flushing red, swayed down the street. That was amazing. Just as expected, that shopkeeper has a real knack for choosing fine distilled liquor. He looked down. He suddenly stopped as he saw a figure. The man blinked bleary eyes, looking dazed. Why is there a black dog sleeping here? He pulled a paper bundle from his pocket and dropped it on the ground. Here, have some snacks. Crumpled pieces of paper hit Amon in the face, making him flinch. His face darkened as he gritted his teeth. Oh, the man laughed and swayed away. I earned 10 good D points today, so I can have another bottle. Right, Teacher Amon? Anarin worriedly sat down to support him. Good heavens, Teacher Amon, why are you sleeping here? Teacher Amon. Scraps of paper and smelly squid whiskers lay beside him. Why is there spoiled seafood here? Anarin frowned with a worried expression. He must be so hungry. He gripped the envelope, his hand trembling. A moment earlier, what's this? Hello, Bir Infestor. I am the owner of the King of Mango's farm. I sincerely thank you for your large donation due to your interest. Amon's mouth hung open in shock, his face darkening. We have developed a new cultivation method that allows us to shorten the harvest time to just 1 year as a reward. We plan to transfer a portion of the profits over the next 15 years to you. We'd love for you to taste the first prototype of King Mango produced for our generous former investor. Inside the box were 10 golden mangoes. May the path ahead of you always be bright. He frowned and rushed to open the other envelope. And this one, a dirty, rough yellow paper filled with text. Notice to investors of the Platone Temple Project. Due to riots by followers of other religions, fierce opposition from locals, and extreme unrest in colonial territories, construction has been canceled. The company in charge has gone bankrupt. We sincerely apologize to all investors. Canceled? No way. He screamed, eyes wide. His entire body went stiff, and he fell backward onto the ground. My hard-earned 2 gold coins. A glass of fresh mango juice was placed on the table. This is Elf-style King Mango smoothie, made from the first prototype that just arrived. Anarin worriedly patted his shoulder. Teacher Amon, you should have told me you were that hungry. He raised an eyebrow. What? What are you talking about? Nothing, just enjoy it. Amon tilted his head back and took a sip. Okay. His pupils shrank in surprise. It's delicious. Amon slumped in misery, clutching his face. There's no way the mango business succeeded. My life's biggest mistake. It's all over. That's right, Teacher Amon. Anarin handed him a bundle. I'm giving you an extra 1 gold coin as a personal bonus. You played a key role in the snail race and the success of the King Mango investment. He immediately cheered up and took it. Thank you. Transaction complete. Her eyes sparkled pitifully as she looked at him. If I had the power, I'd send you more, but I can't use the Academy's operating funds however I want. Amon's eyes bugged out in fury. What? Then who was the one who dumped 10 gold coins into a snail race? He squinted and took another sip of juice. Anyway, it won't be easy to let the Academy wither now that the funds are secured. I've been here for 3 years, so protecting the Academy is the better choice. Anarin frowned and struggled. But how can I protect a bankrupt Academy when not a single staff member has the right mindset? The Academy's fate depended on a snail principal, a gambler, a red-faced drunkard who wasn't sober. I only drink because it tastes good, a teacher who was an addict, and a girl sleeping soundly in a beanbag during self-study. The second teacher, a total slacker. He slammed the glass on the table. That's what scares me. The tavern owner turned pale, looking worried. The table's going to break. What wind brought a young man like you here in the middle of the day? Amon wiped away the spill, clutching his head. I can't hold this position much longer. From my superiors to my colleagues, they're all crazy. My path forward is going to be very bumpy. The bearded man, that with flushed cheeks, approached holding a bottle. The thief? The new teacher? Amon was stunned. We meet again. You didn't hear what I just said, right? Can I sit with you for a bit? The man smiled and sat down. If you don't mind this crazy guy. He did hear it. The two turned and shook hands. Senior, come to think of it, we haven't even introduced ourselves properly. I am Eman Drake, and I'm in charge of the magic class. Name's Mario. His hand was squeezed so hard by Amon it turned red, and he cried out in pain. He frowned angrily. I don't care how much you hate me, but how could you try to crush my hand? Amon feigned innocence. What? What do you mean, Senior? I was just shaking your hand. By the way, is your name Marioa? I am Marion Zoomdoom. Amon stroked his chin, thinking, Marion Zoomdoom. I feel like I've heard that name somewhere. He poured more liquor into his cup. Why are you sighing so much? Trying to blow these 6 lands away? It's because our Academy's future is so bleak. Marion put a friendly arm around his shoulder. So, what do you think the role of an Academy is? To educate students, obviously. Exactly. He squinted with a serious expression. As long as there are students, the Academy's future will never be dark, even if there are only 2 kids left. Amon's pupils dilated as he looked at him. Senior Marion, even when he's dead drunk, his words are profound. He closed his eyes and sighed. But operating the whole Academy right now is still hard. Just as I thought, without royal support. Suddenly, a shout rang out. What's this? The young sailors competition organized by His Majesty the Emperor. This region's Academy was supposed to go bankrupt long ago, but you're still posting this? Take it down immediately. Yes, sir. The man bowed hurriedly. Amon bit his lip and watched them. Wait. He stared at the advertisement featuring the king. The biggest challenge for Amonist Academy right now is the suspension order from the royals. So what if we show a good 7 performance in the competition hosted by His Majesty? His Majesty the Emperor's Young Sailors Competition. Registration deadline, location, eligibility. His Majesty has placed his trust in the youth. As the man prepared to tear down the poster, Amon rushed over. Maybe he'll even withdraw the suspension order. Wait, please give me that poster. Night slowly fell. You worked hard today. The staff stretched tiredly. See you tomorrow. A waiter approached the owner. The table near the counter is cracked. Have you seen it? The owner was baffled. What? That table was built to be crack-proof. A circular indentation was burned into the wooden surface. Which bastard broke it? Amon bit his lip. There was still a bit of time until the competition. The 2 kids, Chloe and Boris, were in the courtyard, practicing their swordsmanship diligently. So I decided to attend my colleague's classes. First period, swordsmanship class, training hall. He approached the person lying in the beanbag. Hello, senior. The other person had their eyes closed, drooling on a wooden crate. I have to sleep. Self-study time. Wake up, senior. I'm a new teacher, Amon Drake, here for a visit. What's your name? She introduced herself groggily. Schultz Phil. His pupils shrank. Phil. I've heard that name before. An image of a clan full of cool, talented people appeared in his mind. He looked down at the lazy sleeper. The head of the clan is a great sword master, and their entire family is famous for being elite warriors. So this person should be just as formidable. Why is she in this state? Amon poked her repeatedly. But senior, you understand, right? Senior, you know this is still class time, right? Phil frowned and shouted angrily, stop poking me. She crawled out of the beanbag irritably, ruffling her hair. This Bankrupt Academy doesn't look like it's going to pay me, so why should I teach? My stomach hurts. You're pretty forceful yourself. How come you aren't getting paid? Phil's eyes widened and her mouth hung open as he held a bag of money in front of her. She looked at it with sparkling eyes, drooling as he spoke. This is your weekly salary, Professor Phil. Transaction complete. Surprisingly, Slot Phil's teaching skills weren't bad at all. She carried her beanbag down to the courtyard to instruct Boris. Put the right amount of force into your lead leg. Yes, ma'am. Chloe, relax your wrist. It's a bit too stiff. He watched them train and marveled. Yeah, everything is fine. Amon suddenly noticed something. But why is she constantly clutching that sleeping bag? Is she hiding food in there? Phil suddenly spoke up. You said you haven't been assigned a subject yet, right? He crossed his arms. He stroked his chin. Correct. The principal said it's best to observe the situation for now. She glanced at him. Is there a subject you want to teach? Personally, I'd like to teach history. I've liked it since I was a kid. Phil bit her lip, thinking. A general subject fits him perfectly. He doesn't look impressive, and his physique is average. Amon crossed his arms. Judging by his posture and gait, it seemed he hadn't undergone any martial arts training. Phil asked softly, You've never learned swordsmanship, have you? He awkwardly scratched his cheek. How did you know? To be honest, I've never touched it. Then you want to try? Are you trying to dump your responsibility on me? Amon smiled awkwardly, with a huge bump on his head. I'm so grateful to learn from a natural talent like you, senior. She smirked. You should be. Learning swordsmanship from a member of the Phil clan will surely come in handy. Insolent Junior. I'll teach him until I can lecture him properly, then I'll dump this class on him. The 2 of them pointed their swords at each other. Now let's fight. Wait. He looked skeptical. Are you really going to fight while still holding your sleeping bag? The 2 kids sat in the stands, watching with excitement. Who's going to win? How about a draw? It's just a light sparring match. Don't overthink it. Phil smiled confidently. I'll beat this green little chick with one hand. Before she could even process what was happening, Amon put all his strength into a downward strike. His face was dark with murderous intent as he raised his sword high. What the hell? How is he this fast? Phil panicked, breaking into a cold sweat as she struggled to block. I don't even sense a trace of mana. She bit her lip nervously. Even so, he's just an agile rookie swordsman. No need to panic. Phil leaped backward and tossed her sleeping bag aside. Amon lunged with a horizontal slash, sending her stumbling in terror. Phil retreated and stepped right on her sleeping bag. Damn it, my sleeping bag. She slipped and fell hard, gritting her teeth in pain. Amon, however, kept charging forward with his sword. Terrified, she scrambled back and screamed, Wait. Time out. Time out. Stop. Don't come any closer. The wooden sword stopped inches from her face. I knew it. Amon leaned in close with a faint smile. You really should have put that sleeping bag down earlier. Phil's pupils shrank as she bit her lip in fury, veins popping on her face. This brat. I didn't want to use sword light on a civilian. As she frowned and drew a sword glowing with blue flames. But it's come to this. I'll sacrifice my pride. Sword light. Is that the aura blade? A unique technique of master swordsman? Phil took a ready stance and shouted, It's sword aura. Amon smiled awkwardly, scratching the back of his head. Really? It's the first time I've ever seen it, so I didn't know. First time seeing sword aura? Just where exactly are you from? His words caught her off guard, and the flames on the wooden sword flickered out. I'm from the Drake territory on Demon Mountain. What? Phil asked, puzzled. Isn't Demon Mountain at the very edge of the Six Lands? There's a country there? He raised an eyebrow, helplessly. Why ask that? It's not even the edge. There's a flat plain behind the mountain with a quiet garden. That's why it's called the end of the Six Lands. Her eyes widened in shock. So you traveled thousands of miles from Demon Mountain to get here? Amon stroked his lip, acting serious. That's right. It took about 2 weeks on foot, though it also takes 2 weeks by horse. Phil was skeptical. Must be a land filled with monsters, huh? Amon closed his eyes tiredly and rubbed his head. My mouth hurts just talking about it. They were a constant headache. Every day they'd break the fences or the potato fields. Ogres, trolls, dragonkin. They stood facing each other. One asked, the other answered. What did you do with them? I killed them all. What? Are we not supposed to deal with them? What are they dealing with? That teacher is terrifying. You said it's your first time seeing sword aura, so there must be no knights there. How did you handle them? Why would we need knights? Phil's pupils shrank as she broke into a cold sweat. We'd be dead if we didn't just use an axe to chop them down. What kind of monster is this guy? What's with his crazy logic? Amon bit his lip and stroked his chin, looking confused. Did I say something wrong? Phil bit her lip. Why are you looking at me like that, senior? He continued, I don't know what happened, but it's time for you to teach me swordsmanship. She rested her sword on her shoulder and turned away. No, I'm not teaching you. Phil loudly shooed the students. All right, everyone, let's start the lesson. Yes, ma'am. Amon frowned, lost. What the hell is going on? Outside the classroom of Marion's magic theory class. Where did we leave off last semester? Marion smiled as he lectured. We finished page 21 of the magicology section, sir. Right? Good memory, Boris. Everyone, open your textbooks. Now, what's the key to the magic circle that controls mana flow? Amon sat in a corner taking notes, feeling skeptical. How strange. The boy slowly answered the teacher's question. You taught us it's at the tip of the 5-pointed star in the center of the magic circle. How is he this good? Marion's cheeks were still flushed, but his eyes lit up happily. Excellent, bullies. According to the analysis of Grand Mage Amagoto Molin, who developed this circle, the mana traveling around it is. He paced proudly under the admiring gazes of the two kids. It's hard to explain with just theory, so I'll show you. Amon watched from the side, worried. Is it really okay for him to use magic while drunk? Marion raised his hand, and a brilliant blue light appeared. Large magic circles began to form behind him. Amon's eyes bugged out in shock. That's right. Now that I think about it, the name Marion zoomed him. He was skeptical. I've seen it in the newspapers before. He smiled as the two kids looked at him in awe. All right, everyone saw that. This is how this magic works in practice. Night fell. A man in a cloak holding a staff stood atop a pile of corpses, facing a tall building. A mage associated with the famous magic tower. In the final battle, he single-handedly destroyed an entire enemy fleet. The man with long silver hair and a cold gaze looked back. The war hero, Marion zoomed in. Amon compared the hero in the paper to the drunk teacher in front of him, unable to believe it. That's what the article called him. The face was almost identical to the illustration, even if he looked a bit older. Marion smiled, eyes shining as he turned to the board. So that's why he can give such a great lecture while drunk. This shape is formed from that. Empty liquor bottles were scattered onto the chair. It would be perfect if it wasn't for those damn bottles. He squinted as a thought flashed through his mind. A hypothesis struck him on. If he can teach this well while drunk, wouldn't he be even better when sober? He called out softly, Professor Marion? Huh? He stopped his lecture and turned. Is there a problem? I have something to ask. Could you step outside with me for a moment? Marion squinted suspiciously. What now? We just got to the best part. He winked, acting cute. Just for a second, Professor. No matter how you look at it, this is way too suspicious. He was about to refuse, but Amon quickly grabbed Marion's collar and dragged him out. Why are you dragging me out when you could just ask there? I'm doing this for your honor, Professor. What you're doing is violating my honor. You're crazy. He smirked and didn't forget to remind the kids. You call me crazy? Where else would you find a loyal junior like me? Everyone, use this time to take notes. Yes, sir. Boris and Chloe focused on their work. A scream rang out, making the boy jump and drop his pen. The two kids broke into a cold sweat as screams echoed from outside the door. Why did you suddenly punch me in the stomach? You should respect your elders. You're only middle-aged professor. Chloe and Boris turned pale, staring toward the source of the screams. Marion clutched his side in pain. My stomach hurts like hell. I'm sorry, Professor. He rubbed his head and complained. Punching someone in the stomach to sober them up? I've never heard of such a barbaric method. Amon followed humbly beside him. I'm very sorry. In my hometown, that's the standard way. Marion wondered, who the hell taught you such a barbaric way? He bowed his head and sighed. It's how my father taught me. It's a very effective method. His eyes sparkled as he laughed happily. Thanks to you, I'm completely sober now. Really? Marion grabbed his book and cleared his throat. Well then, let's continue the lesson. Amon smiled, full of anticipation. All right, time for you to show me your true skills. So, he awkwardly scribbled gibberish on the board, stammering. Grand Mage Amagoto Molin. I don't know. Wait. Right. What is the fundamental element of human magic? Or was it someone else's? Marion broke into a cold sweat, flipping through the book frantically. Amon's eyes went white with horror. No way. He can only teach properly when he's drunk. He stood there with a blank expression. The top of the magic circle. This point has a lot of mana. So, what should we do when there's a lot of mana? If you make wine, you'll have a lot of wine. He was horrified inside. This is such a bizarre situation. The two kids frowned, looking pale as they watched Marion struggle. All right, everyone, wait for me a moment. He happily danced around and chugged some liquor. Amon felt like his mic was muted. He went crazy, clutching his head and screaming silently. Don't drink in front of the students. Marion, face flushing red, staggered and picked up the chalk. All right, thanks to the magic circle created by Grand Mage Amagoto Molin, human magic has advanced tremendously. And there was another individual who helped develop this circle. That person's name is Jodo Molin. Does the class understand? The two kids answered in unison, Jodo Molin. He encouraged them in a drawn-out voice. Come on, how could you not know his name? Anyway, it'll be on the test, so try to remember it. Amon smiled, completely shocked by the lecture. Grand Mage Jodo Molin. Now let's look at the synthesis of spells he helped develop and strengthen. Well, as long as he teaches well, I guess. Marion sat amidst scattered, empty bottles, smiling foolishly. Come on, after all, a drink after class is the best. He suddenly called out loudly, Senior Marion. The man clutched his chest in fear. You again? Don't tell me you're going to use that method again. Please, I'm being serious this time. Amon sat down beside him. Senior, are you Marion Zoomdoom, the one who fought in the war? Marion's eyes widened. You know me? I've heard a lot about you. Sorry for being rude earlier. He smirked proudly. I'm pretty easygoing, so don't worry about it. Though my head and stomach still hurt a bit. Wasn't that? He bit his lip, annoyed. That because of the alcohol you chugged? Amon picked up a book. And I have a question about the previous lecture. What is this? This is the reinforcement magic circle developed by Amagoto. Marion bit his lip and listened intently to the question. The points of the star are the key. But according to Jodo's research, wouldn't their efficiency drop by half if the mana flow is misaligned? Amon used a brush to draw a small square in the center of the magic circle. So, if we use the points to form a square, we can simplify the circle and direct it toward the modified part. Right? Marion thought for a moment and asked, Have you ever studied magic? He acted skeptical. My father was a mage, so I learned some theory from him when I was a kid. He bit his lip on the bottle, thinking, sending this report to the magic tower would get him a first-class rank at the very least. He can find errors just by looking and learning a bit of theory. Not to mention he even found a way to fix it. Marion suddenly got angry. Stop this. What do you know? He flinched. You scared me. What's wrong? He stormed off. Well, I guess I'll be going. Amon reached out worriedly. Wait. He bit his lip, sitting alone on the floor in thought. Magic papers fluttered onto his head. What was that all about? The instructors and teaching quality for both swordsmanship and magic are good, but he looked up with determined eyes. They still need special training. A system board appeared with images and info on the two kids, Chloe and Boris. I hate to admit it, but the kids' abilities are far weaker than the teachers. Archery LV1. Can't even shoot. History LV1. Common knowledge LV1. At this rate, getting a participation prize would be a miracle. Amon smirked happily. Beside him, he looked at a tray piled with food. The food in this academy's cafeteria is insanely good. It's great to get a meal at an affordable price, especially dishes I only get to eat on my birthday. He suddenly noticed Marion and Phil eating nearby. Let's see, where should I sit? The two of them saw him and immediately turned their heads away in a huff, to ease the awkwardness from before and bond with the other teachers. Wait, is this workplace bullying? Marion whispered, anyway you agree, right? Phil frowned, biting into a large chicken leg. He said he took down high-level monsters without learning swordsmanship or even using mana. If he learned both. He continued, I agree. He proposed a theory worthy of a high-ranking position just by learning some theory from his father, if he actually studied magic properly. The two of them glanced at each other and nodded in unison. Our positions, our ideal workplace, will be in danger. Phil and Marion clinked a spoon and a fork together. That was the moment the Anti-Mon Education Society was formed, to prevent him from being taught any techniques. Chloe and Boris looked up when they heard a greeting. Hey guys! Amon smiled friendly. He brought his tray over. Can I sit with you? Of course, sir. He complimented them softly. You both worked hard in class today. You worked hard too, sir. Hearing this made Amon tear up with happiness. Yeah, you guys are the only ones who respect my hard work. Do you know about the upcoming competition? Yes, we know. Amon asked. Do you want to participate? Boris was stunned. He looked skeptical. Us, sir? Yeah, it'll be a great experience, and something like that will be truly memorable. The boy bit his lip and looked down at the offer. So what do you think? Why not try experiencing new things? Under Amon's intense gaze, Boris spoke up to refuse. I'd like to pass. The boy looked frustrated, his hair hanging low. There's no way I could compete with nobles. A commoner like me. Amon was stunned, his pupils shrinking. Bullies. There are many nobles in this empire who were born as commoners. That's what makes them great. He froze, his internal alarm going off. I slipped up. Boris burst into tears, thumping his chest and shouting. What can a commoner like me even do? Internally, I was panicking. Who would have thought the student I deemed the most stable would be this riddled with self-doubt? Amon gently took his hand. Boris, he comforted him in a soft voice. When I was a kid, my nickname was Cowardly Weak Amon. An image of his younger self, hands ablaze, arms akimbo with pride, flashed through his mind. Actually, that wasn't true at all. My childhood nickname was Iron Fist Amon. One punch was all it took to leave the whole village in awe. Teacher Amon, with a powerful gaze, thumped his chest firmly. But look at me now. I become a teacher at the academy, right? Not just anyone can become a teacher. Boris, eyes still shimmering with tears, looked at him in stunned silence. Well, not exactly. In today's world, it seems like anyone, or even a dog or a cow, can become a teacher. He frowned and asked, but you come from a noble family too, don't you? Amon chuckled. Even so, isn't the fact that I became a teacher here a big deal? His arm trembled as he reluctantly handed the chicken leg from his tray to the boy. Besides, if you enter the competition and give it your all, maybe you could become a noble too. If you do, you'll get to eat delicious food every day, just like me. A childhood memory of him crying while eating a potato flashed by. No, the staple food at my estate was actually potatoes. Eat up, kid. It's not like you have any other choice anyway. Boris looked down at the ground, the chicken leg clamped in his mouth as he thought. Becoming a noble. What do you think? Don't you want to be one? He bit down hard on the meat, his gaze turning resolute. I want to become a noble. Amon smiled with satisfaction and nodded. You're a student with true ambition. I'm glad you've held onto your will here at the academy. And I'm glad sacrificing that piece of meat worked. He spoke up. There are no classes this afternoon, right? I'll give you guys some special lessons. I'll also teach history and general knowledge on other days. Boris's eyes sparkled as he looked at him. Really? If you want that, you have to work hard, okay? The boy happily confirmed. Yes, I'll do my best. Amon turned to the other girl. Chloe, you too. His dark pupils shifted toward her. Boris looked worried as the girl beside him sat there trembling. Teacher, Chloe is a bit scared. Actually, she's scared of everyone. Amon smiled but frowned, softening his voice. The competition will have hundreds, thousands of people watching. What should I do? Chloe, you don't have to force yourself. I want to participate. Despite her fearful eyes and trembling hands, Chloe looked up with determination. I want to overcome my fear. Amon wore a gentle smile, but his mind was full of schemes. That's right, Chloe. You'll also become a stepping stone for my success. All right then, rest after lunch, and let's meet in the training hall. The two kids happily agreed. Yes, Teacher Amon. At that moment, neither Boris nor Chloe realized. The three of them sat laughing and talking happily across from each other. Amon's shadow, like a wicked demon, reached its claws toward them, the path they had chosen. Early morning. Amon, dressed in athletic gear, was running hard on the field. All right, everyone, in a healthy body, 1. A healthy mind, 1. Chloe and Boris follow behind, trembling and gasping for breath. In a healthy body, 2. Contains a healthy mind, 3. Phil and Marion. That pulled back their invisibility sheet to watch the three of them. What lap is this? I think it's around lap 89. Chloe and Boris collapsed onto the ground in exhaustion. Teacher Amon, I can't run anymore. It's too hard. He stood by, looking worried. Are you both tired already? Yes. Amon laughed and took the headband off his forehead. These kids have less stamina than I thought. All right, let's rest a bit before we get to the magic theory lesson. The three of them returned to the classroom. So, we have proven the existence of magic. Chloe and Boris frowned and stroked their chins as they listened to his lecture. Do you understand this part? He shrugged when they questioned him. Teacher Amon, it's too hard. What's so hard about it? These are basic magic theories. The boy slumped and raised his hand. I'm sorry. There's nothing to be sorry about. But why do you find it difficult? Marion gripped his liquor bottle, his teeth gritting as he shook with rage. Damn it, that's not how you teach. Phil beside him scowled and whispered, he'll hear you. Amon laughed and turned back to erase the board. These are theories I learned when I was their age. How strange. All right, everyone, let's clear our heads of the training field and then come back to the lecture. The two teachers stood there stunned. What? The kids' legs shook as they turned to jelly. 1. In a healthy body. 2. Contains a healthy mind. Amon ran behind them, blowing a whistle and shouting. I can see your legs flagging. Run faster. 1. Chloe and Boris cried as they ran. In a healthy body. 2. Contains a healthy mind. The two kids were so exhausted they vomited and lay face down, motionless. Amon called out, everyone, why are you tired already? You haven't even run that much. Today's youth are truly weak. I thought these kids would be my salvation. Suddenly, a hand patted his shoulder. Teacher Amon. Marion smiled as he and Phil stepped up behind him. What are you doing? Amon gritted his teeth in dissatisfaction, but his face remained cheerful. I can't believe he's just now showing up to class. The teachers here are so negligent. There are no classes in the afternoon. I'm helping the kids with their physical conditioning. Phil clutched her bag and approached. You're making them run 100 laps for conditioning? He raised an eyebrow. How did you know they should run 100 laps? This field is so small, 10 laps wouldn't be enough training. Amon smiled smugly and waved his hand. And I've also taught them magic theory. Marion uncapped his liquor. You mean theology? How did you know? Anyway, it's the foundation of magic, right? So I laid the groundwork. It seems I need to lay some groundwork for you. What? What did you say? His face turned grim as he brought the liquor to his mouth. You're forcing these kids through rigorous training. Phil bit her lips seriously. Training that even adults couldn't endure. We must stop this immediately. Chloe and Boris were pale and parched, their limbs shaking uncontrollably. Their mouths never stopped mumbling. In a healthy body. Contains a healthy mind. The relationship between Asher and Mana. Jodo Molin. Amon waved them off. I'm continuing the class. You two can go. Before he could be surprised, Phil angrily drew her sword aura and leaped into the air. Marion gritted his teeth, his fist shrouded in magic. A massive noise echoed through the sky, sending birds fluttering away. A mission sheet was revised. How could you think of making them run 100 laps when they can't even handle 10? Amon's eyes widened in confusion. He used to climb mountains while carrying firewood. But for me, Demon Mountain was like my backyard. I used to climb it when I was a kid. This is enough wood for today's fire. Phil warned him seriously, don't judge others' endurance based on your own. He told him seriously about his father. Also, it seems you should relearn the basic theories of magic. Who taught you that knowledge? My father used to read it to me before bed, like a fairy tale. Amon, did you know? Theology. Marion spoke in a low voice. Not everyone has a brilliant mage for a father. Boris is a poor country boy, and Chloe is a noble lady. This is an academy where students from different backgrounds come to learn, yet you applied a teaching method based on your own standards. Marion looked at him with steady eyes and asked, can that truly be called education? Amon listened blankly to his words. You must understand what society calls standards. Marion smugly stroked his chin and closed his eyes, daydreaming. Did I nail that last line? He bit his lip and glared at him. Sounds like the rambling of a drunkard. Amon rolled his eyes and stroked his chin in thought. But I have to admit, he's not wrong. Amon was lecturing in class while Marion sat drinking beside him. This is a special curriculum designed specifically for Amion's competitions. All right, what is Ronan Wesley's primary theory? Boris answered while taking notes. The definition of the 4 elements, sir. Marion would teach magic, while Amon would review what the students had learned. He followed closely behind as the kids ran. Beside him, Phil was asleep on guard duty. In a healthy body contains a healthy mind. All right, everyone, time for swordsmanship with a relaxed mind. Amon would build their endurance, and Phil would teach them swordsmanship based on that endurance. A bump on his head throbbed. That Amon. His training sessions are more formulaic than I thought. The two teachers, both with bumps on their heads, gathered to gossip. I know, right? Running until near exhaustion, then swinging a sword. Being scolded for negligence. It's perfect for quickly building stamina. Chloe and Phil practiced swordsmanship diligently. Previously, all these kids were from noble families. So many families complained about their children running around, saying it looked undignified. Everyone, swing harder. We never imagined ourselves doing this. Marion frowned. So Amon adjusted his teaching style to fit Boris and Chloe's backgrounds. Phil bit her lip. But even if they were high nobles, Amon would still treat them the same. Look at us. Amon shouted a signal. All right, the next training session will be a 1-on-2 match against the teacher. You're right, he hits too hard. On the field. He clutched his head and swayed his hips as Chloe swung her sword. But it seems he's just teasing them. You can't hit me, right? Too slow, right? Who hits their teacher? After many days of basic endurance training. Amon laughed happily and clapped his hands. All right, everyone, Let's get to some real combat training. Boris lunged and bit his arm. Chloe was scowling, her hair bristling. Boris, don't bite. Chloe, you're not a cat. Those two students had become actual beasts. Outside the wooden guardhouse in armor, Marion staggered and pointed at a guard. Look who it is. Isn't it Lord Tomato? The man trembled. It's Viscount Tomato. Amon's sighed. Is this guy really a Viscount? What are you doing here, Viscount? He laughed loudly, opening his coat to reveal a shimmering gold medal on his chest. I'm here for the education of the children at the academy. Haven't you heard? This is the symbol of the Martisfeeder family. Tomato scowled. All right, get in. Inside the cold arena, dust began to rise. A man in iron armor stretched and winked at them. Call me Beat. A soldier of armor, Brad Beat. Chloe and Boris looked nervous. Everyone, today will be a sparring session with the proud city guard of armor. Boris's eyes lit up as he stepped forward with his sword. I'll go first. Amon happily rubbed his head. Alahite, Boris. Great spirit. He smiled and bowed to the soldier. Please be careful. Don't worry, Beat said happily, shaking his hand. I'll go easy on them. Boris glared, holding his sword as he leaped. No, he meant you're the one who needs to be careful. Beat, unable to defend in time, suddenly screamed, What? Beat curled up and raised his sword to block the attack. Boris, his face dark with focus, landed easily. Amon laughed in delight, his hands clenching with joy. Yes, perfect. Boris's calves tightened. Those many laps around the field had increased his speed many times over. He lunged to initiate the attack. Hit. The Martisfeeder family strategy taught by Phil, but the most important skill was still missing. The kid's technique was solid. He stared, gritting his teeth in doubt. This kid is more agile than I thought. Must be because he's small. Pitt noticed his waist. There, I see an opening. In the blink of an eye, Boris vanished into thin air. A sword struck his side. That was a decoy. Beat gritted his teeth, looking at him flying in with his sword. What? This kid. Boris bit his lip, his gaze sharp and cold. He coldly raised his sword and struck the top of Pitt's head repeatedly, making him clutch his head and howl in pain. Wait, not my hair. Kid. Hey kid, don't hit my head. I already told you, stop. Damn it, stop. Pitt knelt on the ground, bowing his bald head. I give up. Praises rang out from all around. Young master, you're amazing. And you call yourself a warrior? Boris's eyes shone with joy. I actually beat an adult and a warrior. Amon proudly rubbed his nose. All that training wasn't for nothing. Well done, Boris. He walked over with a smile and patted the girl's shoulder. Chloe, it's your turn. You can do it, right? Yes, teacher Amon. The girl clutched her sword and slowly walked onto the arena. Chloe's eyes darted around frantically, her face turning pale. She curled up, clutching her sword tightly, when she felt dozens of eyes watching her. Chloe collapsed onto the ground in fear. She lay curled up, clutching her head and trembling, making the soldier worry. What's wrong with the girl? She burst into tears, eyes shut tight, clutching her head as she shook. Just as I thought. I can't do this. There are too many people watching. Too many eyes on me. Amon called out softly. Chloe Lewis, are you okay? The girl curled up and looked up at him. Teacher. He gently patted her head. Relax. These people will look at you once, and then just move on. Amon smiled gently. Think of these strangers as something familiar and easy for you to handle. Like how your village grows lots of potatoes. Just think of them as potatoes. Chloe looked at him with shimmering eyes. Something easy to handle is. Watching me? He put his hands on his hips and comforted her. What is it? All right, Chloe, feeling more confident? The girl stood up straight and pointed her sword forward. Yes, I'll try. Chloe bit her lip, mumbling to herself, they're watching me. Watching me. The soldier in front of her seemed to be covered in mist. Kid, aren't you going to attack? Or should I go first? She powerfully swung her sword at the soldier. No one expected the shy Chloe to dare strike a stranger. Marion's eyes widened in surprise. Amazing, Amon. What kind of advice did you give her? Amon smugly stroked his chin. I didn't say anything special. I guess being a teacher is just in my blood. Then let me take that back. Chloe bit her lip, her gaze cold as she raised her wooden sword high. The soldier smiled smugly and parried the blow. That's quite scary. The girl quickly darted past him. The soldier's face darkened, his mouth hanging open in shock. The wooden blade struck his waist hard, making him scream, my bone. Wait a minute. It felt like it hit the bone directly. Why do you keep hitting that exact spot? The soldier dropped his weapon in agony. The girl let out a breath and smirked. Chloe won. That's why. Marion and Amon screamed with joy from the stands. Chloe, it's over. You guys are my lifesavers. Beat held his sword facing Boris. Since that day, the students had to spar with the guards daily. You're not allowed to hit my head, okay? I don't want to. Amon followed the two kids closely during their run. Chloe smiled mischievously while wiping her wooden sword. That brat broke my bone again. Amon stood at the board teaching the two kids. As their confidence grew, their skills improved significantly. A day before the competition, Amon stood with his hands on his hips, smiling happily. You've practiced very hard. The two kids looked at him with sparkling eyes. Let's go eat something delicious today, shall we? Professor Amon is the best. What are we having? Steak or barbecue? He squinted with a look of pure joy. We're going to the arena. Only the winner gets to eat well. Chloe and Boris bit their lips, expressions frozen in shock. You can't do that, Professor. Inside a cage, two fighters stood side by side while the audience cheered. Bet 2 gold. I'll add another gold. If you lose, I can't go home today. You have to win at all costs. Boris crossed his arms, pouting. I'm telling Teacher Slot that you brought us here. Give us 2 of the best portions here. Amon shrugged. Professor Slot gave me permission. I want to register and place a bet. By the way, let me tell you the rules here. The two fighters on the field grappled tightly. The only rule is you must use your bare hands. Weight hitting weak points, gouging eyes, biting, anything goes. Boris clenched his fists, scowling. But we've only learned swordsmanship. The waiter brought the forms. Registration and betting are done. Hey, if you don't have a sword, are you just going to sit there and suck your thumb? His words stunned the boy. Even in a competition, no one can guarantee they'll play fair. That's true, but... Amon walked over and patted Boris's head. He leaned down and spoke softly to reassure him. Don't worry too much. Trust in what you've learned and in yourself. The boy pouted, trembling as if about to cry. Professor Amon, I don't trust anything you've taught us. A man on the upper floor swirled his wine, looking down at the group. Marion and Amon were having fun. All right, registration is done. Let's find a seat. Yes, sir. Are they students? I've never seen anyone besides Viscount Zoom. He smiled slyly and took a sip of wine. How foolish. This is no place for children. Boris fearfully opened the cage door, his face twisting in terror. The battle between Aegean and Boris starts now. What do I do? He looks so strong. A massive man covered in scars looked down at him arrogantly. What's this brat doing here? Boris clenched his fists, taking a stance. It was a battle between a veteran and child. He remembered Amon's advice. You're not strong yet. Your mana control and swordsmanship are still in the developing stage. He squinted, waving his hand. So, I'll teach you a special technique. If your opponent is so strong that you have no chance of winning, aim for the weak spots. Boris lunged forward and kicked him in the groin. The man groaned in agony. Aegean's eggs are shattered. Must have been all talk. Boris wins. Amon and Marion turned pale, subconsciously closing their legs. Chloe, you saw what Boris did, right? Just do exactly what he did. Yes, Professor. His face was grim. All right, Chloe. I'll cheer for you. Mostly because I bet 2 gold on you. A strange-looking man angrily crushed his wine glass. Damn it. If the business fails because of those brats. He turned to the man who just fought and barked orders. Bring Jackson, the trouble fixer, here. But Viscount Zoom is here. Dixon and us have no connection anyway. Even Viscount Zoom can't cause us trouble. The man stammered, then hurried off, trembling. I'll go now. But sir, Dixon said he wanted a rest today. What? Because work is done for the day? The 3 with Amon were all gasping in shock. Meanwhile, in the arena, Chloe. Has she always been this talented? The girl on the field punched her opponent in the ribs. The guy lunged from behind. You little brat. Chloe leaped and somersaulted away. Marion stood stunned, wiping the corner of his mouth. Even though she just started swordsmanship, her hand-to-hand combat is solid. Amon watched intently, chin in hand. I heard Marquis Fit created swordsmanship by fighting barehanded in his imagination. Chloe powerfully struck her opponent's neck. If done with a fist, it's a destructive blow. If done with a sword, it becomes a piercing strike. I see. You seem to know a lot. Amon and Marion huddled around Boris to gossip. Did you learn swordsmanship from Slot? No, I asked, but she refused to teach me. I see. It seems the Anti-Amon Education Alliance is still going strong. He raised a bag of money in his hand happily. Chloe, Boris, well done. The 4 of them celebrated excitedly before heading out. To celebrate today's victory, I'll treat you tonight. Treat me too? I don't treat people who are more than I do. The man gritted his teeth in rage. You can't discriminate like that. Do you know how much a drink costs? Those damn bastards, I dare them to come back. Amon opened his empty coin purse, walking down the street looking impoverished. These kids were so hungry they wiped out my entire wallet. I'm flat broke today. Amon gently knocked on the door. I'll just ask the principal for a little money. Amon worriedly pushed the door open and rushed in. What's wrong, principal? Anarin was in tears as she looked at him. Professor Amon, my King Mango. He squinted, bewildered. I only have one left. What? An image of a mysterious figure in black sneaking in to eat mangoes flashed through his mind. Was there a thief? A thought suddenly struck him. Wait, if I catch them, she'll reward me. At that moment, Amon only thought about what he could gain. Amon stepped closer. Rest easy, principal. He leaped toward the person sitting and eating a mango. I will. To Anarin's shock. Thought he threw a kick with all his might to catch that damn thief. Professor Amon, wait. His foot landed right on the person's cheek. Allow me to introduce myself. A woman with short white hair sat with her legs crossed. I am Brett, the vice principal of this academy. Amon knelt on the floor, eyes wide and shrinking back. I thought I'd get a reward. What did you just say? I'm sorry, vice principal. I didn't recognize you. Fine. It's good that you realize it now. Brett frowned and held a paper up to his face. I didn't expect you to experience so much just by coming back. I was just away on a trip, and I almost lost my job. Her words pierced Anarin's chest. I did my best to run the academy and stop that idiot from doing stupid things. Run the academy? Amon stood up shakily. You mean you've been the one running this place all along? She leaned back in her chair. Of course. How could I trust that stupid elf? Stupid? I'm not. Anarin started, but Brett's face darkened as she pointed to a letter. What is this entry in the ledger? Temporary income. 5,000 gold coins? Anarin turned pale and looked away. Well, speak properly. Her glowing red pupils scanned the room, making Anarin flinch in tears. Money from winning a bet on the snail race. Brett roared in anger. It's a miracle we have temporary income, but what if things didn't go as planned? Don't you realize you're a principal? I'm sorry. Amon sat there, his mouth twitching as he looked away. The one who supported the bet and the race. She licked her lips with a wicked gaze. If you plan to invest next time, remember to invest in the King Mango Orchard. Amon's eyes widened in surprise. Why invest in the King Mango Orchard? She calmly read the farm owner's letter. Wouldn't this investment definitely yield a profit? That's true, but for now, Brett handed the paper back to Anarin, and the academy cafeteria is severely understaffed. Principal, sign this personnel document. Yes, ma'am. Amon rushed over and snatched the letter. Wait, we only have 3 professors and 2 students left. Why do we need more staff? Don't sign it, principal. A piece of paper was pressed against his chin. Hey, rookie. Brett spoke in a low voice while holding his head. Low-quality meals only lead to a decline in morale. Shouldn't we improve mental health by improving the quality of the food? What kind of nonsense is she talking about? Amon bit his lip and turned away. Wait, looking at it now. The table was covered in scattered letters. Every single one was about the cafeteria. Brett scowled as she read a paper. Our meat supply is also terrible. We need to find a new partner. Vice principal. A light breeze blew into the office. What is it? Amon reached out with a faint smile. I want you to participate in the competition held by His Majesty as the lead professor, starting tomorrow. Brett gritted her teeth in anger. What? Why should I do that? Amon laughed, his expression turning dark. Why? Because if she stays here, she'll turn the whole academy into a cafeteria? If you appear as the academy representative, His Majesty might favor us more. Amon clinged to her like a debt collector, while Brett fearfully tried to push him away. Then the principal will. With all due respect, vice principal, I'm begging you. It has to be you. Are you crazy? I get it. Get down. Please. I told you I get it. Anarin stood aside, deeply moved. Professor Amon, I didn't know you were working this hard for us. Brilliant fireworks exploded in the blue sky, light showering the massive stone castle below. Confetti fluttered in the air, signaling a momentous day. A large poster was hung at the city gates. The Emperor's Youth Competition. The Emperor cheers for the youth of the Empire. From above, a voice echoed across the square. Thank you for appearing on this glorious day. The festival atmosphere continued. Amon Drake was carrying a sack on his shoulder, thinking, the Emperor known as the most democratic ruler. King Amones stood on high, wearing a magnificent cloak and a heavy crown. He raised his fist, his face full of excitement. His declaration rang out clearly. Let the competition begin. The image of the Emperor's Youth Competition appeared on a flyer. Above was a portrait of King Amones with a stern gaze. Amon Drake thought, the Emperor known as the most democratic ruler. This photo looks photoshopped. Boris appeared behind Amon Drake and gently pulled his sleeve. Professor Amon? Amon Drake turned his head in surprise. What's wrong, Boris? The boy thought for a moment with a worried look. Boris replied, it's nothing, sir. Amon Drake smiled. All right then. Fireworks continued to explode in the blue sky, their lights intertwining into giant shapes mid-air, sketching a crowned face with a wide grin. A soft chuckle echoes. Ah, the image in the sky. The lights change as the streaks of light reconnect. This time, a figure appears with a raised fist, a massive body in an exaggerated pose, as if soaking up the attention of everyone below. Just how much of the national treasury did he spend on this? The firework displays continue to shift. Is this what our taxes are being used for? A succulent, glistening grilled meat skewer appears. Boris opens his mouth wide and begins to dig in. Amon Drake watches the 2 children happily enjoying their skewers. Is it good? The two kids reply in unison, "It's great, right?" "Of course it is." Amon Drake thinks to himself, "It's daylight robbery." Chloe happily offers a skewer to Amon Drake. "Have a bite, sir." Suddenly, Chloe bumps into another child, and her grilled meat skewer falls to the ground. Amon Drake drops to his knees with a pained expression, staring at the meat and crying. "That skewer was expensive." "It's okay, Chloe. Remember the 3-second rule?" Boris panics too. 3, 2. Chloe is flustered. "Stop it, it's fine." Chloe turns her head back to look at the boy with an angry glare. Raymond stands backlit against them, showing only his silhouette. "How rude." Boris looks at Amon Drake and asks, "Where did Professor Marion and the vice principal go?" Beside him, Chloe radiates a murderous aura, furious about the dirty skewer. Amon Drake suddenly decides to pick it up and toss it elsewhere before answering Boris. "I don't know. They were with us during the opening ceremony." Amon Drake suddenly freezes as if remembering something. Wait, he recalls what Anarin once mentioned. Dark elves are obsessed with one thing. On the dining table, dirty plates are stacked so high they're wobbling, with sauce dripping onto the table. The atmosphere is heavy and chaotic, with food scattered everywhere. Is she that hungry? This is bad. Marion leans back, shaking and laughing heartily, seemingly oblivious to the mess. Brett, however, remains calm, chin in hand as she slowly continues eating, acting as if everything is perfectly normal. Behind a stack of plates, Amon Drake stands frozen, his eyes shadowed, his body stiff from shock. Beside him, the two kids huddle together, faces pale, let out small whimpers of fear. In the next moment, his anger explodes. A shout rings out, "You idiots!" breaking the weird atmosphere. Chloe and Boris jump, cold sweat pouring down. "Retreat quickly. We're having some technical difficulties." The two of them say in unison, "Professor Amon." What? Two bodies lie sprawled on the cold stone floor, twisted as if they'd been mercilessly beaten. Isn't this just codependency? In front of them, Amon Drake's face is dark, one hand on his chest, looking both annoyed and disgusted. "So what? Thanks to you two. All our money was spent on this one meal." The mood suddenly drops. The two on the ground go silent, their eyes hollow and stripped of their earlier energy. "Now our students won't even have a decent meal. Remember that." Amon Drake leans down, close to Brett's ear. Every commander with a bad reputation dies at the hands of their own father. Brett's eyes widen as she screams. "But killing is too much. How about just being beaten half to death?" Amon listens. Wait, Brett continues. "Do you know there's a secret betting circle for this competition?" Amon Drake pauses to think. In the end, Amon Drake pays for the meal. He takes out his wallet and hands the server 6 silver coins. "Take these confirmation tickets for when Boris and Chloe win their first match." The staff member happily thanks him. "Thank you for using our services." Amon Drake feels a sharp pain in his heart paying for the meal. Damn it, never again. Amon Drake stares at the receipt with hollow eyes. But these kids have beaten adults before. They'll win for sure, he tells himself, trying to find comfort. The weather at the arena today is perfect. An announcement echoes throughout the stadium. The first stage of the competition is swordsmanship. The announcements continue. Chloe and Boris head toward the gate. "Contestants, please step forward." Amon Drake stands next to Brett, hands clasped in silent prayer. "I'm putting all my faith in you kids. If you lose, we all starve. We'll have to walk back to the academy on foot." Brett only feels hunger. "I'm hungry again." Suddenly, Boris feels a sharp pain in his shoulder. He looks worried, massaging his arm. It hurts so much. The result of Amon's special training. His face is full of murderous intent. Victory for Chloe. "Anarin, you're the best, Chloe." The competition kicks off with Chloe's victory. Meanwhile, Boris has his match against a student from a prestigious academy. The battle is fierce. The prestigious academy student lunges aggressively, leaning forward as he swings his weapon without hesitation. Facing him is Boris, who rushes to defend, his body shaking from the force of the impact. The crowd behind them is stunned by the sight. Is that kid a commoner? He's doing pretty well. Boris grows increasingly anxious and stressed. He begins to panic. "My shoulder. It's hurting more and more." Amon Drake is still basking in Chloe's victory, his face blooming with joy. Earning 60 silver coins was easy. "Thanks, Chloe." And the odds for Boris are 1:100 since he's a commoner. This is too easy. Boris suddenly leaps into the air. His whole body is in an attacking stance. He raises his weapon with both hands, using the momentum of the fall to pour all his strength into a downward strike. The crowd screams, "We believe in you, Boris." He grits his teeth. In that moment, an old memory flashes by. "We believe in you, Boris." The image of his parents appears in his mind. "You will be the best version of yourself at the academy. You will shine." Carrying their expectations and his own excitement. "I won't let my parents down. Just watch me." The boy realized something after joining the academy. To even be average among the nobility, he had to work 10 times harder than everyone else. In the dead of night, Amon Drake's voice rings out. Boris, are you still practicing? In the darkness, while everyone else is asleep, he is still working hard. Amon Drake sees him and approaches with a lamp. Professor Amon, looking at you makes me want to do 100 laps too. That's too many. By the lake, Boris asks Amon Drake. Why did you ask me to train for the competition? Why me? Amon Drake turns his head in surprise to look at Boris. Snapping back from the memory, Boris grits his teeth. Why am I still training this late? It's obviously because. He swings his strike down at his opponent. I can win. The injury in his shoulder flares up as he makes the move, causing Boris agonizing pain. He suddenly retreats. Amon Drake looks on, bewildered. Why is he suddenly backing off? The student from the prestigious academy acts arrogant. What's wrong? Lost your momentum? Boris looks panicked. The elite student continues to gloat. Is this the limit for a commoner? Boris's pain begins to worsen. His hands start to tremble. This is bad. Boris's body begins to shake. I can't move my shoulder. In that moment, his opponent launches a surprise attack, leaving Boris completely defenseless. Boris is caught off guard. Akata, with a sinister expression, points his wooden sword at Boris. I'll teach a commoner like you some manners. Akata's wooden sword swings down from above with heavy momentum. The strike is too fast, hitting Boris directly. A cracking sound rings out. Go back to the gutter where you belong. Boris's shoulder shudders, and he loses his balance. Sweat pours down his forehead. He grits his teeth, trying to stay conscious. I lost. The announcement rings out. Akata wins. Amon Drake buries his face in his hands in agony, ignoring the stares of everyone around him. My 6 silver coins. Whispers about Boris start to spread. But that commoner kid did really well. True, but how could he ever compare to a noble family? Amon Drake reflects on those words. Even if he's a commoner, I'd really like to see what he becomes in the future. Boris approaches Amon Drake with his arm in a cast. Professor Amon. I. Boris looks dejected. Amon Drake looks at him and replies, what's wrong? Why the long face? Boris looks down at the ground. Amon Drake stands up and walks to him. I'm sorry. I lost in the first round. It's okay. You did a great job, Boris. Boris feels guilty and ashamed facing Amon Drake. Why didn't you tell me your shoulder was hurting? Amon Drake rubs Boris's head. If I told you, would you still have let me compete? I really wanted to win. Memories of the past days flood back. Boris was practicing hard. How do you like my class? Wait, even though it's exhausting, it's actually really fun. Is that so? Besides, don't you feel much more confident now? Amon Drake looks at Boris with an affectionate gaze. The result doesn't matter. The process does. You'll have many more opponents in the future. Boris looks at Amon Drake with shimmering eyes. So, use this match as a foundation to push yourself and grow further. Yes, Professor Amon. The two reach out and lock pinkies, a silent promise established. And tell me if you have any injuries next time. Got it? Yes, sir. After a long day, the competition is nearing its end. The sky has turned dark. The announcer begins the next segment. The swordsmanship category of this tournament has finally reached the finals. Chloe is still diligently wiping her wooden sword. The announcement rings out again. Once again, many talents of the Empire have shown their amazing skills. Especially Chloe, who has been performing like a rising star. I'm very much looking forward to her next match. Amon Drake, Boris, Brett, and Marion Zoom Doom sit together, each with a different expression. While Amon Drake is thinking about Chloe's opponent, Brett looks sleepy. Finally, the match between Chloe and Jaemon. That Jaemon kid doesn't seem to belong to an academy, and his skills look mediocre. Amon Drake watches as the contestants enter the arena. I'm sure Chloe will win. Amon Drake suddenly looks confused as Jaemon walks out slowly. A man with a rough, fierce appearance speaks in a low, raspy voice. Do your best to hide your true power in this competition. You too. Jaemon rests his wooden sword on his shoulder and looks up. What enlightenment could I possibly gain from this tournament? The royal grand swordsman, king of the heavenly sword, the hidden grandson. Jaemon. Jaemon looks bored as he gazes at Chloe, taking a combat stance. I'm looking forward to this. Chloe, stop talking nonsense. What? The crowd in the stands begins to gossip. Can't you see? Looks like Chloe's going to win. I'm going to get more popcorn, and let me go take a bathroom break. Chloe looks at him with indifferent eyes, pointing to herself. This doesn't seem interesting. Let's finish this quickly. Jaemon suddenly raises his wooden sword and lunges toward Chloe. This low-level tournament is boring, so let me show you a glimpse of my talent. The match between Chloe and Jaemon begins. Chloe's eyes widen in surprise. Jaemon's movements are swift and decisive. As the start signal sounds, Chloe barely manages to tilt her body to dodge the sword by a hair's breadth. Jaemon is already closed in. Jaemon's wooden sword carves a wide arc, swinging down from above. His body rotates with the slash, all his weight concentrated in the arm gripping the hilt. Chloe immediately drops low, her pink hair flying as she dodges the strike in the nick of time. Jaemin's wooden blade grazes past above her, so close that the wind from the strike makes the surrounding air shudder. Amon Drake watches from the stands. This kid, look at those unusual movements. The two of them are like two wild beasts lunging at each other. Truly like a wild bear. The announcement rings out. Jaemon is leading with powerful strikes and aggressive movement. Chloe looks worried. He's too fast. How am I supposed to block this? In the heat of the exchange, Jaemon lunges like a gust of wind, his gaze cold and intensely focused on Chloe. What'd I do now? Before Chloe could react, the blow landed square on her shoulder. The announcer's voice rang out, 1 point for Jaemon. The two blades locked as Chloe parried the next strike. She gritted her teeth. Getting interesting now, isn't it? Stop joking around. I haven't even started yet. Chloe thought she had the upper hand. But then, Chloe heard the whispers from the crowd. It was brutal. The comments were different from before. This is boring. She just keeps taking hits without counterattacking. I hope to see some actual talent. Stop playing around and just hit him already. Hearing those words, Chloe's face suddenly turned pale. The judging eyes and pointing fingers felt like psychological ghosts weighing her down. I thought I could handle this, but I'm terrified. Chloe suddenly flashed back to her school days, remembering the mocking glares of her peers. Acts like she's so great, but look at her now. Does anyone else smell a pig around here? She used to be so arrogant, but look at her. Does she still think she's royalty? Chloe's eyes filled with sadness. This isn't the path I wanted from the start. She couldn't even decide her own future. But father, why must I study abroad? I just want to stay here. Leave immediately. You have no choice. For a royal family with no succession rights, that was the fate they had to accept. She gripped her training sword. She looked at the weapon with profound sorrow. How am I supposed to live like this? Chloe's feet felt like they were treading on glass. She had arrived with determination despite the gossip. Even if she was a half-abandoned student, she didn't want to lose her royal dignity, even if it meant death. The Brave Youth Award for this semester goes to Chloe Aaron. She stepped forward amidst more pointing fingers. But did that look offend the other students? After her country fell, the bullying became relentless. Chloe thought back on her past, and since then, she had become paralyzed by the gaze of others. She couldn't even move. Amon Drake sat in the stands, watching Chloe with concern. At this rate, she's going to lose. Can she fight back? No, this is dangerous. If Chloe wins, I get at least 1 point and 50 silver coins. He screamed at the top of his lungs, CHLOE. Amon Drake bellowed her name. The ear-piercing sound tore through the air. Several people nearby winced and covered their ears tightly. Chloe looked up at him. Don't forget what I taught you. We practiced this in our special class. How to face strangers. Chloe gripped her sword tighter. Chloe, compare strangers to anything you find easy to handle. Jaemon also heard Amon Drake shout and looked up. Is that her professor? Why is he so loud? But while Jaemon was distracted, Chloe struck him right in the head. 1 point for Chloe. Amon Drake chatted with Brett. By the way, isn't she a student from the Aaron Kingdom? Yes, but the pork there is delicious. It's a shame. Amon Drake was confused. Pork? Mary and Zoomdoom turned to look at them. You didn't know? That kingdom was famous for livestock. The streets were full of pigs. In their dialect, what do they call pigs again? I'm pretty sure. Meanwhile, on the field, Chloe was radiating an intense, murderous aura. This damn pig. Amon Drake was surprised. I used the potato example from your hometown, but now you're imagining them as. Chloe swung her blade, creating arcs of light that struck Jaemon. She's created a monster. A special move? Stir-fried pork. She used her legs to drive the force. Chloe and Jaemon lunged at each other. The two wooden swords met, their murderous auras clashing in an instant. Jaemon gritted his teeth, enduring Chloe's strike. Is this sword aura? No, that's banned in the competition. Jaemon's hand holding the sword began to tremble. Then where's this sudden strength coming from? Jaemon looked at Chloe. What are you looking at? He caught Chloe's murderous gaze. This damn pig. In that split second, Jaemon was sent flying by Chloe. Jaemon's eyes went blank. Grandpa, thanks to her, I've realized something. Chloe had knocked Jaemon to the ground. Jaemon seemed to have reached an epiphany. I was just a frog in a well. The match ended. The winner is Chloe Aaron. Amon Drake jumped for joy. Yes, that's it. This money is enough to cover our expenses. Thanks, Chloe. He looked toward her confused. Chloe? After the match, Chloe had fainted right there on the field. Balloons shaped like the old emperor were released into the sky. Everyone please stand. The emperor will congratulate the winners with a speech. King Amones spoke joyfully. These young swordsmen are truly a sight to behold, aren't they? Of course, seeing such amazing skills from potential future commanders is a treat for anyone. Jaemon stepped up to the podium. Now, the winner of the swordsmanship competition, please step up. Both Amon Drake and Chloe looked grim. My Chloe should have been the one standing there. She was about to win but fainted. Living an easy life only to bother others. Huh? When Chloe fainted, Amon Drake had rushed down to check on her. He remembered the rules. The match ends when both feet step out of the circle. That's the knight's call and the code of battle. Thus, the winner was Jamon. They were fine, but for some reason, he felt irritated. Amon Drake and Chloe listened blankly to King Amonis. Wait, I wish to speak with one more person who is equally outstanding. Chloe Aaron, please step onto the podium. King Amonis looked happily at the three children. Thank you for making this competition so exciting. According to the rules, each of you will receive 10 gold coins. King Amonis leaned down and asked Chloe, by the way, Chloe Aaron, you're from the Aaron Kingdom, right? You must have gone through a lot. Amon Drake and the others were moved. I met your father a few times. It was all my fault. It's okay, Your Majesty. Those pigs deserved it. I understand, my child. It must have been hard for you to accept that. He actually thinks the fall of the Aaron Kingdom has nothing to do with the Empire, yet he still apologizes sincerely. He really has a saintly soul. Amon Drake was stunned. Was the one screaming earlier your professor? Yes, Your Majesty. Seems like an interesting fellow. King Amonis raised his hand toward the stands. The one who taught Chloe Aaron, please step onto the podium. What the heck? Amon Drake was bewildered as everyone looked at him with admiration. He stepped up. I never expected this to happen to me. He placed his hand on his chest and bowed. The first step to success. My sincerest greetings to you, Your Majesty. The king happily rewarded him with a pouch of money. A man of ability indeed. You have a very talented student. I shall give you 10 gold coins as well. Money. Amazing. Thank you, Your Majesty. Amon Drake's eyes sparkled with greed as he looked at the pouch. But you look familiar. What is your name? Amon Drake, Your Majesty. The king whispered, Drake? Amon Drake nodded happily. Yes, my name is Amon Drake. Who are you calling Your Majesty, you little brat? Huh? King Amonis' face suddenly went dark. No wonder greed is written all over your face. You're from the Drake family. Amon Drake bowed nervously. I am deeply sorry, Your Majesty. What's his problem? Does he have a grudge against my family? Your greed shows clearly that you're a Drake. But you were the one who offered the reward first. In the end, he still gave the pouch to Amon Drake. Whatever, take it. Thank you, Your Majesty. Suddenly, King Amonis snatched the bag back just as Amon Drake was about to take it. It's not that easy. King Amonis held it out again. Just kidding, here you go. You almost gave me a heart attack, Your Majesty. I will treasure it. He snatched it back again while Amon Drake looked on blankly. Missed it. Amon Drake's eyes narrowed sinisterly. Amon Drake's fingers twitched. Queen Victoria's face was dark. Is this the 17th Emperor Amonist? The saintly one? Calm down. The family reputation will sink even further if I react. Just as he was about to make a mistake, Queen Victoria landed a direct hit on King Amonis' head. The queen's eyes were murderous as she looked at the king. What kind of attitude is this? If you're royalty, act like it. Honey, the queen is here. Remember, we're in front of the people. King Amonis laughed and spoke to Amon Drake. It seems I let my emotions get the best of me. That was a poor display. This was Queen Victoria. Queen Victoria approached Amon Drake. You said you're from the Drake family, right? Yes, ma'am. Her face suddenly became serious. It seems you don't know about the conflict between the Amonists and the Drakes. Amon Drake looked confused. Pardon? You mean? The queen took the pouch. Just know there's a reason His Majesty acts this way. You may step down. Yes, I understand. He stepped down dejectedly. In the end, not a single gold coin made it into his pocket. Night had fallen. Jamon returned home in a slump. He threw his bag and wooden sword down and lay face first on the floor. How was it? I won. Rainbow leaned on his sword and asked Jamon, did you win while hiding your strength like I told you? The great imperial swordsman, Sword King Rainbow. The boy thought for a moment. The old man laughed and rubbed Jamon's head. So you didn't, huh? What were you thinking? The world out there is a tough place to survive, isn't it? Yes, you're right. Sword King Rainbow's gaze became sharp. Jamon's image reflected in his blade. There are many experts hiding out there. Even though I'm called a genius and have the title of Sword King, I know there are many better than me. I wouldn't stand a chance against them. What I'm saying is, arrogance is a poison. Understand? Yes. But who was so talented they made me reveal my skills? He remembered with an annoyed expression. Someone named Chloe Aaron from the Amonist Academy, from the Aaron Kingdom. It wasn't easy at all. Hearing that, Rainbow's eyes sharpened. And she has a professor? A professor who can make my disciple go all out. That must be one hell of a teacher. He broke into a sinister smile. How interesting. The village was deserted at night, with no lights coming from the houses. Meanwhile, a new crisis was unfolding at the Amonist Academy. Anarin's eyes were shimmering. Amon Drake looked at her, confused. What did you say? Anarin cried as she read the notice. Due to disrespectful behavior toward the emperor, there was a request to fire Amon of the Drake family, currently a teacher at the Almonist Academy. Read the whole thing. That damn Drake brat. Amon Drake found it unacceptable. I don't know what kind of attitude you showed, but be grateful His Majesty only asked to fire you and did nothing more. That's how I see it. Unacceptable. He gritted his teeth. A request to fire him. If I knew things would turn out like this. Amon Drake clenched his fists. 2 long streaks of tears ran down Aaron's face as she cried. I should have met the Emperor sooner. Look how miserable Professor Amon is. She only thought about him leaving the academy without any damage to himself. She went to comfort him. Why did I choose the painful path instead of the easy one? Professor Amon, exactly what happened? Amon Drake explained the reason to Aaron. She was surprised, leaning her hands on the table facing him. I'm not sure, but it seems there was a conflict between the royals and my family, so His Majesty is quite angry. He fired you for that? You've contributed so much to the academy. He thought back on his time at the academy. So much had happened. He had protected the school's finances. He created the training programs. And he had persuaded the vice principal. Amon Drake bowed deeply. I have many precious memories here, but there's nothing I can do now. Thank you for everything. Amon is free. Yes, there's truly nothing we can do. Aaron's face was beaming. Then let's just ignore the Emperor's request. Huh, our academy is closing anyway. Crows appeared at the academy gates. A request is just a request. As you can see, we're doing fine. Our academy is still open as usual. Even if we ignore other requests, nothing happens. Just do what the Emperor wants. Aaron placed a hand on her heart. As the principal, I find this unacceptable. I cannot stand by and watch a talented teacher like you leave without doing anything. It would affect my prestige and honor. So what? Just fire me. Amon Drake clutched his head. It's too early to give up, Professor Amon. This is actually the perfect time to give up. The important thing is we must have faith that we can resist this. Please just stop. What's all the noise? He shouted. The request to fire Professor Amon. Yes, exactly. Vice Principal, please fire me. I can't do that. His face darkened. How could I fire a talented teacher like you? Even if it's a request from the Emperor himself. I just can't do it. Brett's expression turned grim as she stepped toward him. She's doing this because she knows I want to be fired. You can come whenever you want, but you can never leave. Professor Amon is getting fired? Suddenly, Marion Zoom Doom burst through the door looking frantic, clutching a stack of papers. Senior Marion, firing a talented professor like you is absurd. Finally, someone who actually cares about my paperwork. While Marion and Aaron scrambled to save him, Amon Drake clutched his head in despair. I'll send a message to Marcus Williams. Another to the north to tell His Majesty. Don't do it. I'll send one too, stop. What about my hunger? He screamed, losing his mind. If you're not going to fire me, at least give me a vacation. And just like that, Amon gave up on his dream of escaping the academy. An ancient, massive manor stood surrounded by dense forest, overlooking a cluster of smaller houses below. Amon Drake stood on a hill. Amon's hometown, the Drake territory in the Demon Mountains. He stood there taking a deep breath of fresh air. Finally, I'm back. Home sweet home. Aaron's ears perked up as she looked around. This is my first time seeing the Demon Mountains. The 7 of them stood overlooking the village. So this is what the edge of the continent looks like. This weather is perfect for enjoying a bottle of wine. I think I smell something delicious nearby. No matter where I go, these weirdos insist on following me. In a classic, luxurious library. You've been here for 3 months, so your vacation will be 3 days. Yes, sir. Aaron looked at Amon Drake's troubled expression and felt flustered. But it takes at least 15 days just to get to your territory. According to Academy rules, I can't combine vacation days into more than a month. He suddenly shouted. Since it's come to this, it's time for a negotiation. Principal, my hometown is in the Demon Mountains. So, since it's a long-distance trip, add some extra travel days. She smiled brightly. No, that's not what I meant. Is there any way for me to take leave early? No, absolutely not, Professor Amon. Are you trying to break the rules? Do you think I'm that easy to persuade? She sat down, pulled a snail-patterned claw from her suitcase, and held it up. Or, I could transport you there using magic. We went to the snail race that way, remember? I appreciate the offer, but why are you packing your bags? She grinned. Well, I have to drop you off anyway, so I might as well make 2 trips and stay there for convenience. What? His face went dark. This is so exciting. I've never been to the Demon Mountains. Since the competition just ended, this will be a great change of pace and an amazing field trip. He snatched the claw from Aaron's hand. Let's gather the professors and students to share the news. Wait, hold on. What field trip? Do you think my hometown is some tourist attraction? She looked bewildered as the paper in her hand tore in half. Huh, you're not going on vacation? Then I guess you don't need this anymore. Amon Drake panicked. No, wait. Why does everyone have to come? Give me some private space. She raised her index finger. Well then, Professor Amon, I'll give you a choice. Anarin made an L shape with her fingers. Option 1. 4 days of vacation and you go alone, but no magic transport. Option 2. Use magic but everyone comes along. Amon Drake trembled with rage. And so, the decision was made. Anarin spread her arms and took a deep breath. The air here is so fresh. To me, it smells like the atmosphere of death. Grace was sitting, looking at a potato field. Welcome, everyone. Amon's father greeted them warmly. This isn't a grand place, but please make yourselves at home. Amon's father, Qasim Drake. Everyone sat together, chatting over tea. Thank you for your hospitality, Viscount Drake. It's nothing, Principal. Marion Zoom Doom happily suggested to Qasim, I happen to bring some fine wine, so let's have a drink later. He was so excited he practically drooled at the offer. Isn't this a rare day for Amon? My son actually has wonderful colleagues at work. Just as expected from Viscount Zoom Doom. Father, don't be fooled. What matters most is what's on the inside. Amon Drake's father chatted happily with Anarin and Marion. Amon Drake felt invisible, trembling with anger. I have to keep these troublemakers away from my father before they get too close. In a warm atmosphere, Qasim hugged the wine bottle like a treasure. Father? Yes, my proud son. Amon Drake's gaze was serious, his hands clasped. Since I'm home, there's something I want to ask. He recalled King Amones' words. About King Amones. So you are indeed from the Drake family. And Queen Victoria's gaze. Yes, I've been thinking about it. The attitude I sensed was quite unusual. It seems you don't know the details of the relationship between the royals and the Drakes. In the quiet study, father and son sat opposite each other. Amon Drake's face showed his agitation. What exactly happened? I think it's time you knew the truth. He slammed his hands on the table in shock. The Drake family is a branch of the Amones family. The current royal family? What did you say? Qasim walked to the bookshelf and pulled out a volume while Amon Drake sat in confusion. Then why is father only a viscount? If we're related by blood, shouldn't we hold a higher title? Even Archduke Orga, who is related to King Amon. Qasim handed the book to his son. You'll understand as soon as you read this. He stared blankly at the book. These are the chronicles recorded since the first emperor of the empire. As I said, although we branched off long ago, we still carry the blood of the first emperor. Amon Drake opened the book, stunned. That's why we've kept this unique copy until now. It was already censored back in my father's time. So this is the truth about our family. Year 1 of the empire after unification. A discussion with Archduke Ramori Area Drake. Archduke Drake? My original family was a great house. According to the book, the emperor said, I will never stop trying to beat this brat to death. Archduke Drake, even if the rivers run dry. Year 3 post-unification. The emperor was defeated and fell seriously ill after a duel with Archduke Drake. From his bed, the emperor fumed. Those damn historians are forbidden from recording any of this. Year 6 post-unification. The emperor called Drake rude and disrespectful. However, Archduke Drake only replied, yes, long live the emperor, which made the emperor flip a table in rage. What? He was stripped of his Archduke title. That same day, the emperor yelled, I told you not to record this, you bastard, and threw the historian to the ground. He should have stopped when the emperor told him to. As Amonist 8 said, Marquis Drake is a Amonist 2 slap Count Drake. Amonist 14 punished Viscount Drake. Wait, how far back does this regression go? It definitely started with that Archduke. Principal Sanrio claimed Berlin Drake stole his sausages and urged the demotion of Viscount Drake to Baron. Amon Drake slammed the book shut. Is this for real? Just 2 men bickering? A children's quarrel escalated to the parents and became a deep emotional rift. All because of such trivial, petty reasons. Amon Drake's father rested his chin on his hand, reflecting. Amon Drake looked confused and quite embarrassed. But that's the whole story of why the Drake family declined. I thought there was a civil war or something. What kind of situation is this? Qasim looked solemn. Father, do you have a good relationship with the current emperor? Not really. I've never even seen his face. My father is a complete stranger to the current emperor, and it's been years since the Great War was settled. Meanwhile, Brett was stealthily snacking in the potato field. Perhaps it's because of that strained relationship that our territory wasn't conscripted during the Great War. They probably just forgot, because we're so far away and hard to reach. Too much mana. So much mana. The red book sat neatly on the table. I see. Regardless, this is top secret information known only to those close to the royals and the Drakes. Do not reveal it to anyone. Who could I even tell? This is too embarrassing. How could I even show my face in public? Amon Drake clutched his head. But why are you only telling me now? With your personality, could you have stayed still? Look, the table's broken already. You look like me, but your personality is exactly like your mother's. Qasim seemed to hear something and turned with a joyful face. Who is this dark elf? Julia, you're back. Amon Drake and his father suddenly froze like statues. Amon's mother appeared with a radiant face. Oh my god, Amon. Are you home for a visit? Yes, it's been a while, but... Wait, mother. Julia Drake. He looked at his mother with a blank, helpless expression. I found this person digging up potatoes in the back garden, so I brought her here. You know this elf? She's still mumbling something about mana. Brett appeared with a dirt-smudged face. She's the vice principal of my academy. As the sun began to set behind the mountains, he finally realized the vice principal had been captured. Phil, Anarin, Boris, Chloe, and Mary and Zoom Doom were hiding behind a bush. Yes. Seriously, what the hell is going on in this village? Everyone was hiding and watching people carrying huge fish on their shoulders. Someone's coming. Hi, quick. Wait, those people. They all looked fierce. How did they catch so many massive monsters? They seem to have spotted something. A man approached Anarin's hiding spot with a dangerous look. Who are you people? I've never seen you before. What's going on here? Amon Drake was in the forest searching for the group. Amon, young master, professor. I heard it sound like a pig being slaughtered. Doesn't seem like a monster. Amon Drake approached the men carrying the giant fish. What did you get back? Just now. But Phil, Anarin, Boris, Chloe. Mary and Zoom Doom looked surprised. Today's loot isn't much, is it? There were tons of monsters, old man. Yeah, the monsters have been pretty shy and scared to come out lately. I was hoping to go inside and drink some Amon wine. Is it because we caught so many they're going extinct? Did you actually beat them to death until they went extinct? Yes. Phil, Anarin, Boris, Chloe. Mary and Zoom Doom bowed in a sincere apology. Sorry for the misunderstanding earlier. Amon Drake happily introduced them. Anyway, let me introduce you. This is the principal, the professor, and the students from my academy. I'm truly sorry for shouting. You're outsiders, so it's understandable. They all laughed. You're our guests. You've become a great professor, young master. If you work hard, maybe you'll be a principal one day. Amon Drake shyly rubbed his head. I only plan to stay for 3 years and then bail. Please don't say that. You guys look a bit messy. Let's go change. Finally, he let out a sigh of relief. Yes, we have guests, so let's hurry. Good to see everyone again, but it's so noisy. It's getting dark. Everyone should head back. Amon Drake looked down at Phil, Anarin, and Boris. Chloe and Mary and Zoom Doom were completely drained, slumped on the ground. Are these people all insane? Professor Amon is actually quite gentle compared to them. Professor Amon is so cool. No wonder the special training was so hard. Not enough alcohol in my blood. Why are you all acting like this? Night fell. Suddenly, Anarin stammered in shock. Teacher Amon, what on earth are you eating? Amon casually chewed a piece of meat. Huh? Meat? Anarin asked again, disbelieving. Is that monster meat? How can you eat something like that? Amon kept eating. It looks weird, but it tastes pretty good. You sure you don't want to bite? She held a potato and politely declined. I'll stick to potatoes. I've lived with humans for a long time, but meat just doesn't suit my palate. He smiled and teased her. Right, you're an elf. You act so much like Satan I forgot. The night scene was warm, with laughter echoing everywhere. Your mouth is going a bit too far. You too, Viscount Zoom Doom. I'm not joking. In another corner, Amon's mother was comforting Brett. I'll get you some potatoes to take home. That's why you shouldn't poke your nose into other people's business. Amon, after taking a punch from Anarin, sniffled and enjoyed a rare moment of peace. It's been so long since I've felt this peaceful. Just as the thought finished, a massive explosion went off nearby, lighting up the sky. Everyone was startled by the noise. A drunken Marion turned around. What the hell was that sound? Phil grumbled. What kind of loud alarm is that? Boris rushed to find his teacher. Teacher Amon, what was that sound? He happily grabbed a giant axe. It's probably just a bug or something. I'll go catch it. Boris asked in a panic. Why are you taking an axe to catch a bug? He replied casually, because that bug is a monster. Boris screamed, a monster. Amon turned back and shouted. Is everyone armed? They all replied at once, yes. Amon spearheaded the group. Great. Let's go take care of those things and get back to eating. The villagers followed, each clutching a weapon, eager for battle. Understood. And so, the battle began. Out between Amon, the villagers, and the horde of blue-skinned monsters. Amon lunged with his axe, cursing as he fought. How dare you ruin this peaceful moment? You bastards. With agile movements, Amon severed a monster's leg. It screamed in agony. Amon analyzed. The meat on the leg is quite tender. Suddenly, another monster lunged for a sneak attack. Amon spotted it just in time. He spun around, and with one slash, the head went flying. The neck meat is lean and nutritious. Amon didn't slow down. His movements became even more fluid. He plunged into the thick of the monsters. Let's go enjoy the buffet. Delivering razor-sharp slashes, Amon drooled with greed as he slaughtered them. Save some ribs for me. Finally, he leaped into the air. With a few basic moves, he quickly took down the flying monster. Its body parts were shredded and rained down onto the ground. Marion stood on the sidelines, gagging. I think my sense of taste is being destroyed. To think a madman like that got into the academy. Phil was also stunned by the scene. Me too, while the two were, paralyzed by the terrifying sight before them. This is the first time I've seen such a crazed battle. On the other side, Amon finished off a monster by shoving his hand into its gut, thinking, I'm starting to feel a bit tired. Watching him fight, Phil wondered he's never learned basic combat techniques, so how can he fight so well? Is it purely through strength and instinct? She let out a sigh of relief. Just as I thought. Good thing I haven't taught him swordsmanship yet. Amon was still relentlessly sweeping through the monsters. For dessert, let's have fried rice cakes. The battle finally came to an end. Amon let out a long breath. Sitting atop a pile of monster corpses, he wiped away his sweat and groaned. It's been a long time since I went hunting. That was exhausting. Everyone gathered around Amon, clapping and praising him. As expected of a young master. You wiped out that many monsters all by yourself. The strength of young Master Amon is the real deal. He humbly replied, my body's a bit stiff, so I wasn't even at full power. He flashed a gentle smile. Maybe I've become too complacent while being a professor. Meanwhile, whispers broke out. Complacent? What's that? A type of food? After witnessing the fight, Marion happily approached with nothing but praise. Well done, Amon. He politely responded, Senior, you're here too? It's nothing major. Please go get some rest. He stepped closer to check on the situation. Are all the monsters gone? Amon, still sitting there, replied, for now, yes. But I have a feeling they'll keep coming. He suddenly raised a question. It felt like a Drake, didn't it? Marion asked in surprise. Wait, isn't Drake your family name? Hearing that, Amon immediately denied it fiercely. Are you saying my family are monsters? It's just a coincidence that we share the same name. Marion suddenly realized. Oh, you're talking about the Drakes, those dragon-like creatures? Amon looked confused, not following. Don't joke like that. You'll get scolded. Marion wondered, huh? Scolded by who? Amon started to say something, but stopped. Amon changed the subject. Never mind. I feel like these monsters are running away from something. Otherwise, why would ogres and draconians, monsters that usually prefer to act solo, suddenly gather in a group? Marion felt his reasoning was sound. That makes sense. Marion began to analyze. According to records, drakes possess massive bodies like fortress walls and scales as hard as iron armor. They're strong enough to fight an ogre. Amon slowly stood up from the monster pile. Exactly. Especially the elder drakes. If they make it here, the village's potato fields will be turned into flat ground. Marion still had doubts. But aren't drakes rare monsters that only appear in legends? Amon cracked his knuckles as he answered, true. But more accurately, they rarely show themselves. The next morning, a pack of drakes swarmed into Amon's garden to eat potatoes. A scream rang out, damn it, the drakes are here. But Brett, furious, wanted to charge at them. Oh my god, they're gonna eat all the potatoes in the region. You bastards. My potatoes. Amon looked at her helplessly. You know those aren't even your potatoes, right? Boris and Chloe tried to hold Brett back. Vice Principal, please calm down. Amon slumped to the ground, burying his face in his hands. What are we going to do about them now? Everyone around him stood, jaw dropped at the sight. At that moment, Marion stood up confidently. My dear friend, do you believe in a six-circle mage like me? He began casting a spell. Once they taste my fire magic, there'll be nothing but a handful of ash. A massive magic circle manifested from Marion's hand. A burst of power was released, aiming directly at a drake. Marion's power lightly tapped the dragon's nose. Then, it reflected straight back at Marion. He luckily tilted his body to dodge it. Amon mocked him. Looks like you're the one who's about to become a handful of ash. Phil looked up at the dragon. Suddenly, she remembered something. Phil recalled, that's the creature my father defeated before. She immediately gained confidence. Phil drew her sword and declared, then I can do it too. But then her sword snapped in half. Behind her, Marion was in despair because his magic failed. Amon spoke up, if swords could even scratch them, I would have used my axe a long time ago. Finally, he had to take command. At this point, we have no choice. Everyone, gather up and let's fight these bastards. Behind Amon, everyone was fuming at the dragons. Understood. The struggle began. Someone struggled to say, lady, please pull its back leg harder. The group was desperately grabbing parts of the dragon to haul it away. Make sure you hold on to its tail. It didn't want to be pulled back. Damn this dragon. Even as it was being dragged, it still tried to stick out its tongue to gulp down more potatoes. This enraged everyone. It's still eating even now. Spit out our potatoes, you piece of trash. While straining to pull, Amon suddenly heard a voice both strange and familiar. It's been a while since I've been here. Why is it so noisy? Amon was shocked to recognize the man floating in the sky. Elder. He was delighted. It really is you, Amon. The elder landed in front of Amon. Seems like these little punks are causing trouble. Huh? Amon wanted his help. Yes. Can you help us pull it away? Castellan simply tapped a Drake on the head. You little brat. He spoke to it gently. Why are you being so childish? Though his voice was soft, the pressure was immense. Castellan ordered, go back now. The dragon was frozen stiff by his sheer pressure. It immediately scrambled away. Seeing this, Amon exclaimed in shock. It ran away just like that. He bowed sincerely and said, Thank you, Elder. He gave a kind smile. It's nothing. Is work going well? He happily replied, I suppose so. Hearing this, the Elder felt at ease. Good. You were so small before, and now you're a teacher for these kids. Quite surprising. Amon turned to introduce the others. Let me introduce you. This is my senior. Meanwhile, Marion was still howling in pain because his magic was useless. I need to go back and train my mana. Phil was miserably staring at her broken sword. Father, I miss you. The Elder hesitated. Look at them. They seem a bit unstable, don't they? Amon clarified, no, they're always like that. He continued, introducing everyone. That's the principal and vice principal. The Elder looked on, impressed. Anarin and Brett stepped forward to greet the Elder. He asked, an elf and a dark elf holding important positions in the academy? Castle Alex approached them in a friendly manner. So you're Amon's superiors? Please take good care of him. I am Castle Alex. Pardon? Suddenly, Anarin's face turned pale and distorted. The Elder asked, is something wrong? But she could only stammer, speechless. Suddenly, Anarin flopped onto the ground while everyone looked on in confusion. She screamed, a dragon. Amon panicked, principal. Scene changes to inside Amon's house. A loud shout erupted. Why is there a black dragon living in a human village? Amon was trying to explain to Anarin, who was cowering under a blanket. He's just been a close neighbor of mine since I was a kid. He's also very close with my father. Anarin trembled and asked again, a black dragon? And he's a neighbor? He continued to speak well of the Elder by telling his story. Castle Alex said he was old and too tired to go out often. He also mentioned he didn't know any other dragons, so visiting our village was his only choice. As he told the story, Amon sniffled with emotion. He's actually very lonely. After hearing the story, she still found it hard to believe. Professor Amon, you don't think he's just an outcast who got kicked out of his home, right? Amon brushed off Anarin's suspicion. Anyway, things are getting chaotic here. You should get back to the academy as fast as possible. I'll stay here to clean up this mess. After the Drake's rampage, Amon's garden was in ruins. Oh no, what do we do now? Brett knelt and wailed over the crushed potato patch. My potatoes. Boris rushed to comfort her. Those aren't your potatoes. Anarin happily agreed. Of course. But immediately after, Amon placed a hand on her shoulder and sincerely expressed, but I'd be very happy if you could stay. He looked her straight in the eye and asked seriously, I heard elves have a unique magic that can help crops grow. Anarin was flustered. How did you know? Amon didn't want to hide it. He told her the Mango King plantation owner had written about it in a letter. He said she went there on her vacation to cast spells. According to his story, Anarin helped the mangoes grow rapidly. Quickly grow. Hearing this, Anarin grumbled. He said he'd keep it a secret. Then, she pleaded in fear, Professor Amon. If I stay here, I'll go crazy from fear. Look, my hands are shaking violently. Seeing Anarin refuse, he immediately threatened her. Even after you dragged the whole academy here out of the blue, you want to just leave quietly? Keep dreaming. She cowered and stammered, come on. Anarin tried to reassure herself. She raised her hand to create a magic circle and said confidently, you think I can't get out of here? I have the power to go wherever I want. Amon suddenly yelled, Castle Alex, are you here? Just hearing that name made Anarin's soul nearly leave her body. Seeing her panic, Amon said happily, did you fail? I was joking. Calm down. He said he was going for a walk around the village. Before Anarin could recover, Castle Alex actually appeared unexpectedly behind Amon. There you are, Amon. He was startled. Oh, you're back? Anarin, meanwhile, was paralyzed with fear. The two chatted happily. He asked, when do you plan to come back here again? I'm not sure yet. Amon was still hesitant. Probably in a few months. Anarin, meanwhile, had already fainted on the bed. Castle Alex said gently, wonderful. I should prepare a gift for you. Amon wondered, a gift? Is it gold? He denied it. No, something even more valuable than that. The enticing promise left him both curious and expectant. Scene change. After the Drake destruction, a restructuring took place on Amon's land. The unexpected monster incident turned the field trip into an agricultural field study on potato planting. Anarin led the way, singing happily, followed by two students. Grow, potatoes, grow. In just one morning, thanks to the power of the elf and everyone's hard work, the potato garden was lush and green again. Seeing the results of a whole morning's labor pay off, everyone was overjoyed and excited. After a long, hard day, as night fell, Amon wouldn't stop complaining. I'm supposed to go back to work tomorrow. His face looked gaunt after the day's events. This vacation didn't feel like a vacation at all. Amon strolled down a deserted path, thinking to himself, actually, I just wanted to visit this place to ask Father for advice before quitting my job at the academy. But then he remembered earlier. The territory was not in good condition. Amon reviewed the data from while he was away. While I was gone, monster attacks decreased significantly. Income also dropped. The profit margin for importing monster meat is quite high. But Amon scrutinized the paper. He kept analyzing the situation. Even with an income listed under my brother's names, it's still a long way from recovering from this disaster. At this rate, I won't be able to pay the contract termination fee. After reflecting on what just happened, Amon realized something. Could I be a harbinger of disaster? He started questioning things. On another note, why did a monster army attack the moment I returned here? And furthermore, there's no way a high-level Drake, which is practically legendary, would just appear like that. Thinking of this, he clenched his fist. Is it possible that the academy, my first workplace, is also in chaos because of me? But he immediately denied it. No, that has nothing to do with me. Amon remembered Anarin. Let's invest 4,900 gold coins. He furiously raised a friendly finger to the sky and cursed. This is all that stupid elf's fault. Immediately after, he pulled his hand back and told himself, I need to get rich quickly. Suddenly, a sound echoed in the empty space. Amon grew curious. What's that noise? The sound kept occurring, making him suspicious. Don't tell me there's a monster around here. He crawled into a bush to scout the situation. It seems to be coming from here. Suddenly, Amon's eyes widened in shock when he realized there was no monster at all. Before him was Phil, relentlessly swinging her sword. He was stunned, watching her practice without stopping. Amon wondered if that was the true skill of Phil's family. Wait a minute. She didn't even help with the farm work, because she's been here practicing her sword this whole time? Thinking this, he wanted to jump out of the bushes. This can't be. I have to let her know. But suddenly, Amon's gaze fell on Phil's trembling hands. She was holding her sword with hands covered in scratches and wounds. He couldn't understand. Why is she practicing her sword to the point of bleeding? Phil stood there panting for a moment, wobbling as if she could no longer stay upright. But then, she continued to swing her sword in practice. Amon wondered, why is she risking her life like this? Is that why she's always sleeping during the day? She's been secretly practicing her swordsmanship all night. He stood there watching her practice for a long time, his mind filled with questions. But in the end, he decided to turn and walk away. I have a lot of questions, but right now, it's best to pretend I didn't see a thing. A few days later, at the Amonist Academy, a voice rang out through the halls. Are you the principal? Anarin turned around with a smile. Yes, that's right. What wind blew you all here today? The person before her left her stunned. She stammered you. A deep, authoritative voice boomed. Where's Professor Amon Drake at this moment? Amon was sitting at his desk, surrounded by piles of documents, lost in thought. It's been a month since I became a teacher at this academy. He happily adjusted his clothes. I used to only think about escaping this hellhole, but from now on, I have to face reality. I'll do my best to teach these talented students as their professor. With the skills of those two, they'll definitely achieve great things. If that happens, I'll benefit quite a bit. Thinking of this, Amon stroked his chin excitedly. After all, what is success? Just follow the path of your successful connections, and you'll get there. Suddenly, Anarin burst inside. She cried out in a panic, Professor Amon. The sudden appearance made his heart skip a beat. Could you please knock before entering? She explained flusteredly. I'm sorry. There's a guest here who wants to see you. Amon looked bewildered. A guest? Despite his confusion, Amon decided to go to the drawing room with Anarin. His face froze when he saw the guest. Surprised by the person before him. It was Jaemon. He was entering with wounds that hadn't fully healed. He was the one who had snatched victory away from Chloe. That same deep, raspy voice spoke again. You are Professor Amon Drake of the Amonist Academy, correct? A tall man with a majestic aura stepped forward and introduced himself warmly. Glad to meet you. I am Rinben Namark, Jaemon's grandfather. Amon was shocked by this character's appearance. It was one of the Empire's 4 great swordsmen, the Heavenly Sword King, Rinben. He immediately shook the man's outstretched hand. It's an honor to meet you. I am the second son of Viscount Drake. The two laughed and talked as if they were old friends. To Amon, this was a golden opportunity. I don't even know why someone like him would come to see me. He thought to himself, but this is the perfect chance to make a great impression. A new breakthrough to leave this dreadful academy. Heavenly Sword King Rinben, one of the 4 great swordsmen and a key pillar of the Empire. Amon was overjoyed. I can't believe someone like him came here for me. I can feel the aura of success. He stroked Jaemon's head and said excitedly, the way your student, Chloe, defeated my grandson left quite an impression on me. So I wanted to come here and see her professor with my own eyes. Rinben's appearance made Amon incredibly happy, especially since he was being held in such high regard. He thought to himself, that's exactly right. After all, for the sake of his students, Amon recalled the training sessions where he chased the kids, shouting, "A healthy mind lives in a healthy body." The two kids ran for their lives. "We'll run properly. Please stop following us." Not only that, he even mocked them. Am I too fast? You can't even hit me. Recalling those events, Amon felt it was nothing special. On the outside, he remained polite. You overpraised me. I only gave her a bit of guidance. Seeing him answer like that, Rinben was intrigued. You're quite humble. I met the right person today. Judging by how you teach your students, it seems you're also a swordsman. He pressed further. Is that so? I don't sense a single drop of mana in you. He denied it flusteredly. I think there's been a misunderstanding. I don't teach them swordsmanship. I simply teach them the path of hard work. Amon's confession made Rinben's face fall. Seeing him look unhappy, Amon wondered, what's with that reaction? Rinben whispered into his grandson's ear, Jay, this isn't what you told me. Jaemon whispered back, but they clearly called him Professor. He pondered for a long while before making a request. Then, could you please call the person who actually teaches Chloe swordsmanship? Phil was called over. She was still stunned and stammered her introduction. I am Slot of the Phil family. It is an honor to meet you, Heavenly Sword King Rinben. Hearing her introduction, Rinben appraised her silently. She's from the Phil family? If so, she must have extensive teaching experience. However, as he took a serious look, he grew suspicious. She's supposed to be a sword expert. But I heard the Phil family doesn't allow any member to leave until they become a sword master. Meanwhile, Phil was looking around blankly. Why would someone of such high status want to meet me? Rinben continued to evaluate the young woman. Her mana is quite similar to someone I once met. Marcus Phil. Why don't I test her? He suddenly made a request. As one who walks the path of the sword, surely you wouldn't dare refuse a duel with me? Of course, Phil didn't dare refuse Rinben's request. She quickly led the way. Of course not. I will show you to the training grounds. Watching the two leave, Amon grew dejected. Of course. What else could I expect from my life? Amon failed to build the connection he wanted to exploit. A while later, the two reached the training grounds. The battle between them had already begun. Phil collapsed to her knees, using her sword to support her exhausted body. Rinben looked down from above and asked, is that all? She struggled to stand back up. It's not over yet. Rinben thought to himself. Just as I thought. She's a sword expert. Nothing more, nothing less. But that makes sense. The Phil family would never teach their secret techniques to outsiders. There's no way she could have taught the girl anything special. At that moment, Phil stood up, preparing to continue the fight. Rinben spoke as he picked up a small twig. I will show you one final move with this twig before the match ends. Phil replied yes. As soon as the words left his mouth, Rinben moved like a flash of lightning. With just the twig in his hand, Rinben unleashed a flurry of lightning-fast strikes that Phil couldn't even track. He ended the sequence with a thrust that brushed past her eye. Rinben's strike left Phil frozen in place, unable to do a thing. She was completely incapable of fighting back. He simply gave a gentle reminder, from now on, start practicing hard. Phil stared at the twig still pointed at her face and replied, thank you, sir. Rinben turned and left the arena, leaving Phil trembling as she collapsed on the spot. At that moment, Amon led Chloe to Rinben. He asked, is this the girl who took down Jaemon? Amon introduced her. Yes, sir. Her name is Chloe. He stared at Chloe, making her nervous, and observed, as someone from the Aran Highland Kingdom, she must have great stamina and endurance. So it wasn't training, but innate talent. After that, he said nothing more and turned to leave. Amon, was it? I must go. Tell the principal, it was a pleasure to meet her. Amon politely said goodbye while adding some praise. Ah, thank you, sir, for giving us the chance to witness your incredible swordsmanship. As he walked away, he muttered, right? Incredible. Suddenly, Rinben stopped in his tracks. He seemed to have caught something in Amon's words. Rinben asked again, what did you say? Incredible swordsmanship, Amon replied happily. Rinben knew one thing for certain. To an average person, it would have looked like just waving a twig around a few times. He immediately asked, what did you find so incredible about it? Amon didn't hesitate to reply. You changed trajectories about 36 times. He grew more excited as he spoke. But your center of gravity didn't shift a single bit, and you finished it with that final thrust. How could that not be incredible? In the back, Chloe wondered, did you see all that? Boris shook his head, having missed it. Rinben stopped walking. He suggested, I need to have a discussion with you. The offer left Amon stunned. Pardon? So suddenly? I don't even know how to hold a sword properly. How could I? Rinben didn't care. He handed Amon a twig and made a demand. Let's have a light sparring match. Amon couldn't grasp the situation. You're giving this to me? He tried to refuse. But for me, it won't be easy. Rinben insisted. How disappointing. I thought you were someone with special talent. Amon still flatly refused. I'm sorry to disappoint you. He thought to himself, if I had the guts to challenge a great master, I would have packed my bags and left this place long ago. Rinben looked over at Phil with pity. Your colleague over there is quite pitiful, too. Amon agreed. Yes, I agree. In the corner, Phil was curled up, crying nonstop. Jaemon poked her with a twig. Is she dead? Chloe stopped him. Don't bully Professor Slot. Rinben continued. I really must ask the principal about hiring people like you as professors. Amon politely replied. She's very kind. I agree. But I'm not that kind of guy, so I hope you change your mind. Rinben scoffed. You think I'll change my mind? I'm certain that even if the student isn't special, before he could finish, Amon attacked him unexpectedly. He luckily dodged the first blow. The two students gasped in shock. Professor Amon. He was furious. I'll let everything slide except for you messing with my livelihood. Amon swung his arm. With just a small twig, he tore through the air, creating a strike with terrifying power. He struck right at the back of Rinben's neck. He couldn't dodge it and cried out in pain. After settling things so quickly, Amon leaned on his hand, suspicious. I can't believe the Heavenly Sword King could be taken down with a single twig. He wondered, is this guy fake? Meanwhile, the scene became chaotic. Jaemon panicked. Grandpa. Boris leaned his ear to Rinben's chest. He's dead. Chloe asked blankly, Professor Amon, what'll we do now? Amon reassured the kids. He and the three children hoisted Rinben onto their shoulders, saying, you guys are fine. He's just an imposter. This scam ends here. We can't let him die here, even if he is a fake. Let's carry him out. As Chloe helped carry him, she asked, Professor Amon, the imposter juice is leaking out of his mouth. He explained, that's just spit, Chloe. Amon looked delighted. He thought to himself, I might even get a reward for catching a Heavenly Sword King imposter. In the distance, Phil had stopped crying. She wiggled and sat up after witnessing the whole event. Phil looked at Amon with a look of pure confusion. Inside Aaron's office, her scream rang out. A reward? What the hell are you talking about? Amon was being forced to kneel in the room, only able to groan. Aaron was still furious. I've met him before. Amon still wasn't allowed to stand up. He asked with difficulty, Principal, are you sure? Aaron screamed, shut up. While the two were arguing, Rinben finally clutched his head and woke up. My head. She rushed over to check on him. Lord Rinben, you're awake. Aaron approached fearfully to explain. I'm truly sorry. I will ensure Professor Amon is punished for his disrespectful behavior. Please forgive. Unexpectedly, he reassured her it's fine. It's not anyone's fault. Aaron didn't understand. Pardon? Finally, they all sat down together. Rinben recounted the story. I was testing his skills when that happened. He shared his assessment. Amon, you may not have experience in swordsmanship, but you possess immense pure physical strength. Upon receiving the praise, Amon didn't quite get it, but replied, yes, thank you, sir. Rinben continued, but from his hand, a small light began to glow. Then the light grew larger, becoming a massive sphere carrying enormous energy. Amon stared up at the energy orb in awe. This was the holy relic of the blade, an exclusive technique reserved only for sword masters. Now, he realized he really was the Heavenly Sword King. Aaron fumed. I told you 1,000,000 times. Rinben seriously explained Amon's power to him. What you have is pure physical strength. When facing the Empire's knights who use mana and the swordsmanship they've honed through nonstop training, you will always face defeat. So, I have a proposal for you. Do you want to learn swordsmanship from me? The sudden offer left Amon unable to react. He started imagining a beautiful future, the title of Disciple of the Heavenly Sword King. If I develop special and outstanding skills on the battlefield, success will be mine in no time. Just thinking about it made Amon accept immediately without hesitation. This disciple looks forward to your guidance. All right, I'll read the Oath of Loyalty now. Just repeat after me. In another scene, Jaemon stuffed a whole plate of cookies into his mouth. Aaron asked worriedly, do you want more cookies? After getting Amon's agreement, Rinben asked him to repeat. I, as a disciple of the Heavenly Sword King, will always be dedicated and devoted to the way of the sword. He quickly repeated it exactly. Rinben continued, I swear to renounce material desires and worldly cravings to focus solely on training. Amon also repeated, I swear to renounce material desires and worldly cravings. Suddenly, he stopped mid-sentence. Amon thought for a moment and asked himself, wait, what? Amon asked with a surprised look, what did you say? Rinben frowned. Didn't you hear me? I swear to renounce material desires and worldly cravings to focus solely on training. He tiredly rubbed his head. Could you give me some time to think about it? He was met with a sharp glare. Huh. The more Amon looked, the more his head ached. In the chaos earlier, he hadn't noticed one thing. Why does one of the 4 great knights of the Empire look so dirty? Rinben looked at him curiously. Is there something on my face? He picked up a teacup from the table. I'm just wondering, what is your rank? He thought for a moment and answered, rank? That's all for outward show. The emperor once offered to grant me a title, but I refused it immediately. Amon stood up and criticized him instantly. Why would you refuse that? Anarin quickly grabbed the hem of his clothes. Professor Amon, you're letting your inner feelings show. He continued to press. Then what about your wealth? Rinbin answered indifferently. What do those damn pieces of paper matter? A small plot of land to practice the sword and a house to rest in are all I need. Suddenly, he shouted, hey, if you become my disciple and dare to harbor such thoughts, I'll send you to heaven with a single strike. Carve that into your brain. Amon flinched and replied, you can't do that. Amon held his teacup with trembling hands. Wait a second. Now that I think about it, Jaemon had been eating cookies nonstop since the beginning. There wasn't a single second where he stopped. Jaemon held a piece in each hand and asked, do you have any more cookies like this? Amon realized too late, this kid has been vacuuming up cookies for a long while now. Is this old man so broke he can't even feed his own grandson? Rinbin turned and pinched his grandson's ear. You brat, your greed has reached its peak. Jaemon squeezed his eyes shut. But I'm so hungry. Amon continued to observe. Furthermore, the boy had been dressed like a commoner from the moment of the match until now, even though he's the disciple of a great swordmaster. If I get involved with these people, I'm doomed. Thinking this, he hurriedly stood up. Please excuse me. Then he bolted instantly. I need to use the restroom. Anarin and Rinbin called out at the same time, Professor Amon. Disciple, where are you going? In his rush to run away, Amon's wallet fell out of his pocket. It fell freely to the ground. Amon searched for his wallet while asking, how much is the total? The other person gently replied, it's 20 gold, sir. He kept patting both his pockets, but still couldn't find it. Where'd it go? My wallet. He asked embarrassedly, can I put on my tab? He walked outside awkwardly. Where the hell could it have dropped? Rinbin held up the wallet. Here it is. Amon turned around, face brightening. My wall. He cut himself off, startled when he saw who it was. The old man laughed in his face. Huh, I can't believe you're this careless. Amon gasped. Why are you still here? And what's with those clothes? Rinbin replied casually, well, I decided to stay and work as the gatekeeper for this academy. That night, Amon lay in bed, unable to sleep. He kept brooding over everything that happened today. That old man. Amon had asked him, but why? Rinbin laughed, even harder than before. The gatekeeper position was vacant, so I decided to take the job temporarily. He pointed a finger straight at him. You're supposed to be a man with no worldly attachments. Why are you insisting on staying? Just go back to the mountains. Rinbin closed his eyes with a fake serious face. Don't worry about me. But do you really think Jay should go back there? Amon paused and asked what? Now, the old man explained with real sincerity, Jay is a swordsman now, so I don't need to watch over him 24/7. Besides, isn't it time for the boy to get a proper education for his age? Amon grew more anxious. Does that mean? Don't tell me. Rinbin gave a thumbs up. Exactly. Jay is enrolling here too. But the tuition is quite steep, so that's why I decided to work here. Amon let out a weary sigh, looking like he had aged 20 years in an instant. Rinbin smiled brightly and reached out toward him. You might not know much about swordsmanship, but you have a solid education. I trust you'll teach the boy well. I'm counting on you, Professor Amon. He lay in bed, gritting his teeth and closing his eyes tightly. Who knew that raising Chloe so well would backfire like this? He got out of bed to relieve his stress. I should drink some water to calm down. The next class isn't until next week, so no one should be around at this hour. Who's there? The door opened, and a face appeared. Potatoes. Amon jumped back in fright. Good Lord. My heart almost jumped out of my chest. Why are you here this late? And what's with calling me Potatoes? Vice Principal Brett raised her hands and explained quickly, I smelled the delicious scent of raw potatoes coming from this room. You have potatoes in there, don't you? If you dare deny it, I'll break the door down. Amon quickly cut her off. I'll get them myself. Just stay there and wait. Mother gave me a bag of potatoes to take back to the academy. It's been so long since you've been home. Make sure to take these local specialties back with you. Amon looked at the bag, which was as big as a person. He asked skeptically, Mother, are you sure you didn't pack a person in here? To Amon, these were his sanctuary in the middle of his exhausting life away from home. I can't believe I have to share this sanctuary. Vice Principal, there are 10 potatoes here. 5 for each of us, okay? Even though she was freeloading, she talked big. No, we'll split them one by one and eat until we die. Suddenly, a voice called out nearby, what are you two doing? Amon turned and saw Marion. He gave a bright smile. Senior Marion, we were just about to boil some potatoes for a late-night snack. He was walking a bit unsteadily from the alcohol. Are those the potatoes from your hometown? Amon asked generously. Yes, would you like to join us? Marion laughed happily. Ha ha ha. Of course. Brett gritted her teeth in anger. Another mouth to feed? Then another voice chimed in, peek-boo. What kind of party is everyone having at this hour? Amon looked over. Principal? Boys? Chloe? Why are you all here? The two children drooled at the sight of the roasting potatoes. They must be delicious. Potatoes. Aaron placed her hands on the kids' shoulders. I saw them out playing late and was going to punish them, but they said they saw a fire at the training hall. So, this is a potato party? Brett glared at them with sharp eyes. There aren't many left, so you only get a nibble. The number of mouths had tripled instantly. It didn't stop there. Another voice called out, "What's this? Potatoes? Is there a portion for me, Amon?" He looked at her and answered immediately, "Ah, senior slot. There aren't many left either." She had just returned from her secret late-night sword practice. She looked completely haggard, pale-faced, and drooling. Yet she still said, "Don't worry, I won't eat much." Brett showed clear dissatisfaction. "Won't eat much? What's that dripping from your mouth then?" Jamon followed the scent and found them too. "Where's this delicious smell coming from?" Brett jumped. "Another one." She immediately stood up and barked an order. "Professor Amon, bring out all the remaining potatoes. Hand them all over." Amon got angry. "I was wondering why you were being so calm. Finally, your true color show." The bickering was endless. Brett kept threatening, "Shut up and hand over the potatoes." Amon refused. "No, I won't. What are you going to do about it?" After arguing for a bit, Amon grabbed her hair. "You crazy dark elf." Brett screamed in pain, "My hair." In the end, Amon brought out the whole bag. The potatoes in the pot began to cook. Brett sobbed, "My potatoes." Amon asked helplessly, "Since when did they become your potatoes?" He took the potatoes out of the pot and began distributing them to everyone. "All right, they're done. They're piping hot, so blow on them before you eat." Rinbin and Jamon brought them to their mouths. They blew on them and took their first bites. "What is this?" Both said in surprise. "This is a potato." Meanwhile, after her first bite, Brett was both laughing and crying with pure contentment. Amon nibbled on a potato piece. "This is a specialty of my hometown. We're very proud of them." Rinbin glanced at him. "Amon, now I understand why you're so strong." He asked while chewing, "Why is that?" He explained seriously, "If you eat food filled with this much manna every day, it's only natural. Your body has gradually adapted to manna." Amon fell into thought. "So that's why so many people back home are so strong?" But it didn't seem like anything special. He recalled, these potatoes were grown from seeds he just bought in the city. Amon had signaled the shopkeeper, "Give me 3 bags of these." The man had replied happily, coming right up. He thought, maybe the soil quality back home is just that good? Anyway, just focus on eating. Slot stared intensely at the piece of potato in his hand. Then she shifted, got her gaze up to the owner of that potato. Amon finally noticed her stare. He panicked. "What's with that look?" Slot suddenly blurted out, "Amon, marry me." Hearing this, he spat out all the potato in his mouth. It flew onto Brett's face next to him. Amon thought he misheard and asked, "What did you just say?" Slot repeated casually, "I said, marry me." As she spoke, her face turned slightly red. Amon was still in total shock. What kind of crazy game is she playing? Seeing his disbelief, Slot emphasized one more time, "I said, marry me." The group eating potatoes around them turned in shock, their mouths hanging open as they stared at the two. Jamon, however, didn't care at all and continued eating his potato deliciously. Rinbin watched the proposal and blushed, reminiscing. "Ah, youth." Marion couldn't hold it in any longer. He laughed loudly and teased them. "Marriage? You two? Ha 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 ha." Anarin was bewildered. "Professor Marion. Good lord, is it that funny?" He kept laughing. "Isn't Slot way too good for a guy like him? I thought I was the only one who thought so." Amon grabbed Marion's wine bottle with a threatening expression. Only then did Marion stop laughing. He and Slot had separated from the crowd and were walking around the academy. She asked him, "How much do you know about the Marquis Phil family?" Amon raised a finger and began to list. "Their family's swordsmanship is incredible, and every successor is a master. That's all I know." Slot listened and then added, "There's one more important thing. Our family values reputation above all. They don't allow us to leave until we become a swordmaster." Amon asked in surprise, "What?" He began to wonder. Based on the skills she showed earlier, she's at the level of a sword expert. If they don't let anyone out who hasn't reached master level, why is she here as an expert? Slot looked at his face and interrupted his thoughts. "I know what you're thinking." Amon gave a forced smile. "I didn't say anything." Slot began to open up and tell him about her family. "Actually, my family. That has always treated me poorly because they never cared or noticed me during all the years I was growing up." Amon looked at her with pity. I've never seen her like this before. But she quickly shifted from a sad mood back to a cheerful one. Amon scratched his head, confused by the shift. "I just wanted to say, I'm sorry." Slot let out a sigh. "It's fine. I've gotten used to it by now. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't become a swordmaster. That's definitely why they treated me so badly. Then one day, my father told me to go to the Almonist Academy. I thought they would just treat me like thin air. I tried to resist by saying I couldn't break family rules, but he said, I didn't need to worry about things like that. After kicking me out, they never even bothered to check up on me. They don't need someone weak like me, so they want me to fend for myself. However, while I was eating that potato, it became clear. I thought, if I eat more of these potatoes, maybe I can show my family what I'm capable of. Considering the circumstances, I bet they wouldn't even care if I married you. Amon gave a thumbs up in agreement. I'm not in the exact same situation, but I can understand that feeling. So I just went, oh, really? She continued, only the eldest sons get to inherit the family estate. I'm a second child, so I get nothing. My family might care about me, but in the end, I'm not like you. I have to find a way to survive on my own. Amon asked skeptically, anyway, isn't the reason you're asking me to marry you just so you can get potatoes, get stronger, and take revenge on your family? Slot replied casually, exactly. She looked up at the sky. A political marriage. Isn't that the kind of marriage noble families always have? Amon pressed further. Then what do I get out of it? Schultz posed confidently. Think about it. You'd have a beautiful wife like me. Amon mocked her. I value the soul over looks. Slot continued to persuade him. Anyway, suppose I eat your potatoes, get strong, and return the family. I might even win the succession war. You know, from now on, the Phil family is mine. Amon listened intently. Wait, you mean? Slot looked at him and said, exactly. Do you think I could handle all the work a family head has to do? I'm too busy sleeping every day. Of course, I'll keep some power, but you can have the majority of it. Amon asked more, what about financial management? Slot said gently, of course, I'm terrible with money management. Amon felt like he had just grabbed the key to a new life. He clenched his fist, his face filled with extreme joy. Embezzlement. The most beautiful word to ever exist in the dictionary. Slot persuaded him further. Plus, if you become a family member, you can learn our techniques. Amon was now lost in his own delusions. The power of a marquis, wealth, and swordsmanship. 3 birds with 1 stone. He firmly took her hand. My lady, let's go tell my father-in-law about our marriage first thing in the morning. The next morning, the sun finally came out after the rain. Amon dressed formally, clenching his fists with determination. Goodbye to my penniless past. By the way, Slot had instructed him the day before, I'm going to the hair salon before we head out tomorrow. Amon arrived at the hair salon she mentioned. For someone who spends all her time in a sleeping bag, what could possibly make her want to come here? He leaned toward the window, shifting positions repeatedly to peek inside. The hairstylist working on Slot looked on with disdain. Is there something wrong with that man outside? I even put up the clothes sign. Why is he wearing a pitch-black suit like he's going to a funeral? Slot replied softly, oh, he's with me. The stylist misunderstood. Oh, I see. Is he your servant, miss? Amon was still waiting by the window. What's taking so long? Why hasn't she come out yet? Is she dead in there? This was the mindset of a man who had been waiting outside for 3 hours. The stylist stepped out and opened the door. Mr. Servant, do you need something? He scratched his head, surprised. Have you seen a blonde woman with messy hair who looks like she's half dead? Slot stepped out, annoyed. Who are you calling blonde, messy, and half dead? I'm almost done. Just wait a little longer. Amon looked at her, but didn't even recognize that it was Senior Slot. She looked at him proudly. Don't tell me you don't recognize me. Amon could only exclaim, good Lord. Slot covered her mouth and giggled. It makes sense. I don't usually pay much attention to my looks, but when I do, of course I'll look different. Amon began analyzing his life-changing strategy. We're on the same side now, in the same boat. I should try to butter her up as much as possible. He flashed a radiant smile and showered her with flowery compliments. Now that I look closer, since you did your hair and makeup, you look completely stunning. Slot confidently flipped her hair. Now you get it. Let's see who's out of whose league now. Amon replied instantly, of course. I'm the one who's not worthy of you. The stylist suddenly cut in. I'm sorry to interrupt your conversation, but Mr. Servant, could you step outside? We still have some work to do. Amon was stunned. Servant? Slot whispered into the girl's ear. He's not a servant. He's my fiancé. Only then did the stylist realize her disastrous mistake. She stammered out apologies. I'm so incredibly sorry. Now it was Amon's turn to misunderstand. What? Did she tell that woman I'm her servant? The stylist quickly tried to fix it. No wonder he's so handsome. Schluckbautet. Him? In Amon's eyes. Slot looked at him out of the corner of her eye. Wait a bit longer, servant. Of course. What did I expect? Just because she's prettier doesn't mean her personality improved. The stylist asked Slot. So when is the wedding? She replied nonchalantly. I'm not sure. Maybe tomorrow, in Linsley City. Slot began to introduce it. This is Batista Linsley Field, the city under my father's control. Even so, before I was kicked out of the family, I didn't have many chances to get to know this place. Amon's eyes sparkled as he looked around. I can't believe he manages a city this massive. It's okay, Senior. In the future, that this city will be nothing but a toy in our hands. Schluckbautet. Is that really all you're hoping for? Amon replied casually. That's how all political marriages work. The two arrived before the gates of the Marquis Phil mansion. Slot gave him one last warning. In front of my father, the Marquis, you must stay as quiet as possible. Amon was surprised. Huh? Why? Slot shook her head and continued explaining why. Because he doesn't like listening to others. No matter how busy the family is, he frequently holds meetings. All 13 swords of the family must gather regularly. Amon caught something strange in that sentence. 13 swords? She explained further. Yeah, the 13 best swordsmen of the Marquis family. My father is number 1, and the other 12 spots belong to my older brothers. Amon scratched his chin, puzzled. 12 older brothers? I don't follow. That was until 13 pairs of eyes were staring him down. Amon looked ahead in a panic. This is the Phil family, right? He shifted his gaze to the man sitting in the center with a piercing stare. So this is my father-in-law, one of the 4 great sword masters of the empire, Batista Linsley Phil, the current head of the Marquis Phil family. Slot stepped forward to block his view. Father, how have you been? I've come today to discuss something important. The man still looked dissatisfied as he glanced at Amon. Slot continued, while teaching at the Almonist Academy, I met someone I want to build a future with. I want to tell you this, father. Let me introduce him. This is the son of Viscount Drake, the man I want to be with. Amon. Amon placed his hand over his heart and bowed formally. It is an honor to meet you, Marquis. I am Amon Drake of the Drake family. Slot continued calmly. Even though this marriage hasn't received your permission yet, I hope you can give us your blessing. The entire table remained silent. The room fell into a dead hush. She lowered her head and gritted her teeth. They won't even listen to a word. I guess they don't listen to the words of the weak. What did I expect from this family? Thinking this, she immediately turned to leave. Amon watched her walk away in a panic. What the hell? Why are you leaving all of a sudden? If she leaves now, what am I supposed to do here alone? Marcus extinguished his cigarette. So, you say you're from the family of Viscount Drake? He nodded quickly. Yes, that's right. The man repeated his name. Viscount Drake, I see. All right, Lancelot, go. As soon as the words left his mouth, Lancelot charged forward. Amon backed away in a panic. What? Why so suddenly? Extremely fast punches were unleashed. He had to use all his strength to dodge. Lancelot kept attacking relentlessly. Are these your last words? Amon blocked a few blows. What on earth? He was cut off by another strike. Oh, I'll make sure your last words reach their destination. Suddenly, Lancelot threw a decisive punch and shouted, Take this, Viscount Drake. Amon's mind raced through 1,000 thoughts. What should I do? I came here for their approval, and now he's attacking me. Fine. Finally, he decided to take a defensive action. He landed a counter blow right in the guy's stomach. Lancelot immediately collapsed to the ground, unconscious. Whispers broke out around the room. Can you believe it? He took down Lancelot with one blow. Well, he was the weakest among us anyway. Canslow stood up. Then let me. Marcus, still looking angry, said, I could trust Canslow. But Amon landed another blow, and Canslow went down instantly. The crowd started making excuses again. Come to think of it, he also went down in one hit. Well, he was the second weakest in the family. Marcus rested his chin on his hand and ordered 11. Vinslow, I'm counting on you boys. Vinslow scratched his head and laughed awkwardly. Haha, of course. One punch is enough for this kid. Amon landed another hit to end the third round. The bystanders hesitated. Like I said, he was the third weakest among us. Another guy whispered to Marcus, Father, I'm next. Maybe we should use swords. He immediately refused. No, we can't just show our family techniques to someone like him. Amon looked at Neen lying on the ground. Right? But I'm faster. Everyone scrambled. What are you doing? Neen, attack him. He muttered weakly, I think I have a stomachache. A cold voice rang out. Amon Drake. He flinched, breaking into a sweat. Why did the air suddenly get so heavy? Marcus gripped his hand. That's so hard that he crushed the chair he was sitting on. He stood up, his voice threatening. To take down 4 knights of the Phil family with a single blow. You must have a death wish, right? Amon felt like crying from the injustice. Is this marriage really worth risking my life for? The man stepped forward, towering over him and glaring down. If you have any last words, I'll listen. Amon panicked at the size difference. He's huge. Even the aura of a swordmaster is totally different. He stammered. Marcus Phil, why are you doing this to me? The man cut him off coldly. Are those your last words? He hurriedly explained. No, it's a question. Marcus pointed a finger at him accusingly. A question? You really don't know what you've done wrong? Amon prostrated himself, pleading. No. Lord Marcus Phil, please tell me. What did I do wrong? The man was shaking with rage. How dare you trap my cute, lovely daughter with your dirty schemes, and then claim you don't know what you did wrong? Amon looked up in shock. He couldn't believe his ears. What? Marcus exploded even further. How can a moral person like you lay your claws on my daughter? My fragile and weak daughter. Phil's brothers joined in the criticism. That's right, father. How dare this brat touch our cute youngest sister? Our sister. You don't stand a chance. The father and brothers continued to pour out their true feelings. She might be my daughter, but she's incredibly sweet and lovely. I feel the same way, father. Every time I see my sister, I just freeze up. Amon felt like he just had a heart attack. He put his hand to his chest and sighed in relief. Are these people for real? They had been silent before because they were stunned by Slot's presence. The atmosphere softened completely when talking about her. It's been so long since we saw her. She's getting more beautiful every day. Yes, I was surprised too. She's the spitting image of our mother. Amon fell in a thought. They're totally softies for her. Suddenly, Slot Phil swung the door open. Everyone turned in surprise. Amon asked quickly, where did you go? Slot was silent for a moment. Father, brothers, I heard everything you just said. Until now, I didn't even know you felt that way. Marcus stood up, moved. He and the brothers rushed toward her with open arms. My lovely Slot, our sister. She ran toward them as well. Father, brothers. A warm family scene played out. Marcus and the other sons. They hugged her tightly, sobbing. I'm so sorry for making you misunderstand. Slot was moved and forgave them. No, it's okay. From now on, I'll do my best, no? You don't have to do anything difficult. As long as my daughter is healthy and happy. That's enough for me. Amon watched from the side, somewhat touched. He tilted his head back. It's raining on my face. Yeah, that's why I'm looking up. The ambitious marriage proposal failed after the family shared their warm feelings and returned to their daily lives. Amon and Slot left the mansion together. He asked, Senior Slot, why are you returning to the academy? Couldn't you have stayed at the Marquis's mansion? There are no more misunderstandings now. Slot put her hands behind her head and walked leisurely. They said the path of the Holy Sword is difficult and easier to stray from than the world thinks. And my brothers didn't want me to walk that path. They sent me out because they wanted me to have a free life. But I'll still keep trying in my own way. By the way, when I left, my youngest brother gave me a note. Come back once in a while. Lancelot, he should have just said it himself. Saying this, she looked at his dejected face and asked, but why do you look so gloomy? Are you sad you couldn't marry me? Amon made a flat face. Please stop this nonsense. My path to success has completely collapsed. How could I possibly be happy? They say when a dragon shakes your heart, a lizard does too. Every time I see you, Senior, I feel like my chance at success has completely drifted away. Slot got angry hearing that, but she forced a smile and gripped the letter in her hand. She gave him a powerful smack on the head. Meanwhile, at the academy, Principal Anarin was picking up cherry blossom petals. She sadly read the letter in her hand. How should I tell Professor Amon? Amon returned to the academy and began reporting the situation. So, we visited Marquis Phil and cleared up all the misunderstandings. That's why communication is so important. Anarin hummed in response, but her eyes never left the documents she was holding. Amon noticed something was off. He looked her in the eye and asked, Is something wrong? Why do you look so depressed? Anarin looked up with a gloomy face. About that, a loud scream echoed through the academy, startling even the groundskeeper. Amon held the paper with trembling hands. The Mango King Farm has gone bankrupt? It was a bankruptcy notice for the Mango King Farm due to unprecedented history-making natural disasters, floods, light winds, and rain. Your Mango King Farm project went bankrupt because of that damn ritual you performed. Not to pray for a bountiful harvest. It caused a historic flood so severe it even affected the spirit world. Therefore, I demand compensation, and I hope your future is plagued by floods. Anarin tried to justify it. But this is a traditional dance from my hometown. It works there. Why do they even plant mangoes? Mangoes grow big. Amon replied gloomily, I get it. He scratched his head. How do you plan on compensating them? Shifting from her previous depression, Anarin suddenly perked up. She said cheerfully, it'll be fine. As long as they don't find a link between an elf's traditional harvest dance and this weather phenomenon, the Imperial investigation team won't take action. Amon was speechless. You're truly shameless, you know that? Anarin gave a sly smile. She clasped her hands and continued, but with the remaining 400 gold coins, we can find another investment. He slammed his hands on the desk in protest. What? That's nothing compared to the amount we had when I first joined. You had 4,900 gold coins back then. Anarin excitedly piped up. I have an idea. Amon's face hardened as he cut her off immediately. If you're about to say snail racing, you better protect your head. She continued to plead, Professor Amon, come look at these snails. I told you, snail racing is only held once every 15 years. Amon clenched his fist. So what are you planning? Anarin happily replied, unicorn racing. A strike immediately landed on her head. You never change, do you? She clutched her head. Is that supposed to be a compliment? He asked angrily, what do you think? Anarin held up a stack of investment documents from a trading company. She asked cheerfully, do you want to invest in a new mysterious substance recently discovered? Investment documents from a trading company? Amon turned away helplessly. That? Good grief. You act like everything dug up from the ground is important. He began flipping through the papers she handed him and skimmed them. And then what? This capital will be allocated to all businesses and products, and its value will be appraised in the future. Ridiculous. They know this is all nonsense. Even the business owner gave this black oil a weird name just to make it sound cool. Amon flipped to a page and lost his temper. He slammed the documents on the desk and continued scolding her. Petroleum? What the hell is petroleum? There isn't a single good investment choice here. You should think of a different plan instead of trying to inflate your capital. First, think about the basics. This academy is an educational institution, right? And it encourages nurturing the young talents of the empire. Therefore, every year, they set aside a generous and lavish financial support fund for academies. Anarin immediately countered, but since we've been recommended for suspension, we won't receive a single cent of that. Amon immediately caught the main point. Exactly. That's why I need your help. She asked worriedly, what do you mean? He began to lay out his plan. I heard you're an old friend of the king. Anarin answered nonchalantly, it's been about 50 years, so what? He explained further, then there's only one answer, bribe the king. Amon began to laugh sinisterly. Hearing this, she started to panic and refused. Bribe my friend? Don't joke about this. You don't think everyone is like you, do you? He continued to persuade her. Come on, her intentions are what matter. You know what the king likes and dislikes. We should invest in a bribe. Jaemon, standing outside, that heard the entire conversation about investing in a bribe. His face was filled with utter confusion. Is this academy about to collapse? Anarin had now reached King Amones, who looked at the box of bananas in front of him in surprise. Wait, isn't this the famous dragon banana? Why would you give me such a precious gift, Princess Anarin? She smiled and replied, what does this compare to our friendship? The king stirred his tea and asked, but looking at you, it seems you have another motive. For example, Anarin started sweating and turned her head away. She didn't dare look him in the eye. King Amones glared at her with sharp eyes, negotiating to cancel the academy's suspension recommendation. Anarin gave a forced laugh. As expected, your majesty is so wise. The king replied happily, is there anything to hide in our friendship? Honestly, considering our bond, that I also want to stop the academy suspension. But considering past events, I cannot make that decision alone. Anarin answered dejectedly, I understand. Suddenly, Amones shifted his gaze to the two children beside her. These kids look impressive. Did they participate in the recent competition? Anarin quickly replied, yes, your majesty. Amones began to think. I see. They're from the Almonist Academy. Fine. Considering the remarkable achievements of these students, I will speak to the council about withdrawing the suspension recommendation. She clasped her hands and stood up abruptly. With sparkling eyes, she asked, really? King Amones replied heartily, of course, Princess Anarin. She continued to thank him. He raised his teacup. Don't mention it. Suddenly, he caught a scent. Anarin looked at him in surprise. The two children were also startled and froze. Your majesty? King Amones was now on the floor. He sniffed here and then jumped over there to sniff again. He ran all around the room. The scene was, shall we say, not very dignified. He raised his head angrily. This scent. Amon was standing outside the door, ear pressed against it, listening. I wonder how things are going. That elf isn't a smooth talker, but she holds an important position. After all, they've been friends for 50 years. He might find it unpleasant to meet a member of my family, but he's a wise king. As long as he doesn't see me, everything will be fine. Suddenly, the door burst open. King Amones shouted, found you. Amon jumped back in shock. He stammered, your majesty. The king was furious. He pointed a finger at him and began questioning. No wonder I could smell that disgusting Drake scent. You're the mastermind behind this. Amon trembled and asked, mastermind? What do you mean, sir? He continued to accuse him. You're the one who tricked and forced Princess Anarin to cancel the suspension, aren't you? His face darkened as he quickly protested. I'm just doing my duty as a professor. Forced? Tricked? Anarin, Chloe, and Boris stood silently watching the door. I can't believe Professor Amon got caught. Amon advised him, your majesty, please don't let your personal feelings affect your work. The king growled. Queen Victoria was also hiding behind a wall in the distance, eavesdropping. He continued to explain, the insolence of the Drake family from ancient times and this matter are completely different. Just as we showed our talent in the competition, we are capable of nurturing these children whose talent caught your eye. But the Academy's current situation is too desperate. Anarin moved her hand to cover her face, touched. As expected of Professor Amon, you're more like a principal than I am. The two children also shed tears. Professor Amon continued his sob story. Children have to starve because the Academy is bankrupt. Actually, this morning's menu was meat soup. Additionally, the lack of finances is disrupting the Academy's regular curriculum, and we don't even have the necessary training tools to hold classes. This was also a lie. as he had just ordered a new wooden sword for slot yesterday. Amon continued to pitch like a professional MLM salesman. He placed his hand over his heart and said, "Teaching is more important to me than being a member of the Drake family. In fact, the Academy's poor finances are why students are starving and being denied a proper education. It truly saddens me." He bowed deeply before King Amones. "Your Majesty, I hope you will withdraw the request to suspend the Academy's operations." He flashed a faint smile. Perfect. The pride, faith, and wonderful tears of an educator full of kindness for his students. My opponent is a king who cherishes students and values education. I gave a great speech as an educator with faith in teaching students. So how could he possibly refuse? Contrary to what he thought, King Amones was scratching his arm, not listening at all. Amon looked on angrily. He doesn't even care. The king replied lazily, "All you Drakes are so talkative. Is that all you wanted to say?" Amon continued to argue with him. "Seriously, let's make this simple. Why do you keep complaining to me about old things that happened in the past, things I don't even know about?" The king pointed at him accusingly. "Look at you. Finally, your true colors are showing." The king stuck out his tongue to mock him. "Why don't you try to hit me if you're so angry?" Amon clenched his fists. "If only I could." Queen Victoria saw everything. She turned to the person beside her. "Kai, what do you think?" The crown prince of the Almonist Empire, Chaos, answered seriously. "I bet on Drake winning." The queen's face darkened as she prepared to punch him. Chaos quickly corrected himself. "You mean about withdrawing the suspension recommendation for the Almonist Academy, right?" The queen simply replied, "Yes." Chaos recalled Amon's appearance earlier while standing before his father. Teaching is more important than being a member of the Drake family. He calmly gave his opinion. It's best to withdraw the proposal and reconsider. Even if unfortunate incidents happen here in the past, we should still generously support outstanding students. The queen agreed. "You think just like me." He looked into the distance. The Drake family has faced many difficulties from father. That's probably why someone so patient and benevolent exists. The king was still taunting him. "You want to hit me, don't you? Go ahead, do it, so I can execute you." Amon glared at him angrily, but couldn't do a thing. The queen continued, "Speaking of which, I've only met Belio Drake twice, but I already felt like I was going crazy." Belio Drake, Amon's grandfather. When they were both younger, they had countless conflicts. Then she turned to look at Amon. "This one seems quite polite compared to Belay." Amon was now trembling with rage. "How could I dare touch a noble person like you?" Chaos looked at the queen seriously. "So, I want to end the ugly relationship between our two families, starting with my generation." She gave a gentle smile. "All right, if that's what you want." With that, she cracked her knuckles and stepped out. "I'll have to end this wild dog fight right now." Chaos stood behind, silently cheering, "Go, mother." Even though bribing was a reasonably distasteful move, though we still couldn't get the proposal withdrawn, that was because the king was beaten to a pulp, and the queen ordered us to return. Amon held a stack of documents, entering the classroom with a dejected face. "When did my life start getting this bad? All right, kids, let's start class." He stopped in his tracks. "Huh? Jaemon, what's with that doll next to you?" Jaemon ignored the judging looks from his classmates. He hugged the doll and protested, "It's not a doll." Amon asked back in surprise, "Then what is it?" He stroked its head and smiled creepily. "It's my baby." A broom swept across the ground, gathering the fallen white petals into one spot. Renbin was sweeping the yard when a voice called out, "Senior." He saw Amon and laughed. "What's this? Do you finally want to be my disciple?" Before he could finish, Amon cut him off. "I think your grandson has gone crazy." His whole body was fuming with rage, his voice low. "Is that how humans challenge each other?" Amon was terrified, his face pale as he stammered, No, your grandson is. He's hugging a teddy bear and calling it himself. Listen to the whole thing first." "Good Lord." After finishing, he looked at Renbin with a surprised face. Renbin had calmed down and said softly, "You're here because of that?" "Well, Jay, the boy has a severe case of Prince syndrome." Amon blurted out, "What?" He approached Renbin, full of questions. "Then why isn't he walking around with a mirror instead of teddy bear?" He explained calmly. He did carry a mirror at first, but eventually he made a teddy bear the same size as himself and carries it everywhere. Amon muttered, "He made it himself?" Renbin's voice was full of helplessness. "Yeah, he even makes a new one every time he grows. I tried to gently take it away once, and he started thrashing around like a fish out of water." Amon found it strange, but I didn't see him carrying it during the competition. Renbin replied, "I told him to hide his skills and identity at that time to try and cure him." He bowed his head with a slight smile. "Actually, I put Jay in here because I saw a ray of hope." Amon was even more confused. "Hope? In this academy?" Renbin gently placed a hand on his shoulder, full of expectation. "That hope," he said firmly while Amon looked on in disbelief. "That is you, Amon." Amon was confused and didn't know how to respond. "Huh? Why all of a sudden?" Rinbin looked at him with a determined voice. You took me down with a single strike, even though I'm a master. You're a teacher capable of training a student like Chloe to face Jay. I believe a great teacher like you can lead Jay in the right direction. In the blue sky, white clouds floated by. A sigh was heard. Amon sat back in his chair. I feel like an invisible weight is pressing down on my shoulders. He thought deeply about Rinbin's words. I believe a great teacher like you can lead Jay in the right direction. He denied it. If only they were true. I can't even manage the academy's finances, let alone lead him in the right direction. From behind him, a shadow loomed. Jamin's teddy bear face suddenly appeared, calling Professor Amon, making him scream. Good Lord, my heart. Amon quickly sat up, gasping. He turned around and scolded him. You idiot. You can't just shove that teddy bear in someone's face like that. His face remained blank as he said, I'm sorry. Amon sighed. Whatever. What is it? Jamon sat next to him, hugging the bear. Professor Amon, is the academy in trouble? Amon paused and looked at him. How do you know? Jamon replied naturally, of course I know. He gave a small smile and tried to brush it off. Let the adults worry about those things. Your job is to focus on your studies. The boy spoke up, no. I have an idea. Amon got an uneasy feeling. Huh? Jamon hugged his bear and smiled happily. Let's open an exhibition for my teddy bears. Hearing this, his lip twitched and his expression darkened. An exhibition? Jamon rummaged through a bag while saying yes. People will come to see my bears. Jamon pulled out a bunch of dolls of all different shapes. We have so many empty buildings. We can borrow one and invite people to buy replicas of my bears. Amon's face went blank. He frowned, not knowing what to say. My face is totally frozen. My heart has stopped. I'm speechless under the full moon by the pool. In the castle, there are ducks and fish. The duck caught the fish after that day. Jay would appear at any time, even at night in his bedroom. Jamon rested his chin on his hand, waving a crab puppet in front of Amon. What do you think of my idea, teacher? He complained irritably. For heaven's sake, let me sleep. And he forced Amon to give an answer in the bathroom. He climbed up to the top of the door to watch him. What about the exhibition tickets? Amon froze and looked up. I'm in the bathroom, Jamon. At the library. He suddenly poked his head down from above, repeating the question, Professor Amon, what do you think of my idea? The frustration was clear on Amon's face. Again, he hadn't even considered it, but in the end, he had no choice but to say yes. Jamon, clutching his teddy bear, said happily, if you lend me the space, I can do it for free. Since Amon accepted this. Amon held an exhibition flyer, muttering, Jamon, that kid. He read it while chuckling. He even made flyers. He seems pretty serious about this. A memory flashed in Amon's head of Jamon excitedly handing him a stack of papers. I'll let you see this before anyone else, Professor Amon. He clicked his tongue and headed toward the building with the clock tower. Anyway, more than half of the academy's buildings are empty. It doesn't matter what that kid does. Amon opened the dark door and stepped inside, whispering now, let's see what he's prepared. Amon's face turned pale with shock, sweat pouring down as his mouth hung open in a silent scream. The gloomy room was filled with hanging dolls that looked exactly like Jamon. It created a truly terrifying scene. He stood there trembling, unable to form a coherent sentence. Were these? From the shadows behind him, a pair of glowing blue eyes appeared, and a hand lightly touched his shoulder. Professor Amon. Amon spun around in a panic, throwing the flyers everywhere and bolting for the door, screaming, Ghost. Jamon, looking haggard from lack of sleep, watched him run away. He pouted slightly and grumbled. How could he call me a ghost? So mean. In the city of Amon, rows of red-tiled houses glowed under the setting sun. At a party, people clinked glasses and gossiped about a certain topic. Did you hear about that? A woman asked. The Amonist Academy is planning to hold an exhibition. The man beside her replied, that ancient academy? I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of art they'll display. Rinben froze, his expression a mix of doubt and confusion. What the hell is going on here? Outside the gates, a large crowd had gathered, shouting noisily. We heard there's an exhibition being held here. Alan, hurry up. Where's the exhibition? Amon stepped out, flustered. Who are all these people? Rinben looked at him and called out Amon. He pointed to a flyer in his hand. I was looking for you. This was posted outside the gate. What do you think of this? Amon saw the flyer and remembered. That's. Ignoring the shouting crowd. Rinben listened to Amon's explanation. I see. So that's what happened. Amon still didn't know where the crowd came from. But who are these people? The two of us can't handle them all. Rinben asked, what do you mean? Where are the other professors? Amon clutched his head in a grimace and shouted, Good Lord, don't even talk about it. The other professors were off enjoying their private lives. Professor Marion was dead drunk. Professor Phil went home to visit her family. The vice principal never cooperates with me. What can I say? And the principal is mad at me. This is your fault, Professor Amon. Deal with it yourself. Amon asked worriedly, "Where's Jaemon?" Renbin sighed and shook his head. "Jay, he's been sick in bed since yesterday." In the infirmary, Jaemon looked half dead. Beside him, Chloe and Boris were watching over him. "That doll looks super creepy," one of them blurted out as the situation sank in. Amon spoke calmly to Renbin. "The two of us will have to handle this. Once they see what's on display, they'll never come back." The doors suddenly swung open. The crowd inside was horrified, screaming and running out in a panic. One person with a doll stuck to their head turned pale, clutching a cross and trembling. "Almighty Vlaten, protect me with your eternal light." Others screamed in terror. "Don't look at me with those eyes. I want out of here." A man nearby looked disgusted by their behavior, mocking them. "Uncultured swine. No matter how ugly it is, there's no need to act like that." His servant chimed in, "You're absolutely right, sir." A moment later, that same man ran out with a terrified face, screaming, "This is hell." His servant followed behind, crying, "Wait for me." The ladies nearby also judged it. "How rude. What kind of art is this?" Due to the reactions of the previous visitors, rumors spread like wildfire among commoners and nobles alike. A long line formed outside the building. People running away in fear, yelling "It's hell," only made others more curious about what was inside. Clearly, this is a work of art I'll remember for life. I want to see it now. The number of visitors kept increasing. Renbin and Amon held up signs, constantly shouting to keep the crowd in order. "Get in line. Form a line. No pushing. Walk, don't run." The overwhelming crowd made Amon turn pale. "This isn't working. I have to use my last resort." Amon bowed his head, begging for help. "Please help me." He performed a dramatic deep bow, head to ground, legs practically in the air, to leave a strong impression. "Principal, Vice Principal, Professors, please help us control the crowd at the gallery." Amon's dramatic display left all three of them frozen, completely speechless. Finally, he successfully convinced them. Principal Anarin shouted, "If you don't stay in line, you'll be fined 10 gold coins." Everyone immediately fell into line. People were buzzing, "What is this artwork?" Finally, things calmed down a bit. Marion, who was drunk, praised Amon. "By the way, the kid did all this in just a few days. He's quite talented, isn't he?" Amon stood beside him, looking miserable. "Yeah, just a few days." A young man nearby gasped, "There are so many eyes." Marion held two of Jaemon's puppets, muttering, "I don't know much about art, but I'm sure someone will see the value in it." Amon's spirits sank even lower. Who knows? They didn't notice a middle-aged man intently examining the dolls. At the Amonist Academy, crows cawed in the sky. Inside Jaemon's teddy bear exhibition, there was nothing but screaming and people running for their lives. In the chaos, only Marcus remained calm, looking at the pile of bears. Everyone is leaving. Seeing this, Amon asked Marion, "Should we close the exhibition?" Marion happily gave a thumbs up. "Yeah, close it up." Meanwhile, Marcus was still staring at the bears. They look a bit strange, but looking closely at each one, they're actually quite cute. This work seems to be a reflection of modern society, masked by fake smiles. It has the power to make viewers want to keep looking. Just like me. Amon was about to close up when he saw Marcus still there. He approached him. "Sir, it's time to close." Marcus looked up a bit surprised. "Oh my, is it that time already?" He intended to buy some and asked, "How much are these dolls?" Amon replied, 1 silver coin. "The price is a bit high, but the proceeds go to help students in need and the Academy Fund." Hearing the price, Marcus hesitated. 1 silver for this? He just hummed and left it at that. After closing, the principal and teachers walked back together, carrying the bears. Marion asked curiously, "So, how much did we make today?" Everyone looked at Amon, but he replied gloomily, 0. Nobody wanted anything. Entrance fees or sales would have brought in some cash, but it was free entry and no one bought anything, so there was no revenue. Hearing him complain, Anarin exclaimed, "Oh dear. Jaemon must be so disappointed." Jaemon hugged a bear, looking extremely annoyed. "Those idiots clearly don't understand my sophisticated art." Amon tried to choose his words carefully to comfort him. "Exactly. There are just too many low-class people." But Jaemon immediately countered, "You were the first one to run away when you saw my work, teacher." Amon had no comeback for that. Jaemon was angry because it was a great chance to spread his beauty, but now he'd have to hold his second exhibition. Amon just sat there, listening to Jaemon talk to himself. Looking at him, Amon remembered that Jaemon had made hundreds of these dolls over the last few days. Even though he was so tired he had dark circles like a panda, he hadn't fallen asleep once during extra classes. The quality of each doll was impressive, aside from the bulging eyes. At first, I brushed it off, thinking he was just good with his hands like a swordmaster. But looking at his hollow eyes, Amon asked Jaemon, "Why are you so obsessed with this exhibition? You even fainted this time because you overwork yourself for it while trying to keep up with your studies." "The adults will handle the Academy's financial problems," Amon advised. "You don't need to try so hard. You're still a student." Jaemon looked down and told him about his past. Professor Amon, that I've never felt comfortable since the day I was born in the mountains. I had to do everything myself, food, clothes, friends. I want to protect it myself. The life I have now. Jaemon looked incredibly troubled. Hearing the story, Amon was quite surprised. He didn't know what to say and left, feeling uneasy. Come to think of it, I only wanted this academy to go bankrupt because I have a place to return to, unlike the kids here. Amon remembered the faces and words of the children. Jaemon had said hollowly, I have no home to return to. My village was completely destroyed 2 years ago. Chloe had shared sadly, I came here from the kingdom of Aaron to study last year. My country lost the war and was invaded. Then he remembered Jaemon's determination. That's why I want to protect the life I have now. Amon was so lost in thought he didn't hear Phil ask, Amon, I asked how you've been lately. He just hummed in response. I thought you said you were coming back tomorrow. Phil, carrying a pile of stuff, replied casually, sleeping on a teacher's desk is still the best sleep. Amon looked dejected, then noticed what she was holding. What's that? She replied, casually, sponsorships and support funds my family sent to the academy. Hearing the word funds, Amon was shocked. What? Then, he happily announced the news to everyone while she looked on helplessly. Everyone, good news. Just then, Principal Aaron and Rinbin came running over happily. She laughed and said, the Emperor agreed to lift the suspension. Also, our monthly financial support has been restored. Wait, that's not all. An old gentleman at the exhibition was so moved by Jaemon's work that he donated to the academy, so Jaemon can continue focusing on his art. Amon saw Marion and Brett running over happily. Do you two have good news to share too? Marion, holding a bottle, laughed. No, I just ran here. Vice Principal Brett clutched her stomach. I'm so hungry. Amon was speechless. Seeing all the good news, everyone praised him. Professor Amon, it's all thanks to you. Let's show our gratitude by tossing him into the air to celebrate. Amon was confused. Huh? Before he could process it, the excited crowd tossed him up, chanting Amon, our unity is eternal. You always keep moving forward. In short, Amon, you're a loser. In this situation, he could only give a helpless, dry laugh. Should I be happy about this? From now on, the Amonist Academy is officially back. In the principal's office, Amon thought, it's been 6 months since I was appointed. The financial problems are finally solved, so I thought I could enjoy a peaceful life. But that was just wishful thinking. He was so lost in thought he didn't hear Aaron. Wait, say that again. She repeated excitedly. That I'm going to reopen the Inter-Academy Exchange competition. The Inter-Academy Exchange is a competition where various academies, under imperial supervision, compete in different fields. All students can participate. The winning academy receives a trophy recognized by the royal family and a chance to gain fame. Every year, academies compete to grow. Marion agreed. Right. Since the suspension was lifted, we're qualified to participate in the exchange again. Aaron agreed, but Amon was in total shock. He slammed his hands on the table and shouted, no. Principal, you have to think carefully. Now is not the time. This isn't a normal tournament. The exchange has many categories. Even the smallest academies have nearly 100 students participating. We're at a numerical disadvantage. He tried to be the voice of reason. We need to be cautious. This is supervised by the royals, so we can't withdraw once we apply. Aaron replied casually, true, we can't. Anyway, I already submitted the application. Amon was frustrated. Then what's the point of talking? Seeing Amon getting worked up, Marion stopped him. Calm down, Amon. This could be a fun experience. Amon shouted back. Losing would be a total disgrace. This will definitely be a terrible experience. Aaron was a bit scared of his look, while Phil seemed to have been startled awake, looking confused. Marion kept holding Amon, trying to calm him down. But our students did great in the last tournament, so we can at least win in swordsmanship and magic. Amon finally calmed down and accepted reality. Fine. Then, which academy did you apply to compete against? Aaron hesitated. Well, at the Bastic Academy. A loud laugh echoed through the air as Benjamin looked at the newspaper. The news that the Amonist Academy was continuing operations was hilarious. A bankrupt academy suddenly reopening. He found it ridiculous that they dared to challenge the best academy in the empire, Bastic Academy. He flashed a devious smile. It's time to settle the long-standing feud between our academies. And it's time to settle my personal score. Amon collapsed onto the desk in complete despair. We're dead meat. Our tiny little academy is going up against the greatest academy in the empire. Marion, still as carefree as ever, patted his shoulder to comfort him. Don't worry too much. Amon shot back. You think this isn't a problem? They have thousands of students and hundreds of teachers. And it's not just about the numbers. Every single one of their graduates is guaranteed a position as a high-ranking knight or a noble mage. He clutched his head and pulled at his hair, continuing to moan. This is like throwing an egg at a boulder. Marion took a satisfied sip of wine and replied, Amon, calm down and listen to me. Even though there are rumors about our students being back in action, most people think we'll have to shut down soon anyway. However, if we perform well in this exchange competition." He turned away, disgusted by the overwhelming smell of alcohol, and finished the sentence for him. "People will be lining up to apply to the academy." Marian laughed and said, "Exactly. If we win this exchange before the Almonist Academy is forgotten, the news of our victory will spread. Reclaiming our former glory will only be a matter of time." Amon was still skeptical if they could actually win, but it's not just a matter of time. "Anyway, I understand the principal's intention. She wants to revive the academy as quickly as possible, right?" He pondered and finally accepted it. "Fine, we won't know unless we try once. Besides," he chuckled to himself, "it's not like I'm the one who has to suffer the beatdown." 1410 inches class. Jaemon looked at the thesis and was immediately struck with fear. Looking at the thesis paper in class, Amon was suddenly struck with fear. The other students panicked along with him. "Hey, hero, wake up," he shouted. "I wasn't sleeping." Amon stood there seriously, holding a pointer like a strict teacher. "Everyone, start reading the thesis. Make sure it stays in your heads." The students groaned under the mountain of paperwork. Sobi. "Professor Amon, this is too hard." Amon barked at the complaints, making Jaemon jump. "Bullies, if you can endure this now, you can achieve wealth and glory later. I mean, you can eat meat until you're sick of it." At the mention of meat, Boris suddenly perked up, chanting meat repeatedly. As for Chloe, she seemed to have lost focus and was caught by him. "Chloe, are you still paying attention?" Hearing the professor, she panicked and read aloud. "The technique of the BAS family focuses on power." He nodded in satisfaction. "Good, very good." Then he suddenly called on Jaemon. The boy jumped and said, "Yes, I am trying to read." Amon advised him, "Actually, you should just relax." Jaemon relaxed and said, "Okay." Then he turned to ask, "Am I going to participate in the swordsmanship match?" Since he was a swordsman, he assumed so. Amon replied nonchalantly, "Nope, a different competition." Jaemon was puzzled. "Huh, is there another competition?" Amon didn't tell him and just smiled. "Just study for now. Keep reading, especially you, Boris and Chloe. You can't leave until you've read everything thoroughly." Meanwhile, he placed another towering stack of papers on the table. The students were bewildered by the heaps of knowledge. "It's back. Abundant knowledge must reside in a healthy mind." Now repeat after me. Abundant knowledge must reside in a healthy mind. The training for the upcoming match between Almonist Academy and Bistic Academy. Bistic Academy was finally holding the exchange event. The two principals, followed by their teachers and students, stepped onto the stage. Benjamin spoke up, greeting Principal Aaron. "It's been a long time. You still look the same." This was Principal Benjamin of Bistic Academy. Aaron smiled back, but her tone was laced with sarcasm. "That's because I'm an elf. I expected you to be old enough to be dying by now." Though irritated, Benjamin held back. He shifted his gaze to the students behind her. "Are those the students participating in the exchange?" What a mess. Jaemon looked like he didn't care about the world. Boris looked utterly exhausted and was mumbling to himself, and Chloe was yawning loudly, complaining about being tired. He glanced over at the teachers. Phil was nodding off, Amon was looking around with a radiant face, and Marian was clutching his stomach, moaning in pain. The professors looked just as disheveled, Benjamin thought disdainfully. He pointed at Anarin and mocked her. "Almonist Academy truly has many talented people." She ignored him and smiled. "I'm so jealous." "I know, right? So those eyes aren't just for decoration after all, Benjamin." Benjamin couldn't take it anymore and barked, "What? You damn elf." She kept her friendly demeanor, but her words were poison. "Then I guess you're a damn human, aren't you?" Amon watched Anarin and Benjamin glaring at each other with sparks flying, finding it hard to believe. "I can't believe the principal openly has a feud with a man like that." Suddenly, a booming voice rang out. "Enough." Marian paused. "Wait, that person is?" Amon asked, curious. "Do you know them?" He introduced him as Pado Jonasir. "He's a legendary magic swordsman famous in our magic tower. Have we met him somewhere before?" As Pado raised a megaphone and announced loudly, "I am as Pado, the Imperial Overseer. It seems both academies are present." He continued, "Then let the match begin." Aspado gave a general introduction to the first round. The first round will be magic theory and magic circle application. Students from both sides, please step forward. Below the stage, Benjamin sat comfortably. Everyone around him was holding up signs cheering for their students. "Do your best, Bistic Academy." I love Delmond. Unlike the exhibition, we only had 4 days to prepare for the exchange. Therefore, we had no choice but to go through a grueling preparation process. But as expected of a prestigious academy, the first opponent was no pushover. Marian looked up at Delmond, who was acting flashy on stage, and asked blankly, "Is that student from the Magic Tower? Why is he holding a flower in his mouth?" Anarin explained, He's famous for his superior magic skills and handsome looks. Not that it's any of my business. The boy raised an eyebrow, a rose tucked behind his ear. Is it my opponent? Seeing Boris's tired and messy appearance, Delmond was clearly disgusted. Magic is something tied to talent and aptitude, but you just look like a useless commoner. He stepped forward and politely took his hand. I am Mayor Delmond of the Stick Academy. Boris replied sluggishly, I'm Boris of Almonist Academy. Hearing this, Delmond became suspicious. He doesn't even have a family name. Is he really just a commoner? Aspado began to state the rules. In this round, you must draw a magic circle and follow it with a discussion where you ask each other about the theory behind it. Who wants to go first? Delmond said confidently, I'll go first. His fans cheered wildly. Delmond smirked, while Boris just looked annoyed. He really was a bit of a nuisance. He reached out his hand, and a soft light gradually appeared in his palm. Watch closely, commoner. Immediately after, a magic circle was created. This is true magic. His face remained unchanged, but inside, he was secretly impressed. To create a magic circle at that age without a medium? Aspado spoke up again. Student from Almonist Academy, please analyze the magic circle. Boris paused for a moment, observing the magic circle carefully. Delmond flashed a winning smile. There's no way he can understand this magic. Only a fourth-tier mage or higher could comprehend it. Boris slowly named it. This is eye-clouding magic. While taking notes in his book, Boris continued, but a magic circle like this is too inefficient. Delmond was stunned. What? Boris pulled out a drawing from his book and pointed to it. Look at this. This is the magic circle Mayor drew, right? But if you remove these two outer lines, the mana will flow much smoother. While Delmond was still dazed, Boris rattled on about the magic circle. Additionally, is the reinforcement line at the base really necessary? There's an assumption that mana needs reinforcement lines, which was debunked years ago by Mage Jella. Yeah, Delmond was starting to panic. What is he talking about? I don't understand any of this. Aspado rubbed his chin, a rare smile appearing on his face. One more point. You even know about Jella's underground theory. Interesting. Aspado reminded them. Boris, it's your turn to present your magic circle. Boris agreed and drew a few strokes in his book. All right. Delmond crossed his arms, regaining his confidence. He can't even cast a spell? How pathetic. Maybe he can only draw a theoretical circle or something. After a moment, Boris held up the magic circle he had just finished. Here. Delmond's regained confidence vanished instantly, replaced by internal panic. What kind of magic circle is this? He tried to remember. That's Firestorm, the 8th-tier magic circle. Delmond's fans below were shocked. Someone even tore their cheering sign in half. He could draw such a complex magic circle on the spot at such a young age. Oh my god, what is happening? I'm leaving the fandom. How? Even intermediate wizards at the tower struggle to draw that. Amon, watching from the stands, gave a smug smile. He might only know how to draw that one circle. It was truly the result of last-minute cramming. Before the match, looking at a bright green liquid, Boris asked in confusion, Professor Amon, what is this? Amon replied excitedly, this is Vice Principal Brett's secret tea recipe. Boris sat at a table piled high with documents. He asked fearfully, are you sure it's not poison? What is it called? Amon approached him warmly. Don't worry, it's not a sleeping pill. The scroll in Amon's hand caught Boris's attention. What's that scroll? Amon replied, the forever memory spell. The next day, he smiled and grabbed Boris's shoulders. Boris, you finally read all the research papers. I'm so proud of you. Boris, however, was so tired he was about to collapse on the spot. Then, Aspado's announcement left everyone stunned. The victory for the first round goes to Boris of Almonist Academy. He ignored the fuming Delmond behind him and warmly shook hands with the still-dazed Boris. Boris, I will remember your name. After you graduate, look for the Imperial Brailing. He placed a sparkling purple badge in Boris's hand, leaving the boy wondering, what is this? Principal Anail clapped happily. Well done, Boris. Boris smiled back. Thank you, Principal. Amon also chimed in. I'm proud of you, Boris. Anail happily continued. Congratulations. Boris asked, puzzled for what? Anail explained. That badge is a symbol of recruitment for the court. You've secured a position as an Imperial Mage after graduation. Boris's eyes lit up. An Imperial Mage? Me. Amon stepped forward and placed a hand on Boris's head. I told you. He smiled. If you endure just a little more, you'll soon have all the meat you want. Boris's eyes welled up with happy tears, and his entire face turned red. Boris happily dove into Amon's arms. Professor Amon. But before he could hug him, he passed out from exhaustion. Amon caught Boris with a helpless smile. You're exhausted, aren't you? The Imperial Mage slept soundly in Amon's arms. He told Anail happily, I'll be back after I take Boris to his room. But inside, she was incredibly jealous. I'm so jealous. She scratched her head and agreed. All right, I'll leave him to you, Professor Amon. Amon kept grumbling internally. I'm stuck in this hellhole, but my student was chosen as an imperial mage. For some reason, I feel a bit jealous of my own student. Benjamin fumed, clenching his fists. Who knew that commoner kid would win? He asked angrily, does Bastik have anyone else we should watch out for from Amonit? A teacher, while comforting Delmond, replied, they have a student who won first place in the swordsmanship division in this year's competition. Delmond was sobbing. How could I lose? Benjamin asked again, and Azpato spoke up. The second round is history. The new contestants stepped forward. Bastik analyzed carefully. The student must be at least a sword expert. Maybe he'll participate in the swordsmanship round. However, Jaemon casually walked onto the stage. This action confused everyone. Why is he coming forward? Isn't he the swordsmanship winner from this year's competition? Why is he in the history round? What would a swordsman know about history? Benjamin covered his mouth with a smirk. That stupid elf sent a sword expert to a history round. He watched John walk onto the stage. His confidence returned. Our student has already received job offers as a politician and diplomat in various kingdoms. He has a deep understanding of history. This round is a guaranteed win for Bastik Academy. John posed confidently, completely disregarding Jaemon. Azpato stated the rules again. This test will also involve each side presenting a topic and then debating it. He thought for a moment and said, well then, since Amonist Academy won the first round, please present your topic. Jaemon, with an indifferent face, lazily chose a question. What was the significance of Marcus Manani's rebellion? The crowd immediately began whispering and mocking him. What kind of topic is that? Is that student really not afraid? Anil was a bit worried. We studied that in the very first class. Marion also became apprehensive. Even I know that. Amon helplessly slapped his forehead. Jaemon, you idiot. How could you choose such a basic topic? John adjusted his glasses. He answered fluently. Marquis Manani's rebellion eventually ended in failure. But the result was that the indiscriminate increase of noble power was checked by the royal family, leading to the strengthening of the commoner status. Thus, the Haman council system representing commoners' rights was introduced. This three-way power structure was established between nobles and the council. However, given their origins, it's natural for commoners to support the royals. Therefore, the rebellion indirectly strengthened royal power. Azpato asked, Jaemon, do you have any opinion on this? Seeing that he had no opinion, Azpato said, then John will decide the next topic. John gave a contemptuous smile. All right, I'll shut him up. John quickly asked, in the outer villages of the empire where Duke Everglow's Boston territory and the Grand Duchy of Vladimir share a border, an incident occurred recently. I want to discuss the political conflict arising from this. Upon hearing the question, Jaemon looked a bit confused. Marion commented, that student proposed a rather difficult topic. Amon nodded in agreement. Yes, that incident involves many political factors. Bastik students would have access to vast resources and updated news. On the other hand, Amonist has just overcome financial difficulties. They only know what's in old history books and outdated documents. John rubbed his chin thoughtfully. There's a clear gap in information quality. This is a tough one. Can you clarify which incident you're referring to? Amon also thought about the problem. Then Jaemon asked a question in return. You mentioned a recent incident. Are you referring to the conflict between the government forces and mercenaries in the neutral zone? Or is it about the mysterious disappearance of the Duke's carriage? Amon was surprised by this series of questions. How does that kid know all that? John tried to sound confident. Whichever incident we discuss is fine. Inside, he was panicking. I've never even heard of those incidents. He asked back, is that right? Amon sat below, clearly stunned. Jaemon, I thought he was only good at manual labor and sword fighting. Still indifferent, Jaemon said. Then we can discuss the conflict with the Great Duchy caused by the strange phenomenon at Mount Boston, located in Grand Duke Everglow's territory. Amon was blown away by his talent. Who knew the kid was good at history too? So, let's discuss the conflict with the duchy caused by a strange incident on Mount Boston in Duke Everglow's territory. John froze. Conflict arising from a strange incident at the Boston Mountains? He cursed internally, having no idea what that was. John turned to Azpato. Judge's opinion. I've never heard of such an incident. Azpato crossed his arms and replied calmly. It happened 2 years ago. It worsened the conflict between the Grand Duchy and Duke Everglow. Azpato's gaze toward Jaemon became curious. But because both sides wanted to keep it a secret, they buried the incident. How does that kid know about it? High up in the stands, Lord Rainbelt stood up. It's Jay's turn. Aaron looked over, a bit surprised. Lord Rainbelt? I didn't know you'd be coming. He replied nonchalantly. How could I not come? My grandson is participating in a history competition. Azpato turned his head, his eyes widening in shock. The Heavenly Sword King, Rainbelt Namek? Rainbelt rested his chin on his hand as he found a seat. Are you talking about that incident? A bold theory flashed through Espado's mind. Raymond, Rainbelt, is he Namek's grandson? So that's how he knows about that. Espado then recalled where Raymond had been living. After all, Rainbelt lives on Mount Boston, in the territory of Duke Everglow. The strange incident at Mount Boston that Raymond mentioned was actually centered around Rainbelt. He was picking wild vegetables when a group of noble kids from the Grand Duchy mistook him for a random old man and pranked him. He ended up beating them all senseless. A pathetic accident became the catalyst for a shameful political dispute, so both sides quietly swept it under the rug. Rainbelt's sharp gaze shifted toward him, making Espado shiver. Did he notice me staring? Espado suddenly received a telepathic message. My grandson told a rather unnecessary story. I don't want this tension to escalate. So could you just let it slide quietly? Espado was stunned, communicating through raw energy projection. He really is the real deal. He quickly turned to the stage and said dismissively, John, it seems you have nothing to say to counter the topic. John flustered, trying to object. Give me a moment. But Espado didn't care and started the countdown. 3, 2, 1. It's over. He announced the result. Jaemon of Amonist Academy is the winner. The Amonist teachers jumped up in joy and surprise. The kid won. Meanwhile, Benjamin was fuming. What kind of rules are these? He angrily declared, fine then. In the next math category, we will crush you in the following round. However, Amon flatly refused. We declined to participate in the mathematics category. Benjamin barked irritably. Decline? What the hell are you talking about? Amon turned to Espado. Judge, as far as I know, there's a rule that allows for a forfeit fee in exchange matches. There's nothing wrong with using the existing rules. Espado nodded. True, but paying to lose in an exchange match, personally hosted by the Emperor, is a disgrace. Amon pointed to his students behind him. But we only have 3 students participating. I can't have 2 students go round after round, or have 1 student do 3 categories. That would be an immense burden on my students. Benjamin grit his teeth at the explanation. What? Amon continued. We don't even have a math teacher at our academy. Moreover, Boris and Chloe were looking at Amon with teary, shimmering eyes. Benjamin, that snorted. You sure have a silver tongue. Of course I have to lie, Amon thought. We literally don't have a single math teacher. Plus, Amon recalled a previous lesson. Now look here. He pointed to a drawing on the board. There are 5 apples. Boris ate 3 of them. Then, Raymond brought 3 new apples. Chloe and Raymond each ate 1 apple. Then Boris ate 2 more. Amon asked gently, so, how many apples are left? Seeing Chloe raise her hand, he called on her. Chloe, do you have the answer? But her answer was not what he expected. Kill Boris. You ate all 5 apples by yourself. Amon hurriedly cut in, Chloe. Don't hold your pen like a weapon. Boris trembled in self-defense. I don't even like apples. Jaemon hesitantly said, I see 4. Bully shooted confidently. Point 3 left. Amon asked why, and Boris immediately changed his answer. Oh wait, 4. Amon looked at them helplessly. That's not the answer. He felt completely dejected. There's no hope for them at all. Back to the present. Amon was still refusing the match. So, we'll choose to pay the fine for mathematics. Rainbelt stood up to leave. My grandson's match is over. I'm heading out. Anael, standing nearby, was moved. He's so caring toward his students. Benjamin snapped. Then, science is next. Amon immediately refused. We declined that too. Espado announced, victory by default for Mystic Academy. That tied the score at 2-2. Benjamin was still livid. What? But Anael didn't miss the chance to poke him. Why aren't you happy, Benjamin? Isn't this the victory you wanted so badly? His hand shook with rage. That damn elf. This doesn't feel like a victory at all. It feels like a handout. Benjamin thought back to when Amonist was shut down. This is the same empty feeling I had when the academy was suspended. He crumpled the paper in his hand, the one he'd spent all night drafting for a duel. After a moment, Benjamin regained his composure. Whatever. I'll be the true winner in the final match anyway. Espado announced the next event. The final match will be swordsmanship. Espado called for the 2 contestants to step up. Oliver stepped forward with an innocent face. Mystic Academy's rising star, Sword Master Oliver Basket. Next was Jaemon. Jaemon's eyes flickered toward the stands where Raymond was yawning. I thought you were the only one worthy of being my rival, but you're running away like this? Looking down at Chloe, who was barely half his height, Oliver couldn't hide his disappointment. I have to fight this kid? How boring. The crowd jeered boo. Oliver, toss that brat aside with 1 hit. She'll lose in a second. Does that little girl even know how to fight? Just get rid of her. Anael asked Amon worriedly. Professor Amon, why didn't you send Jaemon? He's a sword master. What if Chloe gets hurt? But he reassured her. Don't worry about it. Amon's face and voice were full of confidence. This isn't a real battle. It's just a little spar. Oliver charged in quickly. Don't toy with me. I'll end this as fast as possible. However, Chloe suddenly bent her body low and disappeared from sight. Where did she go? An instant later, she appeared behind him, swinging her sword as she lunged. A precise strike to Oliver's back. As Pato declared, 1 point for Chloe. Oliver was still in shock. This little girl hadn't even given him time to react. Chloe quickly spun around. She swung her sword again, but this time, Oliver blocked it. Professor Amon was right. If I imagine them as game characters, I'm not afraid of their judgment at all. The crowd screamed angrily, "Are you kidding me? Oliver, stop holding back. How can you lose to that brat?" He angrily swung his sword. "What are you daydreaming about?" "Exactly. The guy's standing right in front of her." Chloe jumped up, her sword ready to strike down. "That is just a damn pig." In her eyes, Oliver was now just a pig getting a beatdown. As Pato's voice rang out, "For points for Chloe," Oliver sat on the ground, pale-faced. "Is this fun? You're just lucky you got those points." Chloe interrupted him with a murderous gaze and a dangerous smile. "Hey, say that again. Stop oinking and speak like a human." The entire stadium went silent. Only the announcement remained. Final score, 4 points for Chloe. Chloe rested her sword against Oliver's neck, her eyes cold. A murderous aura surrounded her. Could Oliver even turn this around? The continuous announcements made the defeated pig Oliver grit his teeth in humiliation as he lay on the ground. Seeing the scene, Anarin was surprised. "Is Chloe's swordsmanship really that good?" Amon replied proudly, "Actually, Chloe beat Jaemon during the exhibition. The rules just made the result unclear." He patted Jaemon's shoulder. "Isn't that right, Jaemon?" Ignoring the fact that Jaemon's face was already turning pale. Besides, Professor Phil started teaching Chloe recently. Amon recalled Phil's fiery training sessions. Phil had been instructing Chloe to hack its sandbags. "Stab it hard, like you're going right through it." Amon continued, "The swordsmanship of the Phil family." Chloe always had great potential as a swordsman. As he said this, Oliver jumped up and swung a heavy overhead strike. Due to her height, Chloe lowered her center of gravity to parry the blow. If she learns more from the Phil family, her potential will be limitless. As if to prove his point, Chloe leaped into the air immediately after parrying Oliver's strike. Her sudden appearance caught him off guard. A fresh opening. Chloe's counterattack couldn't quite pierce Oliver's solid defense. The resulting pressure sent her flying back just as Oliver closed in. A sound like a mosquito's buzz came from her mouth, making him shudder. BZZZZZZT. Professor Phil's special training program taught only one thing: fly like a mosquito. Chloe leaped high, sword held close to her shoulder, pointing the tip directly at her opponent while making a BZZZ sound. Watching her fly around, making weird noises, Oliver felt a chill down his spine. What is this girl doing? The moment he hesitated, Chloe drove her blade hard into his back. Oliver let out a cry of pain as his joints locked up. "Arg, what the hell?" Benjamin was screaming like a madman in the stands. "Oliver, what the hell are you doing? At least do something fitting for your size. Fight back." Unlike his frantic opponent, Amon continued to explain her moves. "Plus, they aren't allowed to use aura in this match." He boasted proudly. "In a match based purely on skill, there's no way Chloe can lose." Just as he was getting excited, but he suddenly saw a flash of light from Oliver's sword. What is that brat planning? From Amon's perspective, that he could see Oliver's sinister smirk as Chloe advanced from behind. Amon's voice suddenly cut off. Anarin looked over suspiciously, but he had long since disappeared. "Professor Amon? Why did you stop talking? Where'd he go?" Suddenly, a pained cry rang out from the arena. The entire hall gasped as they saw Amon lifting Oliver off the ground by his throat. Professor Amon, he was absolutely furious, his face dark as he glared at Oliver. Seeing his student being choked until he foamed at the mouth, Benjamin screamed from the stands. How dare a teacher interfere in a student match? He frantically ordered the judges to stop Amon. "Judge, get him out of there right now." At that moment, as Pato delivered a verdict that shook the hall. "No, the student from Soc Academy just tried to use an aura blade." The crowd erupted in whispers. "Oh, hablad? I didn't see anything." Ignoring the gossip, he continued, "Aura blade is a lethal move that can kill." Meanwhile, Amon was still choking Oliver, but holding him high in the air. For using such a dangerous move in an inter-academy match, Oliver of the Soc Academy is disqualified. The hall fell into even greater chaos at the final verdict. The winner of this exchange competition is Amonist Academy. Only then did Amon drop Oliver, who began coughing violently. He looked up at Amon in terror. Who is this man? Ignoring the fact that he'd just done something shocking. Amon immediately turned to ask, "Are you okay, Chloe?" The girl was still stunned by everything that had happened and instinctively replied, "Yes, I'm fine." With a final score of 3-2, Amonist Academy had snatched a dramatic victory. Anarin ran over with a sneer on her face. "Oh, Benjamin, it looks like we won this time. Or should I say, we won again?" I never thought I'd face the humiliation of losing to a failed academy. Benjamin screamed as two teachers held his arms to restrain him. Calm down, principal. Anarin continued to mock him. You should feel honored, not humiliated. Benjamin gritted his teeth. You damn elf. Anarin didn't care, looking at him with a mocking face that said, Yes, this damn elf watched you crash and burn. Amon stood by, silently cheering for her. Good job, principal. Keep making them cry. Suddenly, Anarin made a proposal. But it wouldn't be right to end it like this. Why don't we deepen the friendship between our teachers? Amon froze. Huh, there's more. Of course. Who wants to go first? Amon thought nervously. Calm down, they're agitated. They'll probably want a physical match like swordsmanship or magic. Well, have fun, seniors. Amon looked over at his two esteemed seniors. The swordsmanship teacher and the magic teacher. He gave a bright smile, completely unaware of their actual thoughts. Should I just retire? Right then, a voice rang out that turned the tables. Black-hair teacher, get up here. Amon jolted, trembling as he asked me. Amonist versus Bastik, round 2 of the exchange match. The Bastik teacher grabbed his sword and roared to start the fight. Come on, I'm Bien, the swordsmanship teacher of Bastik and an intermediate swordsman. Amon was sweating, holding his sword with a hand on his hip, explaining helplessly, I already told you I'm just a weak scholar. Why do I have to do this? Amon Drake, history teacher of Amonist. Don't lie to me. What you did just now wasn't the action of a weak scholar. Ignoring his explanation, the man pointed his sword at him. No, I'm telling you. Amon was still trying to explain when the man's insults cut him off. Typical of the pathetic Amonist Academy. Always full of lies. Like principal, like teacher. At those words, Amon's fuse blew. Throw the sword away. He roared, charging straight at the Bastik teacher. Hold your tongue, Bastik. Amon roared. Bastik flinched as he saw Amon toss his sword aside. What are you doing? Why did you throw your weapon? Isn't this a swordsmanship match? No one could say a word as Anarin watched the scene. They'll move beyond words. Professor Amon. He's so furious because someone insulted the academy. But contrary to her thoughts, he was actually throwing a punch for a completely different reason. How dare he lump me in with that damn elf? That's the worst insult I've ever heard. With no choice but to engage, Bastik's eyes flashed with resolve. Fine, come at me. I'll show you everything I've got. Transitioning to the aftermath, Bastik lay sprawled out on the floor, a massive, smoking lump on his head. As he sat up, rubbing his skull, he began to contemplate the very meaning of life. He tried to remember why he was even on the ground. Wait, why am I lying here? Simultaneously, the announcement rang out. Amonist Academy wins the teacher exchange match. Hearing those words, Bastik seemed to remember. He slowly looked up. Right. He recalled the scene. Where Amon knocked him out with a single punch, right as he was about to attack. The punch had torn through the air so fast he couldn't even react. And in that moment, he felt it. He saw a face that looked like it had crawled out of the depths of hell. Amon's bloodlust was overwhelming, a murderous intent like nothing he had ever felt in his life. From Bastik's perspective, Amon reaching out a hand to help him up looked like a grim reaper coming for his soul. Are you all right? Bastik's face turned pale as a ghost. Terrified, he took off running for his life, screaming at the top of his lungs. Seeing this, Amon reached out in confusion. Is he crazy? Benjamin stood there, teeth chattering as he watched Bastik flee. How could he? Another teacher added. It looks like he ran away in sheer terror. A third teacher mused dreamily. His eyes are so beautiful when he opens them. The more Benjamin thought about it, the more it stung. Bastik, I'm cutting your salary. Ha ha ha. How's that, Benjamin? See the gap between us now. Anarin laughed, literally glowing as she approached him. She flipped her golden hair. Our teachers will do anything for the academy, unlike some cowards who run with their tails between their legs. Benjamin wouldn't back down. He snapped back. Then tell me, if you're so great, why is such a mighty academy on the brink of closing? Tell me, you amazing principal. Hearing that, Anarin screamed in rage. What? Meanwhile, in the middle of the arena, a voice called out from behind him on. Hey, young professor. He spun around in surprise. The man continued. Your skills are incredible. How would you like to work at Bastik Academy? I'll even pay your contract termination fee. Amon's jaw dropped. A comparison between Bastik Academy, the top academy in the Empire, and Amonist Academy. An academy that was bankrupt and stagnant. It was an offer he absolutely could not refuse. But the time they'd spent together made Amon emotional. A single tear fell. Wait, this academy might be collapsing, but I've bonded with it. Changing jobs like this would be. He immediately made his decision. That is an offer I cannot refuse. Good job, me. I've worked hard enough. He smiled radiantly and shook Benjamin's hand. Thank you. I look forward to it, Principal Benjamin. Benjamin laughed heartily. Ha ha, just as I thought. You have excellent judgment. Anarin stood there, her face frozen like stone. Amon didn't stop there. Also, it's best to take those students out of Honest. They have a lot of talent and potential. The students were stunned. Chloe looked at him, aghast. He has no principles. Jaemon was speechless. Boris was so shocked he stood up, jaw hitting the floor. Are we all transferring? Benjamin chuckled. Indeed. And what about the other professors? Without a second thought, Amon smiled brightly. They're terrible. The other professors were shocked. Phil poked her head out of her sleeping bag. Brett stared in disbelief. You're the last person who should say that. Marion, still clutching his wine bottle, looked hurt. Amon just grinned. Benjamin laughed like he'd won the lottery. Phil finally crawled out of her sleeping bag, looking seductive yet sorrowful. You're so cruel, Amon. How could you leave your beautiful wife here, all alone? Amon screamed in protest. No one here is my wife. We were never married. Marion faked a few crocodile tears. Amon sighed. Principal Benjamin, let's leave this dump. Our standards are dropping just by standing here. Benjamin laughed. Ha ha. I like this guy. Anarin, standing nearby, was shaking with pure rage. You people. Benjamin. She screamed. Benjamin wore a triumphant look while Amon stuck his tongue out at her. Do you have something to say, Principal Anarin? Her ears twitched with anger. She growled. These clever little tricks are the reason. Anarin suddenly looked up. Tears poured down like rain. She screamed. This is why I rejected you when you confessed your feelings for me. These tricks are the reason. She cried and screamed. This is why I turned you down. The ultimate bombshell had been dropped. The crowd went wild. Everyone had a different look of shock. Amon turned pale as he looked at the now silent Benjamin. Benjamin's face was now completely dark. Amon was dazed, thinking back. Now that I think about it, that something was definitely off. Unlike the Amonist principal, who seemed relaxed throughout the exchange, he recalled Anarin's expressions during the matches. That then thought about Benjamin's instability. The Stick Academy had an inexplicably, that anxious atmosphere. Like a loser trying to cling to something. Benjamin finally spoke up defensively. Stop it. That's all in the past. Anarin wouldn't let it go. The past? I'm on Elf. To me, something that happened 30 years ago feels like yesterday. She began to recall the day Benjamin held a bouquet and confessed to her in front of everyone. He had confessed at the Academy's main gate while people gossiped. Is he really confessing to her? Benjamin had used the cheesiest lines. To me, you are a beautiful flower. Every other blossom here wilts before your beauty. The crowd had cheered. Say yes. Say yes. She continued. And then you got drunk and threw a tantrum. She remembered him lying on the ground in a public area, acting out. If I drink this whole bottle, you have to date me. The locals, used to the scene, just sighed, him again. Then you suddenly started singing in the tavern about your love for me. Be my lover, be my harbor, despite the crowd whispering and the staff trying to stop him. Look, he's confessing again, huh? Sir, you can't do this here. At the time, she just wanted to disappear. I wanted to go home, and so many other things. Thanks to you, I have enough stories to gossip about for the next 1,000 years. She laughed while rubbing her eyes. Besides, I've told you many times. You're not my type. That final line hit Benjamin like a bolt of lightning. He looked like his soul had left his body, but Anarin didn't care about his devastated state. Anarin continued. And now you're even dragging my teacher into this? Your personality is as bad as ever. Sniff. Amon, standing behind Benjamin, panicked. No, I'm going to lose my spot at Bastic. He whispered into the ear of the soul-shattered Benjamin. Principal, get it together. Don't fall for that wicked elf's trap. How could she ever understand your feelings? Come on in. Before he could finish, Benjamin cut him off. You don't have feelings for Anarin, do you? Huh? Amon stared blankly at the bizarre question. Is this old man really seeing me as a romantic rival? Good grief. Benjamin had completely lost his mind. He aggressively pressed for an answer. Answer me. What is your relationship with Anarin? Amon replied fearfully. She's my boss. That's it. Suddenly, a sob rang out. Hick. Amon. Anarin called his name with teary, sad eyes. What about your promises for our future? About restoring the Academy's former glory? Hearing this, Benjamin screamed. What? He began to stutter and chase him on. You little brat. Amon ran for his life, trying to explain while dodging. No, Principal, please. Benjamin roared, cutting him off. Don't call me Principal. Suddenly, Benjamin grabbed Anarin's hand. Anarin, forget him and come with me. He knelt on one knee and looked at her with a bright smile. I'm not the man I used to be. Her eyes filled with tears as she looked at him. Benjamin, my love. Around Benjamin, that a brilliant radiance seemed to glow. He gave a dashing smile. Yes, Anarin, I will spend the rest of my years with you. Suddenly, the world flipped. Anarin used a leg sweep to slam Benjamin onto his back. Everyone's jaws dropped at the scene. Anarin stood up, her face dark with rage, calmly smoothing her hair. A dark aura surrounded her. I said no. The principal of the stick, that had passed out from the shock of a broken heart. Amon knelt beside the unconscious Benjamin, wailing. My perfect job-hopping plan. And just like that, Amon's transfer was canceled. And so, Amonist Academy won the exchange competition. Teachers surrounded Benjamin, putting him on a stretcher. Principal, are you okay? He moaned in his sleep. No. Anarin. Amon collapsed in tears. I'm doomed. But there was something more important to worry about. He gave a forced smile and slowly turned around. Everyone, don't misunderstand. I was just. Marion pointed an angry finger at him. You really should start living a better life. Phil added with a dark face. Even a dog is more loyal than you. Brett chimed in with contempt. The only reason you aren't fired is potatoes. She turned to walk away. Let's go out for a victory dinner. Leave the traitor here. Marion agreed enthusiastically. Sounds great. As Amon saw them leaving, he reached out in despair. Wait. Then a dejected call came from behind. Professor Amon. A dark aura hung over his 3 students. Boris gave a forced, blank smile. We don't have a transfer now, right? Seeing them like that, Amon hurriedly tried to explain. Listen to me, kids. An academy isn't just for studying. It's for social networking, too. I just wanted you to experience a wider world. He tried to act upright. I wanted you to gain more knowledge and experience. Of course, Amonist is great, but only Chloe was moved by his speech, her eyes shimmering. He was thinking of us. The other 2 had already left, thinking he's really working hard to spin this. At that moment, a cheerful voice rang out. Exactly what I expected from Professor Amon. Anarin approached, smiling happily. You intentionally played the villain to mess with that sneaky Benjamin, right? He smiled back, relieved. As expected of the principal, you realized my true intentions. Internally, he cried out, thank God. You did all that for the academy. There's no way you'd ever betray us. They shook hands joyfully. Of course, of course. Then Anarin asked him a question. So, Professor Amon, how are your preparations for the teacher certification exam going? The sudden question made him freeze. Teaching certificate? I want to promote you to Dean of Faculty. She smiled. You've worked so hard. It would be a waste for you to remain a regular teacher. So if I get the certificate, I can become the dean immediately? Without hesitation, Anarin replied, yes. Amon's internal calculator started clicking. I can jump from a regular teacher to dean in 1 step. The academy hierarchy went principal, vice principal, dean, and finally, regular teacher. Having done the math, Amon gave a wicked smile. That's no problem at all. I'll definitely get that certificate. Blighted by power, he finally embraced the academy's true nature. The next day, after the exchange event, a strange figure appeared at the academy gates. So this is Amonist Academy. Rainbelt saw the newcomer. And let out a shout of surprise. Oh, why are you here? The scene shifted to a conversation between Caius and the king of Amonis. Is this your final choice? The king asked his son, Caius Axia Amonist. The top-tier sword master and 8th-tier magic master raised his teacup and replied, yes, father. The king couldn't understand his son's choice. But why Amonist? There are plenty of other academies for you to teach at. Caius answered firmly, to end the grudges of the past. I feel I must do this after hearing you and young Master Drake argue last time. Before being a member of the Drake family, I am a teacher. He recalled Amon's previous words. He is a talent that shouldn't be bound by the feuds of the previous generation. That attitude of prioritizing students. That represented the true essence of an educator in this empire. Hearing his son's presentation, the king looked at his steaming tea and pondered. He ruffled his hair. I don't particularly want to be involved with the Drake family, but we can't keep passing this burden to future generations. Finally, the king made his decision. Fine, I respect your decision and won't stop you. Caius smiled and thanked him. The king added, but I have one condition. Back to the present. Rainbelt was sweating as he looked at Caius. I almost didn't recognize you. Caius gave a forced smile and scratched his head. Caius had disguised himself as a different person with dark brown skin and old, outdated clothes. I had to change my appearance. As expected of you, Lord Rainbelt, you saw through it immediately. Caius recalled the king's condition. Ensure you hide your identity and skills at all costs. He spoke aloud. Due to certain circumstances, I'll be hiding here while completing my teaching duties. Rainbelt rubbed his chin suspiciously. A teacher? You. Caius smiled. Yes, I've discussed this with my father. But why are you here? You're an Imperial Knight. Rainbelt replied. Similar circumstances. All right, I'll take you to meet the principal. The scene shifted to the office. Warm sunlight streamed through the window where Anarin sat with Amon, standing nearby. She clasped her hands. Let's see. You are Kai, from the house of Viscount Stro, right? Yes, ma'am. Kai smiled. relieved they didn't recognize him. Thank God they can't see through my disguise. She continued, why do you want to teach here? Kai answered without hesitation. This is a prestigious academy with a long history. I've always wanted to work here. Amon thought to himself, wow, isn't he a strange guy? Anarin pressed on. So you didn't come because of the rumors about our victory in the exchange match? Kai looked confused. Exchange match. It seemed the news hadn't reached the Crown Prince yet. Anarin sighed. I guess the rumors haven't spread yet. Amon interjected quickly. It doesn't matter. We have a new teacher. He took the initiative to talk to Kai. Kai, is there a specific subject you want to teach? I have a broad but shallow knowledge of several general subjects, including swordsmanship, magic, history, and math. I can teach whatever you two assign me. Amon smirked internally. Idiot. That's an invitation to be overworked. Outwardly, he smiled. Excellent. You can teach any subject, right? Kai replied, of course. Anarin laughed excitedly. Wonderful. Most of the teaching positions here are vacant. Amon spun around in fear. You don't have to tell him that. What if he runs away? Contrary to expectations, Kai's eyes lit up like spotlights. He beamed. Most positions are vacant? That means there's a lot of room for growth. Amon's head exploded. Is he crazy? Anarin happily handed over the contract. You're a perfect fit for our academy. You're hired. Here's the contract. Seeing how fast things were moving, Kai stuttered. Wait, don't you need to test my abilities? Or check my teaching license? Amon, who had been quiet, thought put on a pitiful act for him. Our academy is currently experiencing a severe staffing shortage. He shook his head. You have enough passion. Who cares about the other stuff? Even if you lack something, we can fill the gaps and help you grow together. After all, that's the attitude an educator should have. He reached out a hand toward Kai. The blinding light of love and knowledge dazzled Kai. A single tear of happiness fell as he shielded his eyes from the imaginary light radiating from Amon. Yes, this is it. Amon finally remembered to introduce himself. By the way, my name is Amon Drake. He held out his hand, and Kai quickly shook it. Yes, I look forward to working with you, senior. Watching the scene, Kai thought blissfully, Amon Drake is truly a magnificent talent. Meanwhile, Amon was busy plotting a mountain of schemes to throw his junior into the fire. Finally, I have a lackey I can dump all my chores on. Anarin stood by, clapping and beaming with a smile as bright as a flower. The new teacher for Amonist Academy had been successfully recruited. Kai officially made his debut at the academy as the new hire. The orientation followed the usual formal etiquette. Inside the academy, Anarin spoke first. Well then, I look forward to working with you, Mr. Kai. He responded politely. Yes, I will do my absolute best. She then casually smiled and mentioned a certain standout figure. Make sure to learn a lot from Mr. Amon here. He's so talented he's already been nominated for the position of head of academic affairs. Amon stood tall, hands on his hips. Kai replied with pure admiration, understood. He's so young, and already the head of academic affairs? Que marveled internali. The conversation quickly shifted toward teaching assignments. Amon probed, is there any specific subject you'd like to teach? Kai didn't answer immediately, calculating his options. Swordsmanship and magic are family secrets, so I can't just teach them to anyone. As the legitimate heir to the empire, what I can teach is. After a moment's thought, Kai made his choice. I'd like to teach history. Amon kept a smile on his face, but internally he was fuming. This junior is trying to steal my bread and butter. Not want to make things tense, Kai quickly changed his mind. Wait, then I'll teach math. The temporary assignments were settled. Amon arranged the next steps for him. All right, before your official appointment, go and observe the other teachers' classes first. Follow me. Que node radiantly. Yes, senior. First period. Swordsmanship class. Kai stood there all alone, looking confused. Earlier, Amon had told him, I really wanted to observe with you. But I'm just too busy preparing for my teacher certification. Kai couldn't help but think, as expected of senior Amon, he's a very busy man. Then he realized something. Wait, why hasn't the swordsmanship teacher arrived yet? When he entered the classroom, 3 students looked at him with curiosity. One of them asked, who are you? Kai introduced himself with proactive enthusiasm. Hello, I'm your new math teacher, Kai. The students introduced themselves one by one. I'm Bovis. I'm Chloe Aren. I'm Raymond Rainbelt. Hearing that familiar name, Kai muttered, Rainbelt? No wonder that old man, the heavenly sword king, is here. He realized there was a specific reason for it. He asked curiously, so, where's your teacher? A student quickly answered while pointing toward a corner. She's been right there the whole time. Kai looked in that direction, confused. Huh? Faced with an unbelievable sight. Kai couldn't help but judge. A teacher, crawling on the floor? She wasn't even fully awake. She let out a yawn and said, since everyone's here, let's start the lesson. The students responded in unison, yes, ma'am. She looked up, observed for a moment, and spoke. "And who is this brat?" Kai answered briefly, "I'm Kai, the new math teacher." She seemed to think, "Another new one?" Kai asked back, confused, "Yes." The teacher introduced herself. "Whatever. I am Slotfield. Nice to meet you." Kai smiled politely and sat down to shake her hand. "I look forward to your guidance, senior." Slot Phil, still in her sleeping bag, guided him. "Hands over here." Kai started to doubt. Is she really from the Phil family of swordsmen? Kai began to theorize. Everything he had seen in the academy started to connect. He thought, those two incompetent teachers must be jealous of Senior Amon, so they're slandering him, calling him trash. Mr. Amon is absolutely not someone who deserves to be belittled like that. Kai made a mental note. Marion Zoom magic smells strongly of alcohol. Teaching ability, 2 points. Note, out of 100, but the day wasn't over. Final period. Amon's history class. Amon began his lecture. And thus, the founding emperor, the late Emperor Monizai, laid the solid foundation for the empire. Hearing this, tears began to stream down Kai's face. Sitting in the back, he couldn't help but acknowledge it. As expected of Senior Amon, Chloe, sitting nearby, felt like something was definitely weird. Amon's lecture continued. However, during the reign of Amoni's V, an event occurred that threatened the imperial power. Kai listened and thought, he follows the standard imperial curriculum perfectly while keeping every student engaged. The truth, however, was that Raymond was thinking about a doll, Boris was wondering what time it was, and Chloe was distracted by Kai. "Mr. Kai, you've been making me feel so tense this whole time." Kai caught his own thoughts. I felt a deep sense of injustice. A true educator like this, suffering such unfair treatment. A plan sparked his mind. I should use my Crown Prince token immediately to settle this. Then he remembered the command. Hide your identity and strength. He reminded himself, right now, I'm just Kai of House Stro. I can't just abuse my status as Crown Prince to solve this. Finally, his resolve was set. Yes, I will use my true ability to eradicate the injustice in this academy. Amon Drake, teaching talent, 777 points. Again, on a scale of 100. Kai screamed in his mind, all for Mr. Amon. At that moment, Amon, who was writing on the board, suddenly stopped. Why did I just get a sudden chill? Amon mocked himself. Well, it's no wonder she hates me. He continued, self-reflecting. It's all because I'm so lacking. Kai recalled those words. I don't believe it. That's absurd. Based on what he saw with his own eyes, Kai concluded, the heart of a true teacher, the prestige and ability to be chosen as head of academic affairs. Then he thought of Phil slandering Amon, saying even the Demon King would shake his head at him. How would dare a terrible teacher slander someone like that? Even so, Kai tried to stay calm. Maybe the magic teacher will be different. Let's hope. He knocked gently on the door. A voice immediately came from inside. Who is it? Kai spoke up. Hello, I'm a new teacher here for class observation. The person replied. Yes, one moment. Kai waited outside, thinking. Viscount Marion Zoom was once a hero of the Great War. Coming from the famous Magic Tower and with years of military experience, he must have a keen eye for character. However, as soon as Marion appeared, he spat out harsh words. Amon? That guy is the biggest scoundrel on the planet. Oh, he thought to himself, a man who stands at the podium while drunk dares to say that? The three students couldn't even argue. Marion continued his story. Yesterday, I couldn't even tell if he was a human or a bat. He let out a hiccup. Kai turned to the student next to him with suspicion. Is what the teacher's saying true? The girl hesitated. Chloe recalled yesterday. If it's about yesterday, that was Mr. Amon's very meaningful way of handling things. After a moment's thought, she said, Mr. Amon is a very wise person who always thinks of his students. Even though he wasn't the one being praised, Kai was overjoyed. I knew it. Chloe looked at Kai, confused. He was smiling and talking to himself. How could Mr. Amon be like what they say? Of course I was right. The little girl could only mutter, this guy is weird. The drunken teacher continued to criticize Amon. Wine bottles were scattered all over the floor, but when the actual lesson began, Marion completely changed. Now then, look at this magic matrix. Contrary to his initial worries, he delivered a perfect lecture. Kai evaluated him silently. It's not the standard curriculum, but it's a brilliant lecture. Marion's voice boomed. How does the restoration flow of mana work? Kai observed. To Boris, who wanted to be a mage, he taught theory. To defend against a mage's attack, you must aim for the center of the matrix. To Chloe and Raymond, who wanted to be knights, he explained applied magic for combat. To be able to teach like that while drunk. Imagine when he's sober. While Kai was lost in thought, Marion asked, Rookie, were you planning to hit me? Kai flusted. No, I was just remembering some bad memories. The scene changed again. Under a sunny sky, a voice rang out. All right, kids, let's start the lesson. Followed by the students, yes, ma'am. Kai watched the scene in confusion. What is this? Each student was practicing different exercises. Professor Phil was guiding Chloe. That's it. Feel like a needle prick. Kai was bewildered. This is supposed to be a class? Kai approached her and asked curiously, Senior, what is this? Phil was confused. What's what? He spoke plainly. Shouldn't there be a curriculum? Is it okay to just do whatever you want? She nodded slightly. Oh, that. She began to analyze. Boris had already found his path through magic, so he only learned general swordsmanship. The magic circle structure reinforced by great mage Jodo Malin. Kai still wasn't convinced. He thought, but still, they need regular training to maintain physical fitness. She continued, Raymond has his own school of swordsmanship, so his training method is very specific. From the start, he's been better than a teacher like me. Kai felt uneasy. After a moment's hesitation, he spoke up. But shouldn't we follow the standard curriculum proposed by the Ministry of Education? Doing whatever you want like this. Phil just asked back, hey rookie, are you a commoner or a noble? The sudden question made Kai freeze. I'm the crown prince. But he had to give a different answer. I'm a noble of House Stro. She heard the answer and asked, then do you know what size you should cut a potato when planting it? He went blank. I don't know. Phil then explained. Only those who need to know should learn. She didn't say more, but asked something else. By the way, have you met Mr. Amon yet? His face looks like, well, you know, Smiled happily. Oh yes. He is a magnificent role model. Before he could finish, Phil warned him, better stay away from that piece of trash. He blinked. Wait, what do you mean, Senior? Why would Senior Amon? She didn't hold back. Let me explain. Yesterday in short, she trashed Amon. Kai took out his pen and paper to take notes. I see. I'll keep that in mind. She then stated that Amon was a piece of trash obsessed with money and power. Kai eagerly wrote it down. Yes. Phil went on and on, bad-mouthing Amon, slandering Amon. Basically, she hated him. Kai kept writing, but he was actually evaluating Phil. Sluggish, lazy, talks too much. Teaching suitability, 5 points. Scale of 100. The class observation finally ended. The sky was getting dark when a hand suddenly draped over his shoulder. A very familiar voice asked, how was your first day of class observation? Amon asked, Slot didn't bully you, did she? But in Kai's head, I heard her talk trash about you until my ears bled. He mumbled a response. Well. Amon saw his face and wondered what. Something you want to say? He shook his head. No, it's nothing. He figured it wasn't anything good, so there was no point in saying it. Amon asked directly, did Slot badmouth me again? Kai was shocked. Wait, how did you know? Kai was focused, got on taking notes in his small notebook. Amon, who was determined to get his teaching certificate to become head of academic affairs, was busy cramming for tomorrow's exam. He was confident in himself and the knowledge he had studied. With this level, I'll pass in one go. Amon was still annoyed about what had happened recently. The other teachers hadn't spoken to him for days. Bastards. I didn't think you'd be like that. Focus on the exam for a bit. The principal hadn't called him for trivial matters lately, so he had plenty of time. He stretched luxuriously, ending a busy day. Well, that's it for today. Suddenly, 2 people appeared behind him unannounced. It was Marion and Phil, standing at Amon's door with dark circles under their eyes like pandas. Amon was speechless. It's late. What are you 2 doing here? The 2 competed to offer him the food they brought. This is popular lately. It's wine. These are sweets. Eat them. Haven't just thought about their cold attitude. This 180-degree turn made Amon suspicious. Wait, which way is the wind blowing suddenly? Isn't your neck hurting? No, that's not it. Amon reached out and touched Phil's face, looking her over. No, her exhausted appearance is the same as always. This lazy bum. She puffed out her cheeks and snapped back. What are you doing? Because you're doing things you never do. I thought you were an imposter. Annoyed, she kicked Amon's leg as he kept questioning them. What do you mean imposters? The 2 of them had come for a good reason. They came to apologize for the misunderstandings about Amon. We just came to clear things up. That's right. Maybe we thought too ill of you. I'm sorry for ignoring you all this time. In your own way, you tried to save the students. Phil's legs trembled as she tried to stand up. Wait a second. My legs have no strength left. Without waiting for Amon's reaction, Phil stood up abruptly. Wait, it's getting late. Marion and Phil apologized and left together, leaving Amon completely bewildered. Anyway, we're sorry for the past. Let's get along from now on. Amon lay on the ground, still in shock. What was that? Out of nowhere. Those bastards. He wondered if their behavior was related to his performance in the match. Did they find out my true intentions during the exchange? No way they'd suddenly turn over a new leaf like that. Could it be? Then, as if realizing something, an image of him sitting on the throne of the academy's top administrator appeared. Below him, Marion and Phil were desperately trying to please him. Are they trying to suck up to me because I'm the future head of academic affairs? He took a bite of the cookie he had received. Amon gave a wicked smirk as he savored the last crumbs. So, is this the taste of power? On the other side, Phil was walking with a dejected face. She sighed to Marion. I didn't expect someone even scarier than Amon to show up. That kid will realize it soon too. Under the cloudy night sky, only their prediction echoed behind the bushes. The true nature of that crazy rookie. Amon was holding a secret manual he'd found somewhere. The next day, passed the Level 2 teaching exam with just one book. Today was the big day. He was dressed in a sharp suit. He was determined to survive because this was his only chance. If he failed, he'd be broke for 6 months. But with the knowledge I've gained, I'll at least pass at the top of the class. Amon still had doubts about last night. Why do I feel so uneasy? Last night, his 2 colleagues with panda eyes that unexpectedly came to his room. Those disruptive teachers suddenly turning over a new leaf and apologizing. Let's get along from now on. You wanted to save the students. Even the principal had a strange attitude toward Amon this morning. Not a single person had applied to the academy in a week, despite the news of the reopening and the exchange victory being all over the papers. The students swarmed him, asking, Professor Amon, will you be able to make it to class tomorrow? Even sitting in the exam hall, his mind was uneasy. Even the kids noticed. Something definitely went down at the academy while I was gone. As the late afternoon sun dipped and crows cawed gloomily, the exam finally came to an end. Outside, the other teachers were buzzing about the difficulty. Wasn't that way too hard? I might have to retake it. You gotta prepare like me. This is my 3rd time, and we only had 1 week to study. Amon smirked, already feeling like the top scorer. Just you wait. He looked up at the sky, arms wide, embracing the light of his future. My glorious future is coming. Low rumbles of thunder hinted at a gloomy rain. Did you hear that? It's probably gonna pour. Inside, at a long, wide dining table, Amon sat alone, feasting to his heart's content. His fork poked into a perfectly golden fried sausage. He savored the flavor. So good. Suddenly, a figure appeared before the table. Senior Amon, with eyes sparkling like he was looking at an idol. Kai asked, May I join you, Senior? Amon wasn't the stingy type, so he quickly agreed. Sure, sit down. Thank you, Senior. Silence fell over the table. Amon searched for something to say to break the awkward tension. I'm about to be the head of academic affairs. Might as well see if this rookie is struggling. It's been a week, he asked with a straight face. Anything giving you a hard time? The rookie didn't hold back. Actually, there's one thing. Do new teachers these days have no chill? I haven't even trained him yet. Well, he'd already started the conversation, so he had to finish it. Amon pressed on. Tell your senior all about it. Oh, no. It's not something you should trouble yourself with, Senior. Amon bit into his bread, flashing a standard smile to hide his irritation. This kid's got some nerve. Well, it's only been a week, so things are bound to be tough. You'll get used to it. Hang in there. Thank you for the encouragement, Senior. Don't mention it. In that spirit, Amon offered to help the rookie out tomorrow, making Kai's eyes light up like he'd struck gold. Let me see how well you're doing. I'll drop by your class tomorrow. Wait, you're coming to observe my class? I'm so honored, Senior. Fine. Amon glanced at Kai's plate. But, are you not going to eat that sausage? Kai explained shyly, I was saving that for last. Good grief, you're a grown man and you're still a picky eater? That won't do. Amon's hand moved faster than his words as he swiped a sausage from Kai's plate. Since my junior is leaving it behind, his senior will just have to finish it for him. Kai looked furious. He whipped out his special notebook while Amon continued to provoke him. So good. The cafeteria food here really is the best. In the notebook was a long entry about Amon's actions. What are you doing? Are you eating? No. Amon Drake. Teacher rating minus 700 points. Reason, stole the sausage I was saving. The next day, at the academy's training grounds during swordsmanship class, Amon was stunned by the sight before him. Higher. Faster. What on earth am I looking at? Phil was running laps around the field while singing the Empire's anthem. Totally out of character for her. That lazy woman was actually running and singing. O sons of the glorious Empire, bask in this light. Senior slot. Louder. Faster. Amon cuestioned que. The young teacher was practically drill sergeanting Phil. Kai, what the hell is happening? What did you do to make her suddenly so diligent? I told her I'd report her lack of professional responsibility to the Ministry of Education. Amon was taken aback. What? No, even so, that's a bit much. Phil looked at Amon like he was her savior, her eyes practically pleading. Exactly. It is too much. Help me, Amon. Amon's here. Now I can kick this rookie out. But she'd misjudged him. Amon came to add fuel to the fire, not save her. Just running is boring. Wouldn't she work harder with sandbags on her legs? As expected of Senior Amon. I'll prepare them for tomorrow. I'm an idiot for trusting that jerk. I even gave him my premium dessert. Amon rubbed his chin, evaluating. The kid's actually doing a decent job. I thought there'd be no issues at first. The young students trudged over gloomily to greet Amon. Hello, professors. Oh, you're here. Let's start the class. Why the long faces? It wasn't until the class started that Amon realized who and what was causing the weird vibe lately. All right, everyone pick up your wooden swords. The four boys picked up their swords with extreme heaviness. One female student looked completely drained. She expressionlessly lifted her sword to the rhythm. 2, 3, 4, 5. Amon's face darkened. What is this? Kai kept nagging the students. Boris, too slow. Raymond, too fast. Slow down a bit. Amon realized things had gone completely south. Under the clear blue sky, the rhythmic shouts echoed. 1, 2. The students' chants filled the training ground. Light reflected off the wooden swords as they swung in perfect unison. 1, 2, 3. In the library courtyard, it looked like a peaceful, diligent training session. But Boris, Raymond, and Chloe looked exhausted. 1, 2, 3. Everyone except one person. Amon was baffled by the trio's training. What kind of mess is this? Kai, however, was thrilled. You guys are doing great. Amon wiped his face in frustration. Raymond was clearly supposed to be studying a unique style called sky-piercing sword. Even Raymond was confused. Why the hell am I doing this? But on the outside, Kai was giving it his all, right? Keep your back a bit straighter. Inside Raymond's head, there were no clear answers. Why do I suddenly have to do the Phil family training? He glanced at the trembling Phil. He wondered about Boris too. Does he really have to suffer like that? Kai shifted his focus. Boris, it looks like you need more stamina training. After class, run 10 laps around the field before going home. Boris just moaned, yes, sir. Amon grabbed Phil. His face was pale as he asked, Professor Slot, why is the class suddenly like this? She looked ready to pass out from sleepiness. I don't know. You're the teacher. How can you not know? So sleepy. Amon yelled. We agreed to teach according to each kid's talent since Boris is weak in swordsmanship. Suddenly, a hand landed on Amon's shoulder with a look of stoic resignation. Senior Amon, that won't do. Kai began to explain. All students must be given the same fair opportunities. Even if they have different paths, as long as they belong to this academy, they should receive the same training, right? Amon could only stand there in silence, listening to Kai's lecture. I heard that you were the one who proposed tailored teaching methods. Kai stated his opinion bluntly, but I don't believe those words. Not from someone who faithfully follows the Empire's official curriculum, a brilliant educator like Senior Amon. Amon's teeth ground together as Kai droned on. How could you suggest such a flawed path? Hearing that, Amon gritted his teeth in irritation. Look here. Kai seemed to catch the vibe, and didn't dare to argue further. Yes. Amon then turned his attention, somewhat gently, to Raymond. Go back to your old routine over there. Forget the Phil family stuff, it's just a mess. Yes, Professor Amon. He turned to wipe the sweat off Boris. Take a break and go read some magic books. Yes, sir. He then turned to Phil. Professor Slot, go get your sleeping bag. How can you teach Chloe in that exhausted state? He smiled while pushing Phil away. Chloe, you think so too, right? Yes. Phil was confused by Amon's actions. What? This guy. While Amon kept pushing her, Phil was moved to tears by Amon's gesture. He finally cares about his colleagues. Her affinity for Amon skyrocketed. My sleeping bag. My sleeping bag. Phil was ecstatic. Boris breathed a sigh of relief. I thought I was going to die of exhaustion. Now, Chloe, take a rest. Suddenly, Kai grabbed Amon's wrist and shouted. Senior, what are you doing? Amon's face darkened as he asked coldly. And what do you think you're doing? You brat. Kai answered nonchalantly. We are implementing fair education. The two began to argue heatedly. Fair education? Yes. According to the official curriculum, all students must be given the same opportunities. Amon couldn't keep his cool anymore. He barked at Kai. Is it fair to teach everyone the same thing? Are you going to teach an eagle how to hop or a frog how to fly? He composed himself. Education must be equitable, not just equal. Kai still argued back. But according to the Imperial Ministry of Education, fair education is the future of the Empire. Oh, really? Amon mocked him, getting right in his face. Then let's try a little fairness right now. Raymond, Boris, and Chloe were drawn to the noise. A fight? What are the professors doing? Amon and Kai set the rules for a spontaneous duel. We used these wooden swords. We hit each other once, and no dodging, Amon said calmly. With your level, this should be a piece of cake, right? Kai was flustered. How can a commoner sense my hidden mana? The sword behind his back was being enveloped by a subtle power that was hard to detect. Amon laid out the rules seriously. And one more thing. No aura blast. Kai asked why. I'm a commoner. I can't use that. If you use it alone, it wouldn't be fair, would it? He continued, and no magic either. I can't use that either. Kai protested. What are you talking about? That's ridiculous. Amon smirked. How is this any different from what you said to the students? Amon started questioning him about Raymond, Boris, and Chloe. How is Boris supposed to keep up with the swordsmanship Chloe and Raymond are practicing? Yet you forced Boris to fairly keep up with them. So, I'm forcing you not to use Aura Blast or magic. It's only fair. Amon gestured coldly. Go ahead. Attack. Kai immediately swung his wooden sword and lunged. You're gonna regret this, senior. Inside Kai's head, a moment of confusion appeared. No. But thinking about it, I'm actually really pissed. You haven't taught me anything about work. When I say you're busy, you just tell me to handle it myself. I ask questions you don't answer. None of your business. I'm studying for my certificate. You even stole my sausage. You haven't said a nice word to me all week. And now you're acting all tough? Suddenly, Chloe, standing nearby, panicked. Amon clutched his shoulder with a groan. My shoulder. Kai acted concerned, but he was secretly satisfied seeing Amon's injury. Senior, are you okay? Oh man, I thought I dislocated your shoulder. Sorry, I accidentally used too much force. Amon distracted Kai with hollow words. This brat really wants to fight me? He's the one who suggested the wooden sword game. Once the hit was over, Amon waited for Kai to lower his guard. Amon lunged forward and struck Kai hard on the shoulder. My turn. You okay? Does it hurt much? Kai tried to suppress the bone-chilling pain. Yes, it hurts quite a bit. Oh my, I barely hit you. Are you sure you're okay? Barely hit me. Is this guy really a commoner? Well, I'll hit harder this time. I'm coming again, senior. Bring it. Kai swung his sword, lunging to pay Amon back. I'll make you regret that, senior. Suddenly, Chloe stepped in and blocked him. Both Kai and Chloe were confused. Chloe, what are you doing? We're in the middle of class. Then why are the professors fighting during class? Chloe, it's not fighting. It's all for you guys. The little girl spoke up. If it's for us, you shouldn't be doing this. I've been learning the Phil family swordsmanship because it's what fits me best. I'm training at my own pace. Chloe turned and pointed at Raymond and Boris. But those guys keep disrupting everything, and the class progress is getting slowed down. Disrupting? This girl is something else. Besides, Professor Slot hasn't been watching my movements at all lately. Finally, Chloe made a request to Kai. So I'm begging you, Professor Kai, please don't change the teaching method. Kai seemed to realize something. Fairness and equality. They look similar at first glance, but they're two completely different things. Fairness is not showing bias, while equality involves the intervention of subjective judgment. Fairness is what's truly important when facing students. Fair opportunity is what guides everyone toward their own individual dreams, not forcing them all to become identical students. That's exactly why education must be equitable. I see. Perhaps I've been thinking about this the wrong way all along. Since I was young, I've been accustomed to the royal family's education. His Majesty's physique is truly magnificent. Had I forgotten that a much wider world exists beyond those walls? To become a wise ruler like my father, I must understand the hardships of the common people. And then Kai knelt down, clasping his hands in gratitude toward Amon. Senior Amon, thank you. Thank you so much. For teaching a fool like me such a valuable lesson. Amon acted smug about his victory. Good. At least you finally understand. Now, you're not going to try and lecture me anymore, are you? In a certain room, King Amones seemed excited about something. I think I'm starting to understand how Marion feels. Oh, why are my ears suddenly itching? It was almost time for class. A no alcohol sign was placed on his stack of books. It seemed he was about to start something new. Well then, let's head out. It's time for our final lesson.